ẹ wo mú kí káàbọ̀ sínú ìròyìn tòní ìdílé aláyọ̀ o ayọ̀ wa ò ní dìbànújẹ́ o lábala lérè fi ojú wíńdò tá ti ń yọjú láti rí bí wọ́n ṣe pa ọmọ nàìjíríà tán pa ọbẹ̀ èèyàn bá jorí ahun kódà kó wo agbo ọ̀dájú yóò sunkún níbi tí arákùnrin ti ń pariwo pé òun ò ṣẹ̀wọ̀n o wọ́n sì fún ní kinní pa lọ́rùn wọ́n sì fi kinní láìlọ́n bò nímú lára àwọn ọmọ nàìjíríà ẹ mú délé ẹ̀yin náà lẹni ó ní sòǹlé rẹ o lẹ́yìn ọlọ́pàá South Africa ẹ mú délé ẹni ó mú yín yíká gbogbo inú ilé rẹ̀ ó fi gbogbo rẹ̀ hàn yẹn bá nǹkan kan lára rẹ̀ àfi ìgbà tẹ ẹyin lọ́rùn wọ́n wá fi láìlọ́n wọ́n fi bò nímú ó sì ń pariwo òun kú o òun kú lọ o òun tí ń gbẹ́mí mí o àfìgbà tán pa àfi ìgbà tí wọ́n pa á. ọ̀rọ̀ òdùn lẹ́nu yín o ọlọ́run ọba mọ̀ ẹsẹ̀ wà rán bọ́ ìbọ̀ irú eléyìí tó ń ṣe fáwọn Ghana tán rán ti Ramaphosa wò wọ́n dìmọ́sà rẹ̀ láìpẹ́ yìí tó ń rán àwọn èèyàn wá kẹ́ wá ṣàlàyé wọ́n ní ààrẹ olódòdó bá a ṣe gbọ́ rìpọ́tẹ́lì wọ́n náà tọ̀ wọ́n back pé ń bọ́ ẹ mọ̀ débì wọ́n nínú bí ààrẹ olódòdó mo ní kàn jó gbèsè wọ́n lókun ìwó oru káwà rúru náà fi ń ṣe wọn ló dà ń gbà náà àmọ́ retí ìgbésẹ̀ ẹ̀yìn bẹ́ẹ̀ náà nínú àkójọpọ̀ ròyìn à ń gbé arábìnrin kan bọ̀ arábìnrin tó fẹ́ lé jáde lọ́jọ́ sí tó wojú wọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà journalist yẹn ó tú àwọn àṣírí kan fún wa á gbé wá lónìí ẹjẹ́ wá sáré dé airport wọn ẹ wá wo airport wọn bó ṣe gbé ọrọ̀ ajé wọn ti dínkù ẹ tí ìmọ̀ nǹkan kan ẹ fẹ́ là ní South Africa.
Yankopɔn akyɛ kuro kama sɛ no nipa no mu ma no yɛakyɛke mu ana.
ẹ jẹ́ ń gbàmọ́ lẹ́nu èdè wọn náà ń sọ àkọlé rẹ̀ ní ẹ wá wo ntí ẹ̀gọ́ yín dálẹ̀ ìkóríta tí àìgbọ́n yín sún yín dé ẹ̀yin lẹ́gọ̀ ju ẹ fẹ́nu ọ̀ra ìkànnà àwọn airport wọn rèé ẹ wò bí gbogbo ẹ ṣe dá ó dá lọ bí ìgbà tí ọ̀fọ̀ ṣẹ̀wọ̀n ní South Africa wọ́n láwọn èèyàn ti ń isolate wọn gbogbo ayé wọn fẹ́ gbọ́ pé ọmọ South Africa ni wọ́n ní ìsìn kájọ wà lórí ìlà tán bá gbọ́ dálẹ̀ tí èdè wọn kódà kan ṣèbò wọn láwọn èèyàn ń yẹ̀bà fún wọn ni wípé ẹ̀yin Nàìjíríà Nàìjíkò làwọn eléyìí o mo ní bí ó ṣe rí nù gbogbo ayé ni ó yẹ̀bà fún yín pátápátá porogodo ẹ wá ń bẹ̀bẹ̀ kiri bẹ́ẹ̀ náà sì ni ó fi hàn gbangba wípé ìjọba yín lọ́wọ́ nú ẹ̀ wọ́n mọ̀ sí ìjọba yín mọ̀ sí. ó dáa ká tó wá kúrò lórí ọ̀rọ̀ wọn a ti kọ̀ǹfàmù news yẹn ààrẹ olódòdó kì í sàlẹ̀ jẹ́dlì mọ́ o ààrẹ olódòdó fojú envoy delegate special delegate rán wá láti South Africa wọ́n fojú wọn gbolẹ̀ wípé àwọn olè ń bọ̀ wá bá ṣé orí yín pé sá wọ́n bá tì wọ́n sí Minister of Foreign Affairs for state ni o kì í ṣe ìyàwó ojúkú gan ló dán lóhùn ìyẹn ni the main Minister for Foreign Affairs but Minister for Foreign Affairs for state wọ́n lóun nìkan rè bá ẹgbẹ́ bí wọ́n kan bẹ́ẹ̀ tí tí ẹ fẹ́ mọ àgbàlagbà ẹ fẹ́ mo ní inú mi dùn ṣùgbọ́n à ń fẹ́ mọ̀ ìgbésẹ̀ tẹ́ máa gbé tí South Africa máa mọ̀ wípé ikú yàtọ̀ sórun pé igi mú jìnnà sórí òun la fẹ́ kárí olódòdó ẹgbẹ́ ó dáa yóò sojú wa kò ní sẹ́yìn wẹ́já kò náà ọ̀rọ̀ wọn ẹjá fìpàdé sínú àkójọpọ̀ ròyìn à ń gbé journalist yẹn bọ̀ ṣé mo kí yín wọlé lẹ́ẹ̀kan ẹ káàbọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí i ó rẹ̀ ẹjá wá yà. lọ́dọ̀ lọ́ọ̀yà tó kórìjọ wọ́n ní lọ́ọ̀yà Òbí làwọn o wọ́n náà fẹ́ gbé ààrẹ olódòdó lọ sí kóòtù wípé Òbí fẹjọ́ wọn sùn pé wọ́n fẹ́ pa òun mọ̀ ní. ṣé ẹ̀ ń wá popularity cheap popularity lélẹ́yìí meanwhile Òbí ṣe interview kan tán ni o kò sọ́mọ́rọ̀ o.
I want to tell the whole world that Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the NDC and our principal in the obedient movement, he has alerted the whole world that his life is under siege by the Tinubu administration, by the government and the agencies of the Tinubu administration. And we are here simple. We have come to court to enforce his fundamental right, and we are praying that he should be provided adequate security. We don't want another Funsho Williams in Nigeria. You people know that of recent, Peter Obi, in a very viral video, claimed that he won the 2023 presidential election. He said it, it's online, you Google it, he said that he won the 2023 presidential election. And the implication is that Tinubu and the former INEC chairman, Yakub Mahmoud, stole his mandate. And Peter Obi is warming up to reclaim his mandate in the 2027 presidential election. And it's a similar scenario that happened in Lagos State. Like more than 20 years ago, even all the security agencies in Nigeria, the DSS, the police, nobody has come out to say who Funsho Williams or how Funsho Williams died. Funsho Williams died in Lagos while he was said to be warming up, to contest the 2023 governorship election in Lagos State, to reclaim his mandate that he believed that was stolen. So we don't want similar scenario. Peter Obi must not be another victim of political assassination. He must freely go to any part of the country, to campaign and engage people. Sell his manifesto, tell Nigerians about his ideology to bring this nation out of poverty and corruption. Peter Obi is genuinely committed, to not just taking Nigeria from production from consumption to production, but is committed to end corruption in this country. And of course, over the weeks, you know what is happening with our budget. You now know that our budget is now a statute of fraud.
ó náà lẹ́tí bọ́ lẹ́nu rẹ̀ yẹn o ṣùgbọ́n àwọn nàìjíríà náà ti ń dà lóhùn àwọn ará èkó sì ti ń fún un jẹ wípé ó ṣàlàyé o bóyá ẹni tó ń fẹ̀sùn kàn ló pa Fínsọ Williams ó ní kò sí ní tó kan èmi ń bẹ mí ò tiẹ̀ ní sọ á sí ṣùgbọ́n gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tí wàá ń sọ náà àfi bó ṣe wá bàjẹ́ tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí campaign ìwọ ló wá fẹjọ́ èèyàn sùn ẹlẹ́ẹ̀tì lọ ilé ẹjọ́ kí tún ni campaign kinní kan ṣe kinní kan bàjẹ́ títí bàjẹ́ bọ́jẹ̀tì ṣe kinní kan ẹ̀fẹ̀ kan pa Peter Obi kó sẹ́ni tó fẹ́ kan pa Peter Obi gbogbo ìgbésẹ̀ tẹ́ bá lè gbé ẹ béèrè ọlọ́pàá ẹ pẹtísàn ẹni tó yẹ kẹ́ ẹ pẹtísàn ó tán kí wàá ní campaign orí ibú tó tún wá ń ṣe ẹ fi mọ̀ wípé ṣe é rí gbogbo iná tí ń jò lábẹ́ gbogbo kínní táìmù tẹ́mọ̀ rí náà rí o àwa sì ti wọnú aṣọ wẹ̀ẹ́dẹ́ wa táìmù tá a fi wọ́n pa wẹ̀ẹ́dẹ́ rẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n à ń gbé Peter Obi fúnra rẹ̀ bọ̀ níbi tó ti jẹ́wọ́ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ rẹ̀ níbi tó ti ń sọ wípé òun ò lè garanti wípé òun ò fún Nàìjíríà ná láàrin 4 years. So wá fẹ́ ṣe ju 4 years lọ ní ó lóun ò ní lo a day after 4 years òun. Bó ló ṣe wá fẹ́ ṣe kò sí electricity nínú manifesto rẹ̀ ni bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni eléyìí tó wá fa wuyewuye jù wọ́n fi kan tọyín lẹ́nu wò ní ìsìn ẹ jẹ́ n kọ́kọ́ sọ eléyìí tó fa wuyewuye jù náà níbi tí Ṣeun Channels tó ti ń bí léèrè wípé wọ́n fẹ̀sùn kàn án wípé òun fojú àwọn Haúsá gbolẹ̀ ó ní kán lọ síbi ìgbà tó ń ṣèjọba ó ní gbogbo àwọn kọmíṣánná ọ̀hún ó ní kinní ló pọ̀ jù ń bẹ̀ ó lóun ní tó 10 tó jẹ́ Haúsá tó sì jẹ́ Muslim làwọn èèyàn bá rè wú gbogbo rìpọ́ọ̀tù ẹ̀ jáde ó kọ wọn náà lẹ̀ ń wò yìí o èmi ò tí ì rà Haúsá ń bẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá rúkọ Haúsá ń bẹ̀ àbí Mùsùlùmí ń bẹ̀ ẹ bá mú jáde bó ló sì lọ kó yàn wá láti north láti wá fi wọn ṣe kọmíṣánná nígbà tó jẹ gómìnà nígbà tó kì í ṣe president. Peter Obi àmọ́ parọ́ díẹ̀díẹ̀ jàre ẹ jẹ́ á gbọ́ díẹ̀ nú àwọn ntẹ́ẹ̀bà nínú àkójọpọ̀ ìròyìn lára àwọn interview tán ṣe fún.
But you were not able to conduct local government elections.
No, because there were a lot of litigations. These are things I'm telling you. There were a lot of court litigations from different groups, from different things, which are things I couldn't control.
Ó náà lágbọ́n yẹn o I couldn't control náà ti gé mọ́ lẹ́nu ó sọ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ o làwọn èèyàn bá ní sẹ́wọ̀n tó lè control state yẹn ó sì ṣe ọdún 8 kò sì ṣe local government election wà ń wà tamátama I couldn't control bó ṣe sákòónú ẹgbẹ́ náà nìyẹn. Tó sọ wípé iná tán bá dálẹ̀ di ẹyẹ gúnugún ẹyẹ míì náà fi ń sun pé wọ́n fẹ́ sun ọ́ ná nínú ẹgbẹ́ yẹn ló ṣe sá lọ wípé ò lè control wọn control náà ni ò ní ó dẹ̀ fẹ́ control Nàìjíríà àwọn ilé wa ń gbẹ́nu wọn káàkiri èmi rò pé yẹ káwọn DSS ṣiṣẹ́ wọn o bóyá mẹ́ni tó pa Fínsọ Williams àti ń wá tipẹ́tipẹ́ bóyá wọn á lè provide ẹ̀ kò sí ní tó kàn wá pẹ̀lú yẹn kán sá provide ẹ̀ ara going forward náà ni. tó mú Àìṣà Yẹ́sùfù jáde tó sọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́yìn ìgbà tí Òbí ṣe interview ní alẹ́ àná mọ́júmọ́ òní wọ́n fi ṣe fídíò òní ìlàṣẹ ìdìbà tó fi sọ wípé interview tán ṣe yìí ìbéèrè tán mọ́ béèrè lọ́wọ́ Peter Obi náà béèrè lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ó múnú bí òun kí ló dé tí wọ́n sá ń tọ̀ pápọ̀ lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ ní fún ẹ fílẹ̀ jàre ẹjọ́ ráyé ṣe mo ní ẹ̀ mọ̀ nǹkan kan. ẹni tán bí níbèrè kan tí ń fi ìdáhùn oríṣiríṣi ìdáhùn at different time irọ́ ni ń pa ó dùn wọ́n. mo nígbà tí mo ti kọ́kọ́ gbọ́ lẹ́nu kọ́kọ́ à ń sọ igbákejì rẹ̀ tó ń ti kọ́kọ́ ń fọ́nbù ni mo ti mọ̀ wípé Peter Obi náà ó fẹ́ wá fọ́nbù ní ẹ bá àkójọpọ̀ rẹ̀ nú àkójọpọ̀ ròyìn ẹ jẹ́ àtẹ̀wájú àròjọ Mùsùlùkùn ẹ jẹ́ wá sáré yà lọ́dọ̀ Sultan of Sokoto níbi tó ti ní kẹ́mọ́ gbàdúrà fáwọn agbésùnmọ̀mí kán lè ronú pìwàdà. ó sì mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ sọ sí àkóògbà tí ìyàwó ààrẹ tán bá lálejò ní Sokoto nítorí wọ́n ní bí kinní kan ó bá ṣe kinní kan kí kinní kan lè gbọ̀nràn jàre láti wọ́n sọ lójú kinní ó wá sọ níṣẹ́jú ìyàwó ààrẹ olódòdẹ pé repentant yẹn ò sì wà lórí ẹ̀ fún Boko Haram kán mọ̀ gbàdúrà fún wọn l'Aso Rock.
Normally say for me was when the Oni gave me a title and he came to Ife, spent 3 days with the Oni and stayed throughout my ceremony. And I told him, I said, I've been wanting to come. At least I owe you that to come and say thank you. But every time I want to come, they will say it's not available and either it's traveled. But today is today. And I'm so grateful to Almighty Allah because that making today possible. I only came here to just say 2 words. Thank you, Your Eminence, for all you've done for this since the inception of this administration. But your brother is the president. which you know, you've been friends a long time. Your kingdom will continue to be peaceful, and God will bless Sokoto State, bless our land, bless all the princes and princesses in the palace, and bless the Sultanate Council.
Èmi ń retí kan ní in the name of Jesus àbí ẹ ti dárúkọ Allah kẹ́sì àbí wọ́n sàmọ̀yìn pastor wọ́n sì mọ̀ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ bá máa pray náà in the name of Jesus ó yóò wà ń bẹ mi ò gbọ́ o bẹ́ẹ̀ bá gbọ́ ẹ fi ránṣẹ́ sí mi ò ẹ já wá gbọ́n tí Sultanu wọn Sokoto tó fi dáhùn.
Badagry is ongoing and we're very happy. This is the first time we're having a serious thing, and also the road goes out to Zaria and to Abuja and so on. It's ongoing. So we're having such things and so many other things, and all the works we have been doing, social works, political works, religious works, are all aimed at making Nigeria a better country. And we believe we can only pray for you, assure you of our continued prayers always for you and Mr. President. So we are leaders of both the good and the bad people, because there's nothing we can do about it except to keep on praying for Almighty to touch their hearts and become good people, like all these bandits, terrorists, criminals all over the world, harassing us, harassing our lives. We keep on praying that Almighty Allah will touch their lives and they will repent, and really repent fully, and go back to the way we are supposed to be, the way we have been for many, many years.
Àyà ní ó jọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni pé inú rẹ̀ ò dùn àti pé gbogbo àdúrà tí ń gbà yìí látọdún òun náà ti ń gbà àti pé lórúkọ Allah náà làwọn eléyìí sì fi ń gèèyàn lọ́rùn tó fi ń pa àwọn èèyàn pé kán gbàdúrà wọn síbòmíì o mo ní àdúrà wọn ò tiẹ̀ ní gbà. torí kì í ṣàdúrà láàfin yanjú ọ̀rọ̀ yìí ẹ ń bá pààyàn pé pani ẹ pani èrò ní ìdí kọ́lọ́hún Allah wo ni wọnú kì í ṣe Allah náà ń pè ní tó fi ń dùnyàn lọ́rùn. Ó dẹ̀ jẹ́ àtẹ̀wájú àròjọ mùsùlùkùn ẹ jẹ́ wọn á gbé yín yà lọ́dọ̀ arákùnrin mójú ẹ̀ arákùnrin tí ìyàwó rẹ̀ tó fi tipátipá ti kúkú tó lé sórí agbègbè wípé kórè ṣe jẹ́wọ́ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ rẹ̀ kórè bá ò tí fóun kórè bá múlẹ̀ wípé bóun bá gbé wọ Canada meanwhile owó arákùnrin yìí ni wọ́n fi gbéyàwó rẹ̀ wọ Canada o èmi mọ̀ pé prophet ni àṣeyàwó náà àṣọ náà ṣe oath àṣọ náà bọ́ sórí agbègbè ẹja kọ́kọ́ gbọ́ ti ìyàwó náà ká tó wá wo ohun tí múnú rẹ̀ dùn tó ró bọ́ sórí agbègbè yín yọ̀pọ̀ta nǹkan kú ìdílé ọkọ sì lọ́ta rẹ̀ ń wà ẹ bá gbọ́ ọ̀tá rẹ̀ tó kú yìí ẹja kọ́kọ́ wo bóun náà sí ní òun ò ní síìtì.
This is my own confession to my husband, Franklin Tinubu Nwanore. I, Ezinne Mary Jane Nwanore, I confess in the name of Jesus that I will remain faithful to my husband sexually. And if I became unfaithful, let me die in the name of Jesus. Amen. And I also confess that I will continue to be a good wife to my husband and a good mother to our children. And I pray that God help us, give us the grace to build a healthy marriage.
Èmi ò rí irú ìgbéyàwó ìrí o tó kóra rẹ̀ síta bí ọmọ ọjọ́ mẹ́ta yìí ẹ kò pọ̀jọ́ mẹ́jọ ọmọ ọjọ́ mẹ́ta ni. Èmi ò tí a mọ̀ pé prophetess ló pera rẹ̀ ló wá kóra yín síta báyìí ebó Ọlọ́run ó lóun gbọ́ látọ̀dọ̀ Ọlọ́run ni ò wípé kàn rí ìṣe ẹ sì rí ìṣe ń bò ń kẹlẹ̀ ẹ rí ìṣe lọ́dọ̀ Ọlọ́run síwájú àwọn èèyàn lẹ ti ń ṣe yìí ṣùgbọ́n lọ́rọ̀ kan àfi bó ṣe gbé sórí agbágbé lónìí picture ìyá ọkọ rẹ̀ ó ló ti kú ló bá fi àkọlé kan sí ni ó ní ògbólógbò àjẹ́ ó ní ọ̀run àpáàdì ní ọmọ lọ o ó ní kan pín ọ yẹ́lẹyẹ̀lẹ kan ju apá rẹ̀ síbì kan náà ọ̀run àpáàdì kan ju orí rẹ̀ síbì kan kí gbogbo ẹ̀ jóná gúrúgúrú kọ̀ọ̀kan lòun ó mọ̀ pọ́n pé Ọlọ́run ló rán òun sí ìdílé ọkọ. Mo ní ìwọ ọkọ yìí ọ̀sẹ̀ mélòó ló ti ṣe ìmùlẹ̀ tó ṣe jẹ́wọ́ mọ̀mọ́ rẹ̀ ti kú báyìí ó dáa ẹ̀yin méjèèjì lẹ́kú ti sọ pé bẹ́ẹ̀ bá sí ó sì tún padà wá ó lọ́kọ̀ òun ti síìtì ó lóun gbọ́ pé ó ti tẹ̀lé chicks jáde òun sọnù ara òun sọnù ẹ̀mí àyáníkápò lórí ọ̀rọ̀ wọn kò kàn wá. Ó dá àwọn ẹja sáré bí ẹnugun o wọ́n sì ń lé àwọn oníṣègùn ìbílẹ̀ kiri o ọmọkùnrin kan ni wọ́n ti dì lásọmú yìí o wọ́n bá níbi títí ń ṣoògùn wọ́n bá ń bi léèrè pé àwọn àgádágodo lẹ̀ sóò ń tà wọ́n ni àwọn ọmọ wọn dà wọ́n ló ti tì yẹn pa sáwọn èèyàn náà ló ti pa síbí. Mo ní bóyá ìkànnú àwọn agbófinró èèyàn sọ fún wọn wípé ilé ayé rẹ̀ tí ò move on ibi tán ti pamọ́ rè wọ́n ní ó mọ̀ kọ́ lòun ò ní sí o pé kódà kan pa nǹkan ní gbogbo ìbọn ọwọ́ wọn ó lòun ò ní sí gbogbo àwọn àgádágodo yẹn.
How long did you take over? How long? This is making 5 years now. 5 years you took over. So what's your name? And from where? From Ameza. Amazing, Ben.
Amazing of Oduma.
From which state?
Yeah?
From which state?
Enugu State.
Okay. This now how long you go?
I'm 5 years then.
And these keys are for human beings, right?
No, it's not for human beings.
It's for which people?
Then here,
Fast. Do that fast.
Use it to work for human beings. I use it to work for human beings. The reason why I use it to work for human beings.
Cut it. Wait. Check it out, sir. When I go say I'm there. Open their place. Open enter inside with them. Enter inside with them. Take that video very well. Yes, you understand? Because CP is interested and government is interested. You understand?
Buy these keys, come on, buy the keys. Come on, buy the keys, bring back. Shut up. I'm keep that food. Go buy this keys.
Go use one of course. You know the different.
Buy this keys now.
I won't pack the key.
You want?
Get your member. It's better for you to fire me. Even me, I was a man.
Àbẹ́rí Ọlọ́run ò ní kó òun ò ní sí oníkan fáyà òun. Mo rántí orin tá a mọ ọkọ nígbà tá a mọ ṣeré fáyà mímẹ́ka. If you never take me to that station, ẹ jẹ́ wáyà lọ́dọ̀ àwọn aláìníṣẹ́ yìí. Wọ́n láwọn kọ́ńfrátá oríṣiríṣi ẹgbẹ́ méjì. Wọ́n wá ń ta àwọn síra wọn. Àwọn ó para wọn lórí àgbàgbé.
No use the word cover that drop your location for father. Make you see working. Hey, if you meet your brother for house, or your drop her there. Go up away for that father. Drop her there. They don't put Papa away, drop their address. They don't put Father away, drop her. I dare you to drop your address. You location. Shut up, Mugu, you can. Now you talk. See what I do. Pass me I do. You see my put for my head.
You know go pick comot.
See what I do. See what I do. You see what I do.
Olokada ni wo. Olokada ni wo.
You see what I do. They come. Yeah, they come. I go down there, they come.
You go
say. This is the price now. This is the baby that. They go. Sabali. Yeah, this is Sati.
O ma ku, o ma pa ya sara. Ìwọ bọ́lẹ̀, o ma pa ya. Bọ́lẹ̀. Ìwọ ga bọ́lẹ̀. Pé ẹyẹ ìyá àti ìmọ̀kan tó ń ṣe, ọ máa tẹ̀ sí ìyá lójú tàtàtà, ọ máa pa ya ìyá. Ọ máa pa ya, àtúntì ìyá ìwà, ọ máa pa ya. Oríṣi àti ìgbìyànjú àti ìmọ̀kan tó ń ṣe.
Hey, what you TikTok? You can see go down 2022 and 2021.
Ma gba olóṣè wọn ló ṣe dé ni. Olóṣè wọn 2 months ni.
Wait, 2 months, 2 years plus. I want it for 2 years plus.
Hey, ẹ ń fojú burúkú wò wọ́n. Wọ́n gba ìlọ́dọ̀ àwọn olóṣèlú yín. Ẹ̀wọ̀n oníbọn lórí èsì wọ́n sì filẹ̀ ó lọ ọdún. Ṣé inú constitution Nàìjíríà ẹ̀wọ̀n oníbọn àmọ́ tó fìbọn sí òbó yóò pààyàn ni o. Kìkan ṣe pé bóyá ó mú bọ̀ dání o kì í sì ṣe tọ́yì. Ẹ̀wọ̀n oníbọn lórí èsì ó lò 2 years. Ó sì tún dé. Ó sì tún padà sínú ẹ̀bíbí rẹ̀. Kì í ṣẹ̀bi wọn ẹ̀bi àwọn ọlọ́pàá tí tán jọ ń ṣẹ̀bi wọn. Adémọ̀ ń sọ nǹkan kan fún yín bọ́lọ́pàá Nàìjíríà bá fẹ́ ṣiṣẹ́ tán bá bọ́ sórí TikTok lásán. Ìlú wọn fọ ìlú mọ́ látòrí TikTok. Ẹ jẹ́ àpò mẹ́ẹ̀ jẹ́ àdé Anambra. Polytechnic kan la gbọ́ wípé ó wó lulẹ̀ o. Ìkan nínú hóstẹ́ẹ̀lì àwọn ọmọléèwé tí wọ́n kọ́ fún wọn kọ́ mọ́ gbé oúnjẹ bí ẹni wípé ìgboro ni hóstẹ́ẹ̀lì yẹn wà. Wọ́n sì ń gbìyànjú láti dóòlà ẹ̀mí àwọn èèyàn. Wọ́n láwọn kan wà trapped sínú ẹ̀.
Boy, this house sink yo. Now sinking this house sink like this, no be even collapse. This house sink inside. Sink inside. God.
Ṣé ẹ rí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn hostel tán bá ti kọ́ tó ti ń di alájà méjì alájà mẹ́ta? Ẹ wo ẹ mọ̀ jẹ́ káwọn ọmọ yín mọ̀ gbàbẹ̀ ó nídìí nítorí ẹsẹ̀ ìgbèrò ń bẹ ọ̀rẹ́ wọn á wá gbogbo wọn á wá sẹ́ẹ̀sì rí ẹni tí bá ń kọ́lé alájà tí ò bá ti fáktọ̀ iye àwọn lóòdù tí kìíní yẹn lè gbé tí ò bá ti fáktọ̀ eré pátá máa ń ṣe nígbà tí mi náà wà ní skul tá a bá rè kí àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wa tó yẹ pé ilé alájà ilé oníkìíní náà ń gbé eré pátá máa ń ṣe ńgbà míì gan-an ẹ mọ̀ rí tí ilé wọn ṣe gbì wọn yìí sì fáktọ̀ ẹ̀ mọ́ wípé àwọn ọ̀rẹ́ wọn wá bá wọn ṣeré wọn máa ṣeré pa wọn máa sáré kiri. Ó níye lóòdù tí ilé olókèlè gbé o. Ó dáa nínú abala lérèfé tòní àní múròyìn míì mọ́ ẹjẹ́ wá yà ní ṣọ́ọ̀ṣì níbi tí tọkọ-tìyàwó àti àwọn tí orí kó yọ ní oríire. Mọ̀mọ́ ti lo glass.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the living Jesus. I bless the name of the Lord for this opportunity that I have. You cannot imagine how many times I have imagined this, how many times I have dreamt it. So I thank God that God has brought it to pass. Lord, I am grateful. I'm going to be very brief. You know, I'm a woman of very few, like my husband. So I'll just be very brief. But I cannot but stand in the midst of God's people to give glory unto the Lord. When we were there, we never knew that the world was praying for us. But I personally knew that Antioch was praying for me. I was so convinced that every Sunday, especially prayer Sunday, I will know that indeed prayers are being offered on my behalf and others. So I bless God that honored those prayers. He did honor it. He did honor it. So I'm going to cite just one instance. Apart from seeing the hand of God right from the beginning, the 7th week was the hardest for us all. That was when the troop increased their hair rates. It was so intense and persistent that at a point, the fear of the bandits became secondary. We were just praying that missiles will not be accidentally dropped on us. But God kept us because we were so exposed, only covered with polythene bags and grasses. So amidst that fear, God consoled our hearts. And that week, it started on Monday. They had told us the previous week that the governor said that before Friday the next week we will be released. So we were calm. But when the hearing started on Tuesday, they become so furious. So towards the end of that week, the commander came, said, "Principal, come." I was already shaking. Because I know what that could mean. So immediately I got there and said, "See what your government has done. I'm going to one of you today." Hey, I just fell down, rolling on the ground. I brought 4 men. There are only 2 remaining. You still want to take another one? I already know that the knowledge of the other 2 will continue to haunt me for a long time. I was just rolling on the ground. And unlike him, he became calm. He said they should call me, that when he left our place, that I should come. He said, "Now that the government has been doing this, what do you want us to do?" I said, "What you asked for is beyond any of the victims' family. Just ask for what we can run around for." He said, "Okay, I will send your message." I thought that had gone. Later in the night, we started hearing shovels walking. My men, the 2 of them, were shouting, "Mama, low shovel, I'm on guru shovel." Money, one shishek and lowoni. I was crying as I was saying, because we all knew what that meant. They were about to bury another person. So those 2, they were shouting, they were pleading, "Mama, eba won soro." Mama ke, kini mama fe se? But to the glory of God, that night, they just asked us to move because they could no longer stay in that place. The hearing was so intense that if a child wants to ease himself, he will be asked to stay there. And they said, "Mama, principal, tell them we are ready to sacrifice any one of them if they make noise. They cannot kill all of us." How do you tell a 1 year, 3 months baby that do not cry? How do you tell a 2-year-old that you must not ask for food? Those periods, they were not free to prepare food because they were afraid that smoke will rat them out. So we go hungry most of the time. But to the glory of God, we left that camp to the last camp before we were rescued and released. While I was there, apart from praying for God's release, I specifically asked for 2 things. 1, I prayed that I will not meet an empty house. I knew how strong my husband's health is. So at a point when they told me that he has closed the line of communication, I said, something has happened to him. He wouldn't have done that on his own. So when we were rescued, I was so persistent that one of the armies had to put a call through to him that I should talk to him. So I knew God answered that prayer. The other thing I specifically asked was my health. The place was so terrible that anything could have happened to that place. I just told God, my grave should not be numbered in the forest. And God helped me. We were in a place that when you are shaking with fever, the first question is it malaria you have or fever? And the solution is 2 tablets of paracetamol. At worst, Bosca, or whatever they call that name. That last week on Sunday, because of the stress I had gone through on the 7th week, I broke down. My temperature was on the roof and I was shaking. So I just called one of them, the camp commandant, Oga, can I have 2 tablets of paracetamol? I said, no problem. The woman sitting next to me said, Mommy, this is not paracetamol. I said, God will work with it. I used that paracetamol, and to the glory of God, it was as if I was never having the symptoms of malaria.
Ẹ̀ńdẹ́bẹ̀ ló lérò yín o, kọ́lọ́ ń ṣàánú gbogbo wa o. Abẹ́rẹ́ mo lanu mi ò lè pàdé. Bàbá náà sọ̀rọ̀ àgbọ̀dí ẹ̀nú ọ̀rọ̀ wọn o. Wọ́n kàn wá jókòó sínú kọ́ńfọ́ọ̀tì yàrá wọn. Wọ́n ra dátà, wọ́n rí dátà rà, wọ́n wá ń sọ oríṣiríṣi. Àṣà dúpẹ́ gbogbo ọ̀nà tó wù kan fi gbà wọ́n láti wálé. Ẹ jẹ́ á gbọ́ díẹ̀ lẹ́nu ọkọ̀ náà nítorí wípé wọ́n ní ìgbà kan tí ẹwà táwọn lu fóònù pa nítorí wípé ẹ̀mí àwọn ò lè gbé mọ́. Sì ní health issue. Ẹ gbọ́ tí màmá sọ wípé nígbà tán gbọ́ pé ọkọ àwọn lu fóònù pa, àwọn rò pé nǹkan ti ṣẹ̀mí rẹ̀. Ṣùgbọ́n nítorí wípé kò lè lù pa bẹ́ẹ̀, òun ìyàwó rẹ̀ wà ń ta. Normally kò ní lù pa, ṣùgbọ́n òun ní nǹkan kan ti ṣẹ̀mí rẹ̀. Àdúrà dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run, nǹkan kan ò ṣẹ̀mí àwọn méjèèjì.
There is one testimony of the forest and one testimony of the city. I belong to the city. My wife belongs to the forest. Ẹ̀rí wa ọ̀nà méjì ló pín sí, tí aginjù àti ti ìgboro. Ìyàwó mi ni ó ní testimony aginjù, èmi ni mo ní testimony ìgboro. Àwọn tó sì mọ family wa dáadáa wọ́n mọ̀ pé àyè pariwo. It's a very quiet family. Lẹ́yìn ká ṣiṣẹ́ Ọlọ́run ká padà sílé, ká bá sì ṣẹ̀ ká bẹ̀bẹ̀. Àmọ̀ jù bẹ́ẹ̀ yẹn lọ. But just like Brother Job said, what I dread most became my portion. I'm very sure pé tá bá Google wọlé àlàmúsìn, story ó pọ̀. Tẹ́lẹ̀tẹ́lẹ̀ academics nìkan lèmi ti máa ń rò pọ̀ mi. Mo rí pé even AI nísìn, ó ti pọ̀ ju original lọ. We thank God. Ọlọ́run ṣe fẹ́ nìyẹn. Ó wá special tó bẹ́ẹ̀. It's an embarrassment to me. Wọ́n jí ìyàwó mi gbé àtàwọn yòókù within 45 minutes. Mo dé ẹ̀sẹ̀lẹ̀. The general officer commanding of 2nd Mechanized Division was already there 30 minutes before me. The commissioner of police was already there 45 minutes before me. 2 helicopters were already combing the forest 1 hour before I got there. It can only be God. And it's an answer prayer from my pastor and from every member of this association. That's the first testimony. The second one, àwa ọkùnrin ni mo sì fẹ́ direct testimony yìí sí. Ẹ mọ̀ pé alágídí díẹ̀. Àwa ọkùnrin. Big boys don't cry. Níta máa ń sọ nìyẹn. Ṣùgbọ́n tó bá dé ojú ẹ̀, big boy can become a small boy. Lálẹ́ ọjọ́ tí wọ́n gbé wọn, mo padà dé níbi 5, mo wá bá rẹ́rẹ́ mi ní church. Mo ní ọ̀gá, I will be strong. Àbí mo ṣe sọ fún mi, mo ní ọ̀gá I will be strong. But nígbà tá a ríra ní ọjọ́ kẹta àbọ̀jọ́ kejì, mo ní I thought I was strong.
Bí ẹ ká mọ̀ bá pẹ́jú adúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run àtúntọ́pẹ́ dá o, ọpẹ́ náà ni a mọ̀ dá. Àní rí bànújẹ́, ẹ jẹ́ wá sáré dé ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn ọmọ ìrankíran ẹ̀. Ẹ wá wò wọ́n ṣe ń gé oko lóko. Bí wọ́n sì tún kọrin kò sólóko lóko ẹyẹ bẹ̀rẹ̀. Kò ní yí àwọn tó ń sọ àpọ̀ pẹ̀lú ọ̀ràn yìí. Sáyìn náà rí wọn, àwọn ọmọ àbí ìpàbẹ̀rẹ̀ o, àwọn ọmọ ìrankíran kéèyàn kan wá máa gbèjà Fúlàní, èwo ló dànù wọn rèé o. Kí wọ́n fi yàtọ̀ sí bandit, ẹ wo oko olóko, ẹ wo oko àgbàdo bó ṣe sùn lọ, ẹ wò bọ́n ṣe kóra wọn lọ bẹ̀. kí la wá ń sọ ẹ wà ní ẹ kan fi wọ́n lẹ́nu oko tẹ́ ẹ bá ti bá bọn lọ́wọ́ wọn ìkà bandit gbogbo ẹ̀yin tẹ́ ń sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ńlẹ̀ Yorùbá ìkà ìmí ìtún náà ń ṣe iye wọn náà gbogbo bí wọ́n bá ti rí kíní Ààrẹ Olódòdè báyìí wọ́n ń yá dànù ni ṣùgbọ́n ẹ̀ tí rí nǹkan kan ẹjẹ́ wá lọ sùkúù kan lé Haúsá náà ni èmi ò tiẹ̀ mọ̀ páwọn ọmọ àlùmọ̀jèrì náà lára wọ́n ti ń lọ sùkúù bẹ́ẹ̀ bá wá wo bí wọ́n ṣe dress up kan nù wọ́n ní wọ́n máa ṣe bí Ààrẹ Olódòdè ló wá ń sùn lórí podium tán gbé sí ẹjẹ́ àwo díẹ̀ ń bẹ̀ ká wá sọ̀rọ̀ lé lórí àwọn èèyàn ti sọ̀rọ̀ gan-an lórí ọ̀rọ̀ yìí.
Why no?
Say why?
I know a lot of you. You know what there is nothing you can do about it. I want to tell people of Punjab about me before I.
Tí wọ́n bá wá ní wọ́n àwọn ọmọ ìmú àtàwọn tíṣà wọn ní ìsìn ariwo pọ̀ àná tún náwó fún wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ tí EFCC bá mọ̀ tán náwó yìí ariwo pọ̀ wọ́n á ní wọ́n ń ṣeré ni ọmọ èké ni wọ́n ṣùgbọ́n mi ò rí wọn bá wí o n ò sì rí wọn bú rárá torí òwe Yorùbá kan ni wọ́n fi kásí ọ̀rọ̀ mi ńlẹ̀ wípé béèyàn bá pẹ́ lórí míkímí èsìkèsì àmọ́ ọkùnrin Ààrẹ Olódòdè ẹ ti ń pẹ́ lórí míkímí jù kò sí nǹkan kan tá a fi jọra wa pẹ̀lú àwọn wèrè yìí ṣe torí fọ́nrán ilé mi ṣe ń pè wọ́n lóko o torí àgbàdo tán gé dànù ni mo sì rántí àwọn ọmọ tán máa ń rán níṣẹ́ dé tòrutòru náà rè lára wọn náà rè máa ń gé àgbàdo kiri wọ́n ń fi bàbá wọn ṣẹlẹ́yà ẹ̀yin lẹ pẹ́ lórí míkímí èsìkèsì ní kùn yín yìí o bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni wọ́n ní bí yà ńlá bá gbé ní sánlẹ̀ kékeré àwọn kéékèèké wọn rè ní kẹ́ ẹ yanjú kínní kó ní kálukú lọ ń lọ ẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ àyà lọ́dọ̀ pásítọ̀ Adébóyè jàre wọ́n náà ti kọ́rọ̀ àwọn jẹ o lórí ọ̀rọ̀ tán sọ lọ́jọ́ sí wípé ẹni tí ò bá san táìtì ò lè lọ sí ọ̀run paradíṣe wọ́n ní kò sínú Bíbélì o.
For making a mistake, for saying that if you don't pay tithe, you might not make it to heaven. I'm sorry, that's wrong. That's not in the Bible. What the Bible says is, he have peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see God. Now, let me tell you, listen to me. You know, it is possible to be right and wrong at the same time. I prove it to you. I'm a scientist, so I know that. For years, we taught that light travels in straight lines. Now, is that correct?
Mo ní bàtà yá fọ́nà yìí ti pẹ́ náà ó ti pẹ́ tán tí wọ́n ti kọ́rọ̀ ìjẹ́ ti pẹ́ wọ́n ti kó ti jẹ́ mo ti rántí báyìí torí nígbà tán bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí wọnú scientist ó dẹ̀ já wà dúró nínú ẹ̀mí èyí tán sọ nínú ẹ̀mí yẹn la fẹ́ gbọ́ nínú mathematics tán fẹ́ mọ gbé wa wọ̀ yẹn wọ́n tún bàbá tún fẹ́ mọ padà sẹ́yìn ni bàbá ẹ ti tọrọ àforíjì lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run kò sínú Bíbélì kò sínú ó lè wà nínú sáyẹ́ǹsì o èèyàn lè gbọ̀nà mí ọ̀nà kan ò wọ́jà ẹ lè gba sáyẹ́ǹsì proof ń tẹ̀wé sọ ṣùgbọ́n biblically bàbá ti sọ ohun tí mo wá láìkí bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni pé orí agbágbé ojú fọ́nrán ojú kámẹ́rà tí wọ́n ti mẹ́hẹ náà ni bàbá padà sí tán ti wá ṣe àtúnṣe. ó rọ níbẹ̀ jẹ́ wá dé Benin o wọ́n ní under bridge Dògbò gangan nìṣẹ̀lẹ̀ ti ṣẹlẹ̀ o mọ́tò tírélà tó gbé ẹrù sẹ́yìn ló há sábẹ́ bíríìjì o náà bá pe àwọn tọ́ọ̀gì àwọn ọmọ ọ̀tá ọmọ ráìsà kán wá máa gbẹ́ ilẹ̀ ojú títì ìjọba kán gbẹ́ ilẹ̀ tí mọ́tò rí sí kán lè ráàyè kọjá impunity pọ̀ Nàìjíríà o. Ọlọ́run ló ń ṣohun gbogbo ẹ̀dá kan lè máa tiraka Ọlọ́run ló ń ṣohun gbogbo ẹ̀dá kan lè máa jàǹpátá. Àlọ́ Ọlọ́run ló ń ṣohun gbogbo ẹ̀dá kan lè máa tiraka Ọlọ́run ló ń ṣohun gbogbo ẹ̀dá kan lè máa jàǹpátá. Ibi tẹ́nìkan ṣe dé o àwòye ibi tẹ́nìkan ṣe dé tó lò ti sú mi o bàbá lókè bá parí iṣẹ́ yẹn o. Mo tún gbé kan dé Saidi mi ẹ̀bọra tí ń kọ́ fújì mo ti dé. Bàbá Sùlíà bàbá Kímù rè o, ọmọ Látòkùnbọ̀ tó ń sọ. Àní mo tún gbé kan dé, mo gbé kan dé Saidi mi ẹ̀bọra tí ń kọ́ fújì mo ti dé. Bàbá Sùlíà bàbá Kímù rè o, ọmọ Látòkùnbọ̀ tó ń sọ. Ṣèbílù London láwà o, sídọ̀n Peter gbé ń bọ̀. Sídọ̀n P Saidi Òṣùpá. Bí ọ̀rọ̀ màmá mi ni Ọlátòkùnbọ̀ Látúndé o, ọ̀ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ gbé ológbò tí ń jẹ́ kí Sàníyà ó jẹ́ lọ́mọ́kàn balẹ̀ Saidi Òṣùpá. Ẹjẹ́ lọ́mọ́kàn balẹ̀ Saidi Òṣùpá. Ọlọ́run ló ń ṣohun gbogbo, ẹ̀dá kan lè máa tiraka. Ṣé bọ́lọ́run ló ń ṣohun gbogbo, ẹ̀dá kan lè máa jàǹpátá. Àníbi tẹ́nìkan ṣe dé o, àwòye ibi tẹ́nìkan ṣe dé tó ló ti sú mi o. Bàbá lókè bá parí iṣẹ́ yẹn o. Oya ẹwà wọ Ọlọ́run ọba bó ṣe ń ṣọlá o. Ẹ̀wò ṣe Ọlọ́run ọba bó ṣe ń ṣọlá. Ẹwà wo ṣe Ọlọ́run ọba bó ṣe ń ṣọlá o. Ẹ̀wò ṣe Ọlọ́run ọba bó ṣe ń ṣọlá. Oya ọmọdé ẹ máa fàgbà arúgbó táyín o. Ọmọdé ẹ máa fàgbà arúgbó táyín. Ẹ máa fàgbà kọ̀rọ̀ sọ. Fàgbà kọ̀rọ̀ sọ. Fàgbà kọ̀rọ̀ sọ. Ẹ máa fàgbà kọ̀rọ̀ sọ. Ẹ máa fàgbà kọ̀rọ̀ sọ. Ẹ máa fàgbà sí yẹ̀yẹ́ o. Ọmọdé ẹ máa fàgbà arúgbó táyín. Kàgbà náà máa fàgbà rọmọdé jẹ mọ́. Kàgbà náà máa fàgbà rọmọdé jẹ mọ́. Torí bí tágbà bá ṣì wà o, tágbà bá ṣì wà o, tágbà bá ṣì wà o lọ́mọ kékeré kí máa bá. Kàgbà náà máa fàgbà rọmọdé jẹ mọ́. Àní bí tágbà bá ṣì wà o lọ́mọ kékeré máa bá ẹ jọ. Ọmọdé ẹ máa fàgbà rọmọdé jẹ mọ́. Orin Saidi Òṣùpá bó ṣe máa ń wù mí nǹkan tó pẹ̀lú ohun rẹ̀ ẹ rò pé ohun tó fẹ́lẹ́fẹ́lẹ́ ní ń lò ní. Bàbá Saidi Òṣùpá the king of music. Àwọn náà nìyẹn òun la fi wọlé sórí ètò. Mo tún gbé kan Saidi mi ẹ̀bọra tí ń kọ́ fújì kẹbọra mọ̀ kọ́ fújì. Mo tún gbé kan dóde Saidi mi ẹ̀bọra tí ń kọ́ fújì mo ti dé. Ẹ̀bọra ń kọ́ fújì. Ẹ̀bọra sì ní lóòótọ́ àwọn orin rẹ̀. Bí ìgbà téèyàn ń gbọ́ wàásù tó ń gbọ́ wàásù Ọlọ́run ọba mọ̀. Mo lè jókòó tì í kí n gbọ́ dáadáa kí n fi ṣe àmúsọ̀rọ̀ kí n fi ṣe àmúkọ́gbọ́n ju kéèyàn rè ìjókòó kó rè waste time ẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ àwọn pásítọ̀ kan tàbí àwọn àfáà orí ẹ̀ àwọn àfáà àgbẹ̀yìn ayé. Òótọ́ ni mo sọ fún yín. Wọ́n fojú ẹlẹ́sẹ̀ wò, wọ́n ló dáfá, wọ́n ló nífá, wọ́n ló ṣẹfá, wọ́n ló ṣe kí ló kun ní kálukú pẹ̀lú tó ní kálukú bá ṣe. Ṣé ẹ̀yin lẹ́sẹ̀ dá rẹ ni? Àní èmi tèmi orin rẹ̀ mo máa ń jókòó tì mí kàn gbádùn rẹ̀ lásán. Mo máa ń fi jẹ́ kó rí mi ó pé àwọn orin ìjìnlẹ̀ ó sì gbọ́ Yorùbá. Lecturer wa ni. Ó dá mú kí káàbọ̀ pẹ̀lú orin bàbá wa king of music Saidi Òṣùpá. Ilé ìtàn kọ yóò ti pẹ́ tán ti kọ́ London ni wọ́n ti kọ́ ń gbà náà. London Delight ẹ máa fi ṣayọ̀ ẹ máa fi jẹ̀gbádùn àwọn kan náà ní aráàmù lórin. Mo jẹ́rìí àwọn mùsùlùmí alálàáfíà àwọn gan ti dá yàtọ̀ nísìn àwọn náà ti gbà pé àwọn ilé ìfẹ́ ba ìsìn àwọn jẹ́ ni. Ibà orin náà ní ibà gbọ́n débẹ̀ ìbáyọ̀ nàná ibà Sanawole ibà Kanjú Àbẹ́ǹkò ibà orin náà ní ibà ẹbọra tí ń kọ fújì ẹbọra tí ń ka news làwa. Èmi náà ń pè ní ibà ọ̀rọ̀bọ̀ kíbọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ bí ibà rìn gínigíní tí kú mi àti kú yìí rìn gínigíní ibà pàpà parada àyà parado ọ̀gá rẹ̀ parado dáyà. Nú abala kọ́mẹ́sẹ̀ sàmìlẹ̀ yìí olólùfẹ́ náà mò ń jẹ́ ibà ọ̀pá kọ́kọ́ àwọn pé kí ọkọ̀ àwọn swiss ní ẹ tún lè pè mí ní ibà àlẹ́jẹ́lì ibà rìpọ̀tẹ́lì gbogbo tẹ́ ẹ bá gbọ́ lórí ìkànnì lónìí kí ni o àti gbogbo gbà àlẹ́jẹ́lì àwọn rìpọ̀tẹ́lì ni àwọn tẹnu àbùkù báyẹn kankan bẹ́ẹ̀ náà lèmi ni mò ń jẹ́ ibà sàn láàrin àjẹ́ ni mú ni pẹ̀kọ̀rọ̀pẹ̀kọ̀rọ̀ bọ́ bá ti covid ẹni tí ò rìn sàn pẹ̀lú rẹ̀ mọ́ ṣe mistake rìn sàn pẹ̀lú rẹ̀ gba lé sí mọ́nà tán kọ́ mọ́ bá gba lé sí mọ́ níyà ó dáa ká mọ́ bá dènà pẹ́nu ó dáa èmi náà ni mò ń jẹ́ ibà fẹ́nu wú gbogbo tí ò dánilẹ̀ Yorùbá á fẹ́nu wú dànù ibà kúngilá ibà kà síwájú ibà ìbóyìn náà ní ibà ìbọ̀bọ̀ kí bọ̀bọ̀ ibà bọ̀bí lọ́bì bọ́bì ibà Valentini ibà ọkọ̀ ẹlẹ́ àtẹ́mùrè ọkọ̀ Miriam Cipriano ọkọ̀ òyìn kan sọ̀la tó ń bọ̀ lọ́nà ọkàn òyìn orí àìsí ṣùgbọ́n bí ìgbà tí wọ́n bá fi àìsí ṣúgà sórí kéèkì bá kéde fún Yorùbá nation fún Oòduà nation káfàtà iná ìkámọ́dé náà pẹ̀lú alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ náà àkórí ìròyìn wọn bá ti mọ́ ṣe náà láṣẹ ṣe lónìí nítorí wípé òun ló dífá fún babaláwo tí ń dífá ọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀run ìfá ojoojúmọ́ ní ìròyìn tiwa. Ọlọ́run ẹ ṣé o kábíyèsí ọba tẹ̀rẹ̀ kárí ayé ẹ ṣeun o. Orúkọ yín láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò ẹ̀yin ní Alpha àti Omega, mú kí gbogbo ẹ̀yin mọ̀mọ́ mi ẹ̀yin bàbá mi náà lórí ìkànnì alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ń bẹ̀ nínú ìròyìn tòní ẹjẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ arábìnrin yìí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá wojú rẹ̀ dáadáa ẹ̀ dààmú South Africa ni mo ti kófìrí rẹ̀ last lára àwọn journalist tó lọ sí South Africa láìpẹ́ yìí lórí ọ̀rọ̀ xenophobia náà níbi ṣe ń fi wá làwa náà ń fi à ń fà kó tí ì tora wọn ó ní wọ́n fẹ́ lé dànù níbi tí wọ́n ti gbà wọ́n láàyè pé káwọn oníròyìn kan wá béèrè question lọ́wọ́ àwọn aláṣẹ wọn South Africa. Ó sì béèrè question pé kí ló dé tẹ̀ ń fi ojú olè ojú ògùn olóró wo gbọ́ ọmọ Nàìjíríà ẹ bá tiẹ̀ mú èèyàn kan sí méjì ẹ bẹ́ẹ̀ ṣèdájọ́ rẹ̀ ni kí ló dé tẹ̀ ń fojú àwìn náà ẹ tọrọ ìdáríjì ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ o ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n rán ìkan lára àwọn àjọ ọ̀tẹlẹ̀múyẹ́ wọn sí pé kó sọ́ra rẹ̀ wọ́n fẹ́ lé jáde òun ló wá padà wá ló wá tú àṣírí ó tú pẹ̀rẹ́pẹ̀rẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ ó ní over 90,000 ọmọ Nàìjíríà àádọ́rùn kọ́ ní 90 àádọ́rùn ẹgbẹ̀rún ó lé ní àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tó wà náà àmọ́ mo ní pàgídárì ó ní igi ò tí ì dá mo ní sóòótọ́ ló sì ń sọ ó lóun ò lè mọ̀ rí kóun wá mọ̀ sọ tóun ò rí over 90,000 mélòó lọmọ Nàìjíríà tó wà ní South Africa wọ́n náà fi wọ́n pamọ́ ni àwọn náà ń pariwo ẹ kúrò ń lu wa àwọn náà náà sì wọ́n ha wọn mọ́ pàníjẹ́ kúrò ẹ tú wọn lé ẹjẹ́ kan lọ. Ìjọba Nàìjíríà ní èròǹgbà rere láti kó gba ọmọ wọn wálé ẹ tú wọn lẹ̀ kí ló ń dá yín dúró. Ó tú pẹ̀rẹ́pẹ̀rẹ́ ọ̀rọ̀ èmi sì ń yẹ ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ wò ṣùgbọ́n ó fẹnu ara rẹ̀ sọ à ń gbé bọ̀ lónìí náà ni kò ní dọ̀là bá ti wá kó ń bẹ̀ tán á wà yà lọ́dọ̀ agbẹnusọ bàbá Ọbásanjọ́ wọn làwọn ò ní kùnà àwọn ò ní dákẹ́ àwọn náà ti rán èèyàn wa pòfẹ́sọ̀ lẹ́ǹtàn rán wa mọ́ ní gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ àlùfàǹsá ọ̀rọ̀ kọ́rọ̀ tí ó ń jábọ́ lẹ́nu Àtìkù wọn náà lésì fún wọn àwọn ọmọ délédélé àwọn ọmọ dáadáa pòfẹ́sọ̀ tàn rán wa Ọ̀ṣuntókun àwọn náà ganu sí máìkì wọn ní kí sẹ́jọ́ Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Àtìkù pé bàbá Ọbásanjọ́ ló fún láyọ̀yọ̀ wọ́n fi ṣe bíi last born wọ́n wá ń jẹ́ kó mọ iyọ̀ bí ìranu ṣúgà pé àwọn náà bàjẹ́ sí èmi ò gbọ́ àbáwò ò gbọ́ wípé Àtìkù mọ́ bragadongbà kan wípé ó ní the most powerful and the most igbákejì ààrẹ gbogbo àgbáyé pé kọ́tì àrèlódò pé kọ́tì Obìjì torí Obìjì gbé agbára lé lọ́wọ́ gan wọ́n delegate power fún mọ́lò náà ló fà á tán fi gbé agbára lé lọ́wọ́ wípé kórè ìmójútó iná Nàìjíríà ẹ wo ibi tó bá dé ẹ bá lẹ́ẹ̀nì ná Nàìjíríà àrèlódò dẹ́kọ́ ló ní pọ́blẹ́mù àwọn Àtìkù yìí ní kẹrì bá wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ tó pọ̀ wọ́n tú àṣírí rẹ̀ à ń bọ̀ lórí rẹ̀ lónìí náà ni kò ní dọ́là bábá kó ń bẹ́ tán á wà sáré yà lọ́dọ̀ arábìnrin tó gbégbá orókè nínú ètò ìdìbò tán ṣe kì í ṣe Nàìjíríà kì í sì ṣe local government kankan kì í sì ṣe ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ o ní àárín àwọn ẹgbẹ́ agbẹjọ́rò NBA Nigerian Bar Association ó ní lẹ́yìn ìgbà tó ń wíìnì tán òun ni arábìnrin tí ó kọ́kọ́ sí olórí president NBA Nàìjíríà òun wíìnì tán wọ́n tàn jọ dupò kó tó wá jámù lọ́wọ́ lùmbárè kí wọ́n sílé ó ní kan léwu dànù ní tó de ajá sóhun ní ó ní kejì òun pé kó dáhùn á sọ àfíṣọ rẹ̀ lónìí nínú àkójọpọ̀ ròyìn bàbá tí wàá kó lọ́dọ̀ rẹ̀ tán áyà lọ́dọ̀ àrèlódò dẹ níbi tó ti ń ké sí gbogbo àwọn ará diaspora ohun òwà jákè púpọ̀ mo bá ràn wọ́n lọ́wọ́ pé wọ́n ń pè yín o wọ́n lèmi náà ń kọ́ mo ní àjọ jẹ́ yín ní òun náà ni wọ́n ní ká wá wo àwọn akẹgbẹ́ wa ò tán padà wálé fúnra ara wọn àwọn ò fọ́ọ̀sì wọn o pé àwọn opposition tún lè jáde ní ìsìnkan wọn sọ̀sọ́kúsọ o wọ́n fẹ́ sí ara wọn rìn wálé ní o àwọn ò sì lólúgbòhùn fún wọn àwọn ò pè wọ́n lórí àfọ̀ṣẹ́ o àwọn ò sì pè wọ́n lórí aago àwọn ò mọ nọ́mbà wọn ṣàdédé náà ní àwọn interest nípa initiative kan nípa initiative tí ìyáàfin Àbíkẹ́ Dábírí dá sílẹ̀ ẹ̀sìn mọ̀ páwọn ní alámòjútó gbogbo diaspora pátápátá wọn náà fẹ́ padà wálé wọ́n fẹ́ ṣe bẹ̀bẹ̀ mú ní sàn kẹ́rùkẹ́rù sàn kó gbó nǹkan ní wọn ṣé permanently náà fẹ́ padà sílé ni káà náà lè lọ dàrú àbí temporarily wọ́n ní kásáwà gbọ́ ntán sọ àti ntáwọn náà sọ fún wọn wípé ẹ wálé ẹ wá tún lè ṣe ó dà ń bọ̀ lórí ẹ̀ gbogbo ntán sọ tán jọ sọ á sọ lónìí náà ni kò ní dọ́là bàbá tí wàá kó ń bẹ̀ tán á wà á yà lọ́dọ̀ ẹni tó jẹ́ CEO wọn ní Enugu airline a sì ń retí o kàn jẹ́ wa lábọ̀ kí ló fà á odidi aeroplane tó fàyà gbálẹ̀ báyẹn só jábọ́ ni wọ́n ní ò jábọ́ torí kì í ṣe pé bóyá pa rẹ̀ kan àbí nǹkan kẹ́yẹ́gún ò gbọ́dọ̀ sí bẹ́ẹ̀ jábọ́ kí ló wá ṣẹlẹ̀ wọ́n ní kì í ṣe crash kì í ṣe kinní kan kí wàá ní wọ́n lè sọ̀rọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀rọ̀ kan la wá ká mọ́ olórí wọn lẹ́nu níbi tó ti sọ wípé ọpẹ́lọpẹ́ koríko pé kò bá gbaná mo ní ẹja mọ́ dúpẹ́ ká mọ́ gbin koríko sí agbègbè gbogbo airport ńgbà náà o wọ́n lọ́pẹ̀lọpẹ̀ koríko à ń bọ̀ CEO wọn ní Enugu airline à ń gbébọ̀ lónìí náà ni kò ní dọ̀la bàbá tí wàá kó ń bẹ́ tán á wà á yà lórí bíìlì kan tán ní Senate gbé dìde wípé wọ́n fẹ́ kí gbogbo iléeṣẹ́ pàápàá jùlọ àwọn iléeṣẹ́ social media tó jẹ́ giant àwọn iléeṣẹ́ ńláńlá bíi Facebook bíi Instagram bíi YouTube bíi Google kan náà wà ní ṣọ́ọ̀bù kan wà ní ọ́fíìsì jàre ní Nàìjíríà mo ní ṣé bẹ́ẹ̀ ló ṣe rí káàkiri wọ́n ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n ní ọ́fíìsì káàkiri wọ́n ní so tán bá mọ̀ wípé nílò Nàìjíríà tán sì mọ̀ wípé wọ́n nílò Nàìjíríà èrò tó wà lórí agbágbé mo ti ẹ̀ nígbà kan náà gbé dátà kan jáde tán ní ọmọ Nàìjíríà ló ń sọ́ọ̀fù íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì jù wọ́n ní ọmọ Nàìjíríà ráàyè tó bá wá jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bí China ṣe lo population wọn káwa náà lo population wa kán wá gbé iléeṣẹ́ tó bá mọ̀ wípé awúlò fún wọn kán wá gbé iléeṣẹ́ sí Nàìjíríà mo ní mo fọwọ́ sí mo fẹsẹ̀ sí mo fi gbogbo ara sí. ara ti wá kó bẹ́ẹ̀ tán àyà lọ́dọ̀ Babachir làwa ẹ̀ wá gbó sí ọ̀rọ̀ tí ń sọ sáré olódò dẹ̀ mo ní àyàmọ̀ kú ọ́ ó ní Tinubu likes to sick cigarette èwo ní jẹ́ sick cigarette mo ní sóògùn olóró tún ní sick cigarette ni ó sì wá jẹ́ táìmù tàn ń fa kínní tí Àtìkú kò sí gbá tàtìkù tàbí torí Àtìkú náà ló ṣe kúrò nínú ẹgbẹ́ ADC ó ti ní Peter Obi àti Kọ́pánsó lòun ó tẹ̀lé ní ìsìn Babachir fọ́mà kínní SGF ipò tí Àkúmẹ́ wà ní ìsìn ló gbàgbà ní ipò ńlá ní wọ́n lè dànù ní owó kan tí ń gbà kan náà lábẹ́ ìṣèjọba àgbọ̀n kankan mo ní wọ́n mú ní káná mú ní kò ní lẹ́nu ọ̀rọ̀ gbogbo eléyìí tí ń sọ ó sì máa ń sọ ní àárín olódòdó láwọ́ o gbọ́ nínú ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ náà kí ló wá fa ọ̀rọ̀ débi pé wọ́n ń fa 6 cigarettes ó ní he is not a healthy man his daily diet consists mainly of banana and groundnut Babachir ló sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ mo ní bó láyé àárín olódòdó ṣe wá àgbà láyé tó fi mọ̀ wọ́n báyìí wọ́n ní òmò àárín olódòdó wọ́n ní nǹkan ní í ṣe so groundnut nìkan níyàwó ààrẹ ń ṣe fún ààrẹ ó rí adúrú farmland wọn lẹ́yìn aṣọ rọ̀kì ní tán fi hàn ewé tó wà bẹ́ẹ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀ wà ń bẹ̀ ó ní banana nìkan àti groundnut ní ààrẹ olódòdó máa jẹun ní irú èèyàn wo lélẹ̀ wọ̀ lọ Babachir ṣé wọn ní kọ́ àwọn ará bíi lọ́gbọ́n báyìí àwọn ń bọ̀ nú ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ á mú wa á fi ṣe yẹ̀yẹ́ á fi ṣe lẹ́yà bàbá ti wá kó ń bẹ̀ tán ẹjẹ́ àyà the first time tá a kọ́kọ́ lo ọ̀rọ̀ primate Ayọ̀délé nínú àkójọpọ̀ ròyìn rẹ̀ o ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọgbà inú abala lérèfé pé ó kàn fẹ́ wá ní inú abala lérèfé láti mọ́ lò ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n gàùn sí máìkì wọ́n lélẹ̀ yìí kì í ṣe ọ̀rọ̀ prọfẹ́sì wọn náà fẹ́ gàùn sí orí ọ̀rọ̀ àwọn agbésùmọ̀mí tán mú pọ̀pọ̀pọ̀ inú àwọn dùn ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ṣe ń rán wọn ní ẹ̀wọ̀n gbére kò dùn máwọn nú ikú lèrè ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ mú ní primate ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ kì í dáadáa o ṣé ìṣe wípé ẹ̀rí lójú àlà ṣé ìṣe nù ràn wọ́n ní rárá wọ́n ní ọ̀rọ̀ ẹnu àwọn ni ó dáa ń bọ̀ ń bẹ́ẹ̀ wọn náà fẹ́ dá sí gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọmọ Nàìjíríà bàbá tí wá kó ń bẹ́ tán áyà ní ọ̀dọ̀ ọmọ iléeṣẹ́ ológun kan tán náà ń wá o iléeṣẹ́ ológun ló declare wọn ní bẹ́ẹ̀ bá bọ̀ ń rí wọn ní ẹ ṣe dáadáa bí ọmọ Nàìjíríà kí ló ṣe wọn ní allegedly ó ń supply military uniform fún àwọn terrorists mo láàrí àbáàní rí ni àárí luck ti run out of him nìyẹn ilé ó mú à ń bọ̀ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ gbogbo ibi tó bá wù kò sá lọ bàbá wa kúrò mẹ́tàn ilé láàfin káàdì gbogbo àkórí ìròyìn lẹ̀ àyà lọ́dọ̀ Ṣeun Ọ̀kínbalóyè níbi tó ti interview Òbí wọ́n níbi tá Òbí igbákejì rẹ tó fẹ́ ṣe igbákejì rẹ jàre èmi ò tí ì rí igbákejì ara wọn tó ń ṣe ní ẹni tó fẹ́ ṣe igbákejì rẹ òun ló wá ganu sí máìkì ní àná àbí ó ti dìjẹta ìwọ náà tún wá lónìí ṣé ìwọ náà fẹ́ wá sọ fún wa wípé ó fọwọ́ sí state police ni àbó ti rí wípé ó mẹ́hẹ̀ ìsọkúsọ ló wá sọ ó fẹ́ wá bò ó kí ló fẹ́ wá sọ gan ó ní ká fún láàyè ó ní ẹ̀ńtà bá ń gbéyàwó bọ̀ wá bá kí gárùn wòran wípé he will not let the cat out of the bag náà mú ló dáa àti káàtì rẹ̀ àti báàgì rẹ̀ àwò kọ́lọ̀ wọn bá bá dénú àkójọpọ̀ ìròyìn àní ríjú báyìí lọ ná àwọn àkórí ìròyìn wa tòní wọn bá omi tá a dà wájú iná ó tó tẹlẹ̀ tútù bá a bá dénú àkójọpọ̀ ìròyìn pápápá láàṣì bí àwọn bàbá sọ̀rọ̀ yẹ́wẹ́yẹ́ o no space for Sharia law in Yoruba land, no space for agbésùnmọ̀mí in Yoruba land, no space for terrorism in Yoruba land, no space for àwọn onímọ̀nà fìkì gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n máa ń ṣe wáàsí ọ̀ràn wáàsí ẹ̀pá ẹ̀bù lẹ́sẹ̀ no space for them àwọn tó máa ń pa ìtànkìtàn lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá no space for them ó dìgbò rere ẹwọ ẹ̀yẹ̀jàre àfi pàkà ayọ̀ ló bá dé lórí ìkànnì alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ń bẹ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ tí ẹjẹ́ ń sọ díẹ̀ nínú ọ̀rọ̀ tán ní Mufti sọ lánàá pé àwọn ò ní gbà ó irú Sunday Igboho yẹn kán gbébọn lé àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ẹkùn lọ́wọ́ o kò sí nǹkan kan tó fẹ́ ṣe o mo ní sọ mọ̀ pé orí rẹ ni ò pé tó o bá mọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ó mọ̀ wípé ẹni tó jáde tán tá a ní ìgbàgbọ́nú rẹ̀ rèé lọ́jọ́ ogun lé ẹni tá a rí rèé ṣébí wọn náà ló fẹ́ dá iléeṣẹ́ ogun lẹ̀ pé àwọn ọmọ kéékèèké kán kọ́ wọn ń bọ̀n ìwọ fẹ́ lò bọ̀n tó sì mú kíní tá a ti rí iṣẹ́ ọwọ́ wọn tó ń mú àwọn bandits ṣé bó ní àwọn bandits ẹgbẹ̀gbẹ̀ ilé náà wọ́n mú ni so ọmọ bandits ẹgbẹ̀gbẹ̀ ilé ọmọ tinú oko àṣírí yín máa tú ó ń dùn wọ́n wípé gbogbo ọ̀nà tó yà wọ́n fẹ́ gbé gbà ńlẹ̀ Yorùbá gbogbo iṣẹ́ ibi tó fẹ́ lo àwọn fún kò bọ́ sójú náà àwa tí ẹrù pariwo lásán náà fẹ́ pani náà bá rán competition ẹ̀yìn náà ti gbọ́ lánàá mo fẹ́ tún dánú mọ́ ni kán lè mọ̀ wípé àwọn ti lulẹ̀ kò sí ń tẹ́ ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ̀ ga ọ wọ́n ní wòlíì níyì ń lu rẹ̀ ojú kékeré lẹ fi wo Sunday Igboho ní àsìkí tó ní búrùjì tó ní ní ìmọ̀ àtòyé tó ní ní bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ìrẹ̀lẹ̀ tó ní ní ọgbọ́n tó ní ní kí lẹ ní sí ọ alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ń bẹ̀ jàre ẹjá bẹ̀rẹ̀ látọ̀dọ̀ USA níbi tá a ti gbọ́ tán sọ wípé ẹ wá wo fọ́nrán tí wọ́n fi léde o wọ́n ní dramatic video níbi tá a ti ń rí àwọn ọmọ ogun USA tí wọ́n ń board a commercial tanker as the naval blockade against Iran continues wípé ọ̀nà ní Strait of Hormuz báyìí ọ̀nà wọn pàṣẹ ń bẹ̀ o bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni gbogbo ibi tí Iran ń jo àdó olóró sí àwọn náà ti wá rí wípé àwọn yẹn náà ti ń dá padà fún wọn owó bàbá àjẹ̀bù bẹ́ẹ̀ náà tún sọ wọ́n ní ẹ̀rù ń bà wọ́n ní ẹ wá wo USA pé ẹ sì fẹ́ pẹ̀fọn lásán ẹ̀rẹ́ mú àdá kí ló dé ẹ wá dúró àwọn nǹkan ogun tá a gbọ́ pé ẹ̀ ń kó bọ̀ ní Iran kí la gbé kí la jù àwọn ó sì ta àwọn náà mọ́lẹ̀ tí ìmọ̀ ti ṣe ẹ bẹ́ẹ̀ lẹ́ ní ballistic ẹ mọ̀ yìn bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni USA kìlọ̀ fún China àti Russia wípé ẹ ṣọ́ra yín ẹni tá a bá bọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ wípé ẹ̀ náà ran Iran lọ́wọ́ yóò lé koko bí ojú ẹ̀jẹ̀ mọ́rò wípé torí pé àwọn nǹkan àdó olóró táwọn ń jù síbi àwọn ní stock àwọn ọpọlọ àwọn pé o àwọn ní stock iye táwọn nílẹ̀ o àwọn ò lè waste yẹ anyhow o tó náà mọ̀ wípé ẹ̀ ń sọ àwọn opportunity lẹ̀ ń wá ṣùgbọ́n fìtí ẹ ṣe tiẹ̀ rántí ẹ níbi tó ti ya ìwọ Russia sóòrí wípé tẹ́ ẹ bá rí bí Ukraine ṣe ń dáná ya Russia ní ìsìn kíní wọn àdó olóró tí drone wọn wá ń gbé ní ìsìn ó tún wá heavy tó jẹ́ wípé tẹ́lẹ̀ wọ́n bá ju àdó olóró àkànrin bí ìgbà téèyàn yin iná disco iná ọlọ́run kì í jó yẹn ṣùgbọ́n ní ìsìn wọ́n ń ba everywhere jẹun náà tí wọ́n ń target energy bẹ́ẹ̀ náà làwọn ọmọ Russia ń kú wọ́n ní bí ó sì rí nù torí ẹ̀yin lẹ béèrè fún àwọn ó sì fún yín bẹ́ẹ̀ ń pa wọn àwọn ò sì sọ nǹkan kan yóò ti sú Ọ̀gbẹ́ni lórí wọn Russia yẹn. Only US official says 12 commercial ships have already been turned away while others that ignore repeated warnings were disabled or intercepted by American forces. Torí ẹlẹ́sìrì wọn tán wọ inú àwọn commercial kìnìyàn pé ṣé tí yín di ní ẹ̀fà àwọn ṣeré ta ló fún yín ní ọ̀nà ta ló gúnrán ta ń gúnyán fún yín tó nítọ̀bẹ̀ òtòrò ta ń fún yín lọ́nà ta ń sílẹ̀kùn fún yín ẹ mọ̀ ní sáìdì ti Iran wọ́n ṣí ọ̀nà fún wọn bẹ̀ wọ́n ti gbowó wọ́n ti ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ àwọn tí wọ́n ṣe ti Iran wọ́n wá rò pé wọ́n lè ṣàgídí padà ọ̀nà níbí ẹ fi tàwọn ṣe ó dá ẹjá tẹ̀ iwájú àròjọ mùsùlùkùn ó sì ń tẹ̀síwájú ó ń fẹ̀ lójú sí ni o bàbá tí wàá kó ń bẹ́tẹ̀ ẹjẹ́ àyà lọ́dọ̀ arákùnrin yìí níbi tó ti ganu sí máìkì ọ̀rọ̀ tó sọ ohun tí ẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ fẹ́ wọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ ó ní dátà ìwádìí fi hàn ní 2024 sí 2025 pé 2.33 trillion naira ló bọ́ jáde lọ́wọ́ àwọn àkójọpọ̀ owó tó bọ́ jáde lọ́wọ́ ọmọ Nàìjíríà mo ní láàrin ọdún kan sí méjì kí náà fi rà wọ́n ní ransom mo ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o wọ́n ní ransom ni o ṣé ìjọba sì gbà wọ́n ní ìjọba dispute ẹ̀ ẹjẹ́ agbọ́làbàrí ìlẹ̀nu arákùnrin.
The governor of Oyo State was making the very same insinuations that as soon as he declared for the presidency, the children went missing. You know, so what are the incentives? What are the issues, you know, outside of the security loop that are equally incentivizing or driving these factors?
Number one is the economic gain. Whether we like it or not, the perpetrators and their sponsors are making money from it. Don't forget that last year, between the National Bureau of Statistics said it last year that between 2024 and 2025, 2.23 trillion naira was paid as ransom by Nigerians. We had the government disputed that statistics. But don't forget that I told you that I did my thesis on kidnapping for ransom. So I know how much was paid by victims. The SB Morgan is a security intelligence analysis firm. They also came out to say that 2.56 billion naira was paid by Nigerians for ransom.
You mean billion or trillion?
Billion. For the SB, that's the private security intelligence firm. But the government agency, that's the NBS, came out to say trillion. 2.23 trillion naira was paid. Right. So if a data generating agency of government will come out to say this is what they have found out, why will government come out to say to deny it? Right. But the point here is that you are aware that these resources, these terrorists, kidnappers and all that, they use it to see how to expand their network. Right. They use it to sustain themselves. That's basically what they use it for. The arms and ammunition that they use, it's expensive.
So if government is forced or compelled by one way or another, you know, to secure releases of abducted people or children by paying ransom, even if when they deny it, doesn't that amount to government directly funding more terrorism, funding more abductions and so on? And if so, what is the way out? Because any family's children, any family where people have been taken, for example, the families of the 42 children. And in the case of this Musa case, it's particularly agonizing in the sense that some families, 5-6 children have been taken from the same family all at once. The families will not care where government finds money. The families will not care what government needs to do to secure the release of their children. All they want is for the children to be released. So where do you place the balance now?
You see, the government is caught in a quagmire. Right. They need to do what they need to do to save their face. Nigeria is one of the most talked about countries in the world. Absolutely. US, Canada, they discuss Nigeria on the floor of the parliament, the plenary. They discuss Nigeria. Look at Ted Cruz. Look at, even within Nigeria, there's no television or radio stations that you don't tune to that issues bordering on insecurity is not discussed. So I think it should worry the government. So in the event of trying to see how to save their face,
going forward, ẹjá wáyà nílé ẹjọ́ ẹnikẹ́lá fẹ́ rèé ṣe lórí ọ̀rọ̀ àjọ NDLEA náà ni ẹ mọ̀ wípé wọ́n kọ̀wọ́rìn pẹ̀lú àwọn adájọ́ kọ̀ọ̀kan àtàwọn lọ́ọ̀yà kan lọ sínú igbó kan ní Ogun State wípé ibẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti ń ṣe oògùn olóró met wọ́n sì ní multi-billion naira establishment ni wọ́n wá fẹ́ wádìí ọ̀rọ̀ lọ wípé ṣé lóòótọ́ ni wọ́n wá fẹ́ wádìí òfin tó wọ́n fẹ́ wá kúlẹ̀kúlẹ̀ rẹ̀ pé ṣé lóòótọ́ ni ló jẹ́ kẹ́sẹ̀ lẹ́sẹ̀ kan jọ lọ síbẹ̀ láìpẹ́ ìṣùgbọ́n báyìí wọ́n ní wọ́n ti approve wípé kán rè bàbẹ̀jẹ̀ kán destroy mo ní wọ́n wà jẹ́yìn lábọ̀ wọ́n fún yín update àyàbá ń tẹ̀sí nílé agbára.
In its application, the NDLEA, through its counsel, Buhari Abdullahi, told the court that the clandestine laboratory poses a serious environmental and health risk. He added that officials of the agency had been stationed at the site for more than 2 months, exposing them to the hazardous chemicals stored there. He argued that the application was backed by Section 3, subsection 1I of the NDLEA Act, which empowers the agency to take steps towards the destruction of dangerous drugs, chemicals, and related substances. But the counsel to the defendants, Benson and Dakara, opposed the application, describing it as premature and capable of prejudicing the defense. He argued that the alleged methamphetamine and other substances sought to be destroyed constitute crucial evidence in the ongoing trial. He also claimed that part of the substances had already been destroyed by the NDLEA and that the prosecution should only seek leave to destroy the substances after they had been formally tendered and admitted as exhibits, which will give the defense adequate opportunity to examine and challenge them. After listening to both parties, Justice Kakaki granted NDLEA's application but restrained the agency from destroying some of the contentious chemicals mentioned by the defendants. At the last sitting, the court visited the laboratory uncovered in a remote forest at Mowe village located within Ijebu East local government area of Ogun State. The special court sitting portrays the gravity of this large-scale operation where several equipment and chemicals were recovered from the laboratory which were allegedly being used for the production and storage of large quantities of methamphetamine intended for export outside Nigeria.
What happened was, the trial started last Thursday and the agency presented one of his prosecution witnesses who listed some of the items that were recovered here at this site. And then what the court did today is to come physically to have a look and a confirmation of the items listed in the evidence of the prosecution witness. And that's exactly what has transpired with presiding judge coming to see and confirm that indeed what was listed in the evidence presented by the prosecution witness is actually what is on ground, because some of the chemicals, precursor chemicals, are things that cannot be moved because of their dangerous substances.
The defendants, Juan Torrero, Nemesio Felix, and Lopez Valles, all Mexicans, alongside Anochili Nwankwo, said to be the group's leader, have all pleaded not guilty to the charges. They are facing an 11-count charge bordering on conspiracy, unlawful production and possession of methamphetamine, operating a drug trafficking organization, and unlawful possession of precursor chemicals.
Wọ́n sì ní bọ́m̀bẹ̀ ó lè jẹ́ kó bẹ́ẹ̀ já fojú àwọn tó wá láti South Africa hàn yín bí Minister of Foreign Affairs for State ẹ wá kẹsẹ̀ lẹ́sẹ̀ ẹ ń tójó lórí yín gan president in South Africa ò tẹ̀lé yín bọ́n ṣe ń rí àrí olódòdó náà nù ó di president Nàìjíríà lẹ́kàn fẹ́ wọlé wá bàbá ẹ bàjẹ́ sá bí ìbá ṣe ń tó dé tó ní àwa wo irú yín ẹ jẹ́ àgbọ̀n tán sọ.
We reiterate that the solution is not to kill them. I mean, we're a country governed by the rules of law. If someone is, quote and unquote, a criminal for drug trafficking, there are rules and regulation. Get them arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. The Nigerian government will not support drug peddlers. But please, what we're saying is that treat them in accordance with your constitution, in accordance with international human rights instruments, in accordance with the minimum requirement of humanity. But what we have found is that this xenophobic attack had gone beyond, attack on criminals. We have record of Nigerians who have legitimate papers to remain in South Africa, yet they have been attacked. And we could see some mob actions, which we saw the police watching, as if they are helpless to address this situation. These are the issues of complicity. If the state authorities are not able or unwilling to tackle these challenges in a manner that offers some confidence in citizens, in foreigners, that indeed they are safe to remain in the country. I think those are some of the background to our concerns, and we're hoping that when we go into close the session, we'll be able to address in some considerable details our specific concerns and why Mr. President had asked that we should receive you. Again, he sent his warm greetings to his brother, friendship, and body chemistry that exists between these two countries. And
but FFK rẹ̀ wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ṣẹ́ South Africa náà làǹbàṣẹ́rọ̀ tán gbé lọ wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ ṣẹ́ ilé náà ti fẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ṣẹ́ wọn ṣùgbọ́n àwọn èèyàn gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tarákùnrin sọ Minister for Foreign Affairs for State wọ́n kò dànù bí omi sanwó ni wọ́n ní ta ló ránṣẹ́ ta ló ní ààrẹ olódò ń kí wọn. Who get them? Who born them? Ààrẹ wo ló ń kí wọn èèyàn lóhun ò rí yàn ìwọ ní send this warm greeting wèrè wo àníkẹ́ fóun gbígbóná sọ̀rọ̀ ta lélẹ̀ náà. Kódà ibi láàrin wọn nínú abala ti Sanawole ní pápá àpọ̀ ẹjẹ́ ń pé àyà wọlé káyẹ̀wá gbọ́ adébẹ̀nú abala ẹ̀yìn olólùfẹ́ wa abala comment section àrùjọ musológún àyà pápá àpàní òsì orí àwọn bàbá sọ̀nà. Ẹ mà tún káàbọ̀ sínú abala ẹ̀yìn olólùfẹ́ abala comment section. Bàbá wa Adétáyọ̀ Adégayọ̀ ìnàbá àsídè tí wọ́n ní òbí àkó ètò ní o a ó ṣe ìsinmi ayọ̀ ojú kò ní tiwa ní ìdílé aláyọ̀ wa yìí lágbára Olódùmarè àṣẹ o inú mi máa dùn ni a ti bọ́ sáàrin yín kó ló báyìí. Mami Grace olùṣòtọ́ wọn ni mo kí òbí àti àyà àti gbogbo àwọn ìdílé aláyọ̀ àti oríire yìí àtòríire ó da gbogbo ẹ̀ náà oríire kún wa àsìkò ọjọ́ ìsinmi òní ẹ̀mí wa yóò sí ọ̀pọ̀ rẹ̀ láyé tọmọtọmọ tìdílé àmì Jésù Yorùbá nation no going back. Mami Abọ́láńlé $1 ìyàwó àyà ṣe rí àwọn ìfẹ́ alákàbà mẹ́ta yìí máa jọ mí lójú àyà nìkan ni mo kó. Happy Sunday people of God, I pray we celebrate many more Sundays on earth in Jesus Christ's mighty name. Obi and my love àyà happy glorious last Sunday of the month. Love from Mama Dollar. Mami Victoria Badejo yà yín lónìí wọ́n ní happy Sunday to everyone, my darling Obi and also my your darling to me too. Wọ́n ní ọwọ́ onírè máa tó padà di ìlú lẹ́yìn tí CSI ti fẹ́ gba àkóso gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá ló wà lẹ́yìn rẹ̀ àti àwọn alálẹ̀ Oòduà nation no going back. Ire o ẹ wo wáìnì bó ṣe sun léra èmi mo ní mẹ́jẹ̀ẹ̀jọ àyàwó akótó ń dórí fúláwà èmi mo làwọn wáìnì méje ni mo wọ̀rí. Báàmì Adésínà Ọládẹ́ǹdé ọba àdúrà mi rèé wọ́n ní Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby Olúwa kò ní padà lẹ́yìn àmì o nípa ìròyìn ojoojúmọ́ tó ń fún wa ìròyìn ayọ̀ ló máa fi etí ẹ̀gbọ́ aṣẹ́ wa àtàwọn ọmọ yín àti gbogbo àwọn àdílé aláyọ̀ àwọn alálẹ̀ àti Sunday CSI lẹ́yìn. Mẹ́bà mi mọ̀mí Adésọlá Ọládèjì wọ́n ní gàlúlò wa tún lọ́ọ́ sẹ̀wọ̀n lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí pọ̀ bá sọ́ra o. Mọ̀mí Anansu mo rí pọ̀ yín o wọ́n pákéjì ẹ̀ wá ní Amazon ló deliver ẹ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni mo rí love tẹ̀ fi tẹ̀ ló ń tẹ̀ wọ́n tẹ̀ lọ́ọ̀sẹ̀ àti nǹkan panu no space for Sharia law in Yorùbá land capital letter ni atọ́làtọ̀ àwa òfẹ́ Oòduà nation no going back. Mami Fúnmilọ́lá Bello wọ́n ní Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby ọkọ wa ọkọ rere láàrin àwọn ìyàwó wọn tí wọ́n fi ohun gbogbo tẹ́ wa lọ́rùn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o. Thank you Selby, love you sis, I love you too mami. Mo rágbàdo mo rí ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ tán bóde dajì àti wine. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni mo padà sọ́dọ̀ Mami Adésọlá Ọládèjì wọ́n ní ọkùnrin àlùfáà yìí tí ò bá tẹ́ Ọlọ́run lọ sí Saudi ṣé dandan ni kó sọ̀rọ̀ ni. Àtàkọ́rẹ́dẹ́ ìyàbọ̀ mọ́ mi yẹn kalẹ̀ gbogbo ilé aláìhùn kí wọ́n bá fẹnu wúgẹ́ẹ̀tì bá pọ́n gílẹ̀ mílẹ̀ nké sí akú ìsinmi ẹ̀ ní o wèrè ló ń ṣe ajá olúwa àti gàlúùsì ìsọ ni o ìsọ àti àbò olúwa kò ní fi ọmọ aládìkú sílẹ̀ àmì ọmọ kan bí 1 trillion àti àwọn irú ẹkùn nǹkan panu bó ṣe sùn léra wọn wáìnì ni ẹ bá mú. Mọ́mí Elizabeth Dada ìmọ̀kú ọjọ́ mẹ́jọ wọn ní diva Nigeria now our respectable president sir we are of different ways of life kò jọra wọn rárá àṣì nǹkan kan náà. Mami Stella Odele ó yá yín gan owó ní ẹ̀ka alẹ́ ní Ìkòròdú ọdọọdún la máa ń ṣe ìṣẹ́mọ́ tí ìmọ̀lẹ̀ bá fẹ́ jáde wọ́n dẹ̀ máa ń ṣe tutù káàkiri ìlú ọjọ́ mẹ́ta la fi ń ṣe àjẹ kókó èbìrìpò ìkọ́kọrẹ́ iṣu ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ àgbagbà tí inú everybody máa dùn pé à ń ṣe orò ìṣẹ̀ṣe ìlú ni kò sí ẹni tó lè dá dúró wọn tẹ́lọ̀ sí àwọn máàdúrà yọ ìyẹn kò ní yẹ ẹlẹ. Mọ́mí Olúfúnkẹ́ Fájìmọ́lú news wọ́n ní Bobby ṣé Mufti wá jẹ́ ènìyàn ni Ọlọ́run ṣeun ìró ẹkùn ti dé sí òkè òde ọwá onírè àti baba ńlá Garus Gallon ló tún jẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ tìyín tó ti dé oṣù rẹ̀ lóun rí ní Kuje correction center Super Eagle defender Benjamin Tamiu signs for Tanzania. Mami máa ń fi news ìgbé wa débẹ̀ Mami tó iná rí wọ́n ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá máa yọ Mufti Gumi àti Oníwo ìsolúwo mọ́. Mami tẹ̀síwájú wọn ní irin ìyàgbá ní Garus Gallon lóyìn kò tí ì gbọ́n ni. ẹ mọ̀ pé sòwò rẹ̀ ló yọ so ó ti kì í láyà bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni mọ́mí Adésọlá Ọládèjì wọ́n ní ó ṣe fún àwọn ọba baálẹ̀ yẹn o owó ilẹ̀ títà náà ní sá. ó padà sọ́dọ̀ bá mi Adésínà Ọládèjì wọ́n ní òbí ó túmọ̀ sí pé òtítọ́ ni Jamiu sọ nípa ìtumọ̀ orúkọ yẹn o tó mú kí àáfàá yẹn máa ṣépè láì sọ pé irọ́ ni ìtumọ̀ Jamiu ire àníwọ̀n mọ̀ dáhùn èpè ní ìran kànáà mọ́ fi dáhùn ẹ wọlé ìta àbí wọn náà ọpẹ́lọpẹ́ bàbá wa ń bì iye kan Trump bọ̀dá mi rẹ́mi ọpẹ́lọpẹ́ wọn tán fi ẹ̀rọ wẹ̀lẹ̀ dá lóhùn bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni at Leah Ayọ̀délé wọn ní Bob well done sir kò ní rẹ̀ o àmì o mọ́ mi bá mi kò ní rẹ̀ yín náà tọmọtọmọ. bóyá mo róhùn ń bọ̀ ẹ̀jọ̀ ọ̀sán mọ́ mi mo róhùn Adébọ̀ wọn ní Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby tó tọ́mọ̀ ìdálẹ́ ti nẹ́kú iṣẹ́ orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá takuntakun àṣeyè láàmà ṣe lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá nation láti ẹ̀dùn ààrẹ àmì o. bẹ́ẹ̀ náà tẹ̀síwájú ibà ọlọ́run kìnkìn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni no space for blasphemy and Sharia laws in Odua land. at mọ́mì tí ò bad wọ́n ní why are they not showing the faces of these criminals. mọ́mì Oyèmí Salah wọ́n ní mo kí Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby àti gbogbo ẹbí aláyọ̀ ọmọ àlè tó fi ọwọ́ òsìjú wọlé bàbá rẹ̀ ẹ̀sìn àjèjì sì máa dìtàn àṣẹ nílẹ̀ Yorùbá ní ọlá àwọn tó ní ilé ayé Yorùbá nation going back no Sharia Yorùbá làwọn tẹ love sí a. at Abdidaman Kafi obi kí ni yóò kẹ́yìn ayé Kérúbù pẹ̀lú Séráfù bá mi ti la lọ́sọ̀ funfun rí ẹ tún ti ń gbé mi wọnú ẹ̀mí kí ni yóò kẹ́yìn ayé Kérúbù pẹ̀lú Séráfù. Mọ́mí Dorcas Jalo wọ́n kí àwọn ní well done àyà wa àwọn kí èmi àyà náà kí o. Mọ́mí ẹni Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby ẹ̀ka alẹ́ gbogbo ẹbí aláyọ̀ wa kú ìsinmi òní òmu kí àyà àti brọ́dà mi ọ̀gbẹ́ wọn ti kí mi wá àtàtà ẹ kú ohun àlọ́ ní nǹkan. Àmọ́ jowú ni mi àtàyà báàmì Lámìdí wọn ní ẹ jọ̀wọ́ ẹ bá mi sẹ́ndì wásbù yín nóba ó ti yí o alálẹ̀ Oòduà Yorùbá ẹ dìde ẹ má sùn ẹ bá wa pàṣẹ àṣìṣe ìparun fún gbogbo àwọn ọ̀tá ọmọ Yorùbá Odùduwà kíákíá àṣẹ wá bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni báàmì Akínyẹmí òní wọ́n ní àìfàgbàfẹ́ nìkan kò jẹ́ káyógún àwa Yorùbá ẹ jẹ́ ká fura o. ìbá Fẹ́mi Bọ́sẹ̀dé báàmì dáadáa wọ́n ní ìbá pro irú ẹkùn abẹ́rẹ́ rí ẹmọ́ dá mufti oníbẹ̀lẹ́nu ló wàláhì orí mufti ìwò ti dàrú ajára sídìí ó ti yá dùgbò lùgì bàfẹ́mi lóye MD USC. slave one day wọ́n ní níbo la tún wá já sí báyìí ní ẹni tí ò bá ṣe ẹ̀sìn yín mọ́ kí wọ́n pa á olólùfẹ́ jáde báyìí ní kò lè jáde pé kó lọ nú igbó ara yín kò yá ara wọn ò yá o ara wọn ò le. Mami Tóyìn Adéoyè wọ́n ní congratulations my wonderful honourable Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby tíátíá tó ṣọ́ọ̀jù mami ẹ̀yin gan ṣọ́ọ̀rẹ̀ happy Sunday ẹ̀kọ́ àmójúbà ọ̀rẹ́ yín àtàtà garulos galolo of one fula Nigeria wọ́n tẹ lọ́ọ̀tì àti nǹkan panu. náà ni wọ́n ní náà ẹ pín Nàìjíríà o please bàbá wa píbà àtọmọ olódò ìdẹ one ẹkùn ọkọ̀ Fúlàní kò ní bá mi yẹ gbogbo àwọn ọmọ àfitọ̀ forí bẹ́ẹ̀ ni ìlú Fúlà Nàìjíríà ìrú ẹkùn dé he has come to stand ẹ máa sáré kábàkàbà láṣẹ Ìdùmarè Yorùbá nation no going back. báàmì Kẹ́hìndé Òsèní Sàláìmọ́n ọmọ owó olódò ọmọ àtẹnigbọ́ ọlọ́run àtẹnigbọ́ rẹ̀ wọ́n ní ẹ̀ka lẹ́sà bàbá mi Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby ẹ̀kú iṣẹ́ ọlọ́run ní iṣẹ́ takuntakun ẹ̀mí gbogbo ayé ògùn lágbára gbogbo àwọn alálẹ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá pátápátá tẹ̀bí tara wa o àmín àṣẹ Ìdùmarè. mo ti dé ọ̀dọ̀ Miriam Cipriano ni o wọ́n ní ẹran ní gàrúùsù yìí o ẹ̀ẹ́dẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ ẹran tó jẹ́ ẹran ilé ewúrẹ́ jẹ́ ẹran ilé tí máa ń jìyà púpọ̀ nítorí àìgbọràn rẹ̀ tí wọ́n bá na ewúrẹ́ adùnmẹ́tí méjì pépé á tún padà síbi tí ó ti jìyà lẹ́ẹ̀kún fẹ́ padà bí ó ti jìyà ní. mọ́mí Stella Ògúnbàjò mo rí pọ̀ yín wọ́n fi jíṣẹ́ Oòduà nation no going back wọ́n tẹ̀ love sí a. mọ́mí Stella Òdèlé wọ́n bú sẹ́yìn wọ́n ní àṣẹ máa ń jowú báyìí bá mi orí ìsòrí ọlá ẹ bá mi mú kan nínú àwọn ìyàwó Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby kọ́gbẹ́ni Bobby ara wọn gbóná dáadáa bá mi orí ọlá ò tó bẹ́ẹ̀ èyí tán sá lọ àwọn náà gba ìyàwó lọ́wọ́ mi wọ́n ti gba ẹlẹ́yà náà ti kẹ́rù kò lè finally n ò tí ì sọ fún gbogbo yín àwọn ti wá kẹ́rù rẹ̀ o bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ọ̀dọ̀ orí ọlá ló lọ bá mi Kẹ́hìndé Òsèní Sàláìmọ́n wọn ní ara ìdí tí a fi ń wí pé kí gbogbo àwọn bàbá wa yìí jẹ́ kí àwa ìran Yorùbá kúrò nínú wọn Nàìjíríà rádaràda yìí sì rèé o mo tún ti yà lọ́dọ̀ ìyàwó mi nìkan ló gbé wà ní fún mi ní trouble. Miriam Cipriano wọ́n ní ẹlẹ́yà mélòó ni mo pè yẹn padà sí ilé ọdún o kí àkànní mi lè sàṣùṣẹ́wà mi rọ̀ iṣu nìkan kọ́ kókò máa sá kókò sẹ́wà yín náà. bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni mọ́mí Miriam Cipriano wà wọ́n ní àkànní mi you are making me emotional I really appreciate the fact that you are a Christian and you are still proud of your source mo dúpẹ́ gidi gan lọ́wọ́ yín ọkọ mi ẹ ń bá ti gbàgbé ilé tó gbàgbé orísun rẹ̀ yóò gbẹ ni ó yẹ ká mọ dára wa lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ní ìsìn bá ti lè ṣe tá a pọ́n bẹ́ẹ̀ tari ìṣẹ̀sìn àjèjì ká mọ́ balẹ̀ jẹ́ ká mọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ dẹ̀ jẹ́ ìran ṣe kókó first kó tó kan ìsìn. bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ajé ni mí ajé olókun ní Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby if they stated any statement they needed to support it with evidence in Hadith and Quran. You cannot just come and give false statement. It will look for simbe. So eléyìí tí ó ṣùgbọ́n lọ́dọ̀ tèmi tó bá ti jẹ́nu mùsùlùmí alálàáfíà mo ti gbọ́ ó ráìtì o bá mi kàn tiẹ̀ sọ wọ́n láwọn oníjàgídíjà gangan ló mọ ẹ̀sìn páwọn táwọn jẹ́ alálàáfíà àwọn ò mẹ̀sìn mùsùlùmí sì ní àbá wọn wájú bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni bá mi Adétayọ̀ Adégẹyè wọ́n ní òbí ẹ jẹ́ ká fẹnu sí owó àwọn ọmọ ológun kí wọ́n lè gbé sókè wọ́n ń ṣiṣẹ́ takuntakun ìbùkún ní fún orílẹ̀-èdè Oòduà from Newark New Jersey USA bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni màámi mo súnmọ́ lọ́líwò tèmi nìkan mo rẹ́rìn músẹ́ ó yé màámi wọ́n ní Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby tèmi nìkan mo fẹ́ kọrin fún àwọn ọ̀tá Ìgbòho pé ó ti ju àbí ojú tì ńlá dàbọ̀ àwọn ìkà tí ò fẹ́ kán Ìgbòho mo kí rìkìsí ìkòkò ọ̀tá ti dasán ọmọ aládìkún ti dé ẹ̀yìn alákatakítí ẹ lọ sí Mali ìlú yín ẹ kì í ṣe ọmọ Yorùbá àmọ́ mi ò lè kọ́ lórin fún mi mélòdì rẹ̀ next time àpò ní guitar àpò ní saxophone mo rí ọ̀pọ̀ òyìnbó àti kiwi tẹ̀ fi ránṣẹ́ sí mi bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ajé ni mí o ajé olókun wọ́n ní I was also born into Islam and later became a Christian but truth is bitter. wọ́n mi tó iná rìn wọ́n ní kí Ìlọrin forí na sánmọ́ntì o kò káyé Ìlọrin belongs to Yorùbá kò jù bá náà lọ. Mami Florence Alade wọ́n ní ẹni tí kò bá lè fara mọ́ ọdún eégún olóòlù kó kẹ́rù ẹ̀ kúrò ń bàdàn Garuzu tún fẹ́ padà síbi tó ti wá ibà fẹnu jágẹ́ẹ̀tì àti àyà ẹ̀kú ìmúra ọ̀sẹ̀ tuntun Oòduà nation going back where Sharia is forbidden wọ́n tẹ lọ́ọ̀sì àti nǹkan pàánù sí ẹ̀rí ọdún olóòlù yẹn gan bẹ́ẹ̀ bá rí èrò ẹ wá wà mùsùlùmí lẹ́yìn olóòlù ẹ jẹ́ ó dọjọ́ náà. Ami Bolaji, Taiwo Bentai, if we really want better Nigeria, there are a lot of sacrifices we need to make. Preaching and selling public bus is not right in normal society. Since preaching is market and other public places is not banned, I see nothing wrong ban preaching in bus. At William, Ṣọlá wọ́n ní ẹ̀ka alẹ́ Ọ̀gbẹ́ni ẹ̀kú ìjọ́ mẹ́ta o, àkìyìnbá mi o, gbogbo ìgbà ni àwọn ọlọ́dẹ máa ń mú àwọn báńdíìtì ní ìlú Ọ̀wá Onírè. Ṣé lóòótọ́ tí wọ́n bá jí àwọn èèyàn gbé wọ igbó tí ilẹ̀ bá ti ṣú wọn yóò padà sí inú ìlú Ọ̀wá Onírè láti wá sùn lálẹ́? Gbogbo ilé tó wà níbẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti já láti sùn nígbà táwọn èèyàn sì ń bẹ̀ mọ́ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá ò ní bàjẹ́ ẹ̀kan tún mọ̀ bọ̀ báyìí nígbà táwọn àwọn ọ̀gá wọn ti débẹ̀ kí Ọlọ́run lo ìró ẹkùn fún àṣeyọrí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àmín. Love you sir, I love you too. bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ẹja ayé àlọ́dọ̀ bá mi Bọ́lájí Bentai Táíwò lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí they can never stop Tinubu 2027. The real Hausa has woken up. They are now attacking Fulani in their elite now to liberate Hausa. Láti Adétọ́lá ìnà wọ́n ní akó ètò ìdílé aláyọ̀ tó ní Ọlọ́run kò ní í da bí ìró àṣẹ o á túbọ̀ máa gbèrú sí i láṣẹ Ọlọ́run àmì àwọn ẹlẹ́sìn àjèjì yóò mọ̀ wípé àjèjì làwọn nílẹ̀ Yorùbá tí wọ́n bá ń ṣe ọdún ẹ̀lùkú ní Kòròdú obìnrin kì í jáde fún ọjọ́ mẹ́ta ẹ̀sìn tó wà kẹ́sìn àjèjì ó tó dé tí kò bá tẹ́yìn lọ́rùn ẹgbà Saudi lọ Yorùbá nìsan tètè dé o. àyà wọn ni kí ọ at Victoria Alade àbí Victor Alade wọ́n ní irọ́ ni bàbá yẹn ń pa pé Aisha àti Ànábì bára wọn sùn ní ọmọ ọdún 25 Ànábì dó àìrọ̀ kí ni mò ń ka yìí kí ni mò ń sọ yìí ẹ jẹ́ àtẹ̀wájú jáde ẹ máa fojú ara yìí kà ẹ jẹ́ lọ sọ́dọ̀ fún òkun náà wọ́n yàn Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby happy Sunday happy new week to all the family love you all we love you too. Mọ́mí Grace olùsòtọ́lẹ̀ kan sí wọ́n ní ọ̀dẹ̀ ni àwọn tí wọ́n ń sọ pé Ìlọrin kì í ṣe orílẹ̀-èdè Yorùbá ẹni wọ́n ń pa mí ó kù díẹ̀ a máa fi gbogbo wọn tí wọ́n lòdì sí gbígba Ìlọrin padà sí ibi tí ó ti wá o bí Ìlọrin káàbọ̀. Màámi mo súnmọ́ lọ́wọ́ olúwo tèmi nìkan ní Bobby mi ọ̀rọ̀ ní ọmọbìnrin Haúsá yìí sọ bóyá tí wọ́n bá ń bára wọn sọ̀rọ̀ báyìí ìbàdá wọ́n ní Yorùbá yóò ronú o ẹ̀yin ọba wa ẹ ṣe sùúrù ẹ jẹ́ kí ọ̀rọ̀ ilẹ̀ Yorùbá mú ọmúláyà yín ju ìjà ojoojúmọ́ ẹ bá ń sọ fún ọmọ mi òun rí fẹ́tẹ́ tẹ̀síà bóyá kí n sì kó lé wọn lọ́wọ́ kán lè nífẹ̀ẹ́ ara wọn. Adépọ̀jù Aláyọ̀wọ́ Adémọ́lá bá mi ní Aláyọ̀wọ́ ẹkú ìyànjú mo kí gbogbo ìdílé Aláyọ̀ ká máa rí tajé ṣe lórúkọ Jésù Olúwa àmín fire. Àmì Adésọlá Ọládèjì wọ́n ní ẹ kéde Tinubu fún gbogbo àgbáyé o ọmọ Yorùbá wọ́n tẹ love sí Olódòdẹ ọmọ Olódòdẹ jàre Olódòdẹ náà ní bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni wọ́n mi Stella Ogunbaju no space for Sharia law in Yorùbá land rárá o àwa ò fẹ́ o. Àmì Akínyẹmí òní wọ́n ní Èkìtì ló níyàn o Ìjẹ̀ṣà bá wa Èkìtì lẹ́nu ẹ̀ ní àwa méjèèjì ló mọ yán jẹ àjẹpẹ́ iyán o instead of àjẹpẹ́ ayé o ẹ̀wọ̀n tó làjẹpẹ́ iyán wọ́n lè jẹ yẹn lóru. bí bàbá mi ẹwà ẹjẹ wájọ kọrin yóò yá alájà mi Àdìgún rísíkọ́tù Àdìgún alájà mi Àdìgún. ó yá wọn ní ẹ̀kú àjálẹ̀ o wọ́n ń béèrè yín lánàá mọ́ mi sì yọjú lónìí wọ́n ní brọ́dà mi àti gbogbo ẹbí nínú ilé Aláyọ̀ wa o. mo sẹ́kọ̀ndì mo sàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o prọfẹ̀tì kò ní ìbáṣepọ̀ pẹ̀lú ọmọ ọdún 9 o ìyá wa Aisha jẹ́ ọmọ ọ̀rẹ́ tímọ́tímọ́ prọfẹ̀tì tí wọ́n fi dá dá oore òkè wọn fún ní ọ̀fẹ́. Kò sí àjọṣepọ̀ láàrin wọn títí Aisha fi bàlágà tí ó fi wá di ìyàwó prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Láti inú ọkàn rẹ̀ ni ó kí Ọlọ́run gba àkóso ìlú wa lọ́wọ́ àwọn alákatakítí ẹ̀sìn. Ìmọ̀ líle o, àmín salam wọ́n tẹ lọ́ọ̀bù sí a. Ṣé ẹ ti rí àwọn tó lẹ̀sìn rèé o, kì í sáwọn alákatakítí o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni at live on day wọ́n ní bàbá wa ọmọ olódòdó bá wa fún àwọn ọmọ ológun wa lówó gidi o, bàbá ikú iṣẹ́ o, àwọn ọmọ ológun wa kudos fún yín o, ẹ ṣeun o, ọ̀rọ̀ lẹ́sọ̀ o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni at Michael Junior wọ́n ní èmi ní tó ń yà Michael also known as hallelujah láti Surulere ibà gbọ́n má bí wọ́n mú un jẹ. Gbé gbogbo ẹnu ẹ sọ̀hún àfà, ṣé ìwọ ló máa kọ́ wọn bí wọ́n ṣe ń ṣe ìṣẹ̀ṣe wọn? Obìnrin ò gbọ́dọ̀ rí olóòlù láti ọjọ́ tó ti pẹ́ ni, obìnrin tó bá dẹ̀ rí olóòlù ó fi kú ṣe fàjẹ́ nìyẹn o. Àwọn oníṣẹ̀ṣe ò mọ̀ sọ pé yòókù. Àfà lọ sínú igbó kó máa lọ kírun bẹ́ẹ̀, ọmọ Ìbàdàn nìyá mi. Àmì Olúfẹ́mi wọ́n ní Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby ẹkú iṣẹ́ takuntakun, Olúwa pín gbogbo wa lérè àmì o. Mo ní kí n ṣe àkíyèsí yín sí nǹkan yìí ni o. Gọ́vnà Démọ́lá Adélékè ti Ọ̀ṣun kì í ṣe cousin Davido rárá o, ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀nkú àbá mi ẹ̀ tí ẹ̀ gbófẹ́ àbòsí ló jẹ́ fún Davido. Ẹ máa bá iṣẹ́ bọ̀ ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bá mi yọ yẹn kò nìyẹn ló dáa, mo ti gbọ́ correction. Àbòsí ni ara àwọn olùbáwí mi nù. Mo lólùbáwí o. Mo ní lólùbáwí. Aláàjà mi Adigun, Rìsíkátù Adigun mo wọ́n mi mo ro gbogbo yín lólùbáwí mi bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ẹjẹ́ yà lọ́dọ̀ àti Olúṣẹ́gun Kazeem. Wọ́n ní eléri ó burú jẹ àṣìṣe pé nbí ni mo dọ́gbọ́n ẹ̀. Wọ́n ní eléri tí ó bu irú jẹ ló máa ní ìrù ẹkùn kò dára. Tinubu jọ̀wọ́ fún wa ní Sunday Igboho, ó ti fún wa Sunday Igboho kó fún wa ní nǹkan ogun ni. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ẹjẹ́ yà lọ́dọ̀ mọ́ mi Stella Ògúnbàjò. Wọ́n ní inú bí ewúrẹ́ ń fi ẹsẹ̀ halẹ̀, kí ni ó fẹ́ folówó rẹ̀ ṣe? Àtíkù ìtàkùn tó ní kérin máa wodò tó ń tẹrin ló máa lọ, ọmọ olódòdó ẹ ti gòkè odò kàfárá tó já o. Ẹ ti gbọ́ ìwé tí àwọn ọlọ́tẹ̀ mú yẹn ìlú Amẹ́ríkà kò ránṣẹ́ sí yín ojú tí gbogbo ẹ̀yin ọlọ́tẹ̀ àtẹ̀yìn ọ̀tá ọmọ olódòdó. Aláàjà mi Àdìgún wọ́n ní ṣàríà àti yóò mú ọmọ tálákà tí kò ní mú ọmọ olówó, kò ní rágbá fún gbogbo ẹ̀yin alábòsí láyé títí dọ́run mọ́ inshallah. Àtíkù desperation rẹ̀ yìí pọ̀ jù kẹ́ ṣé ẹ wá gbàgbé pé ó lè ní ọ̀nì ó gbádùn rárá wà láì. Àrẹ̀gbẹ́sọlá múlẹ̀ onírọ̀ àfẹ̀bíṣolóore DJ Kwake múlẹ̀. Ẹ̀rí pa ti mísì mọ́ mi Alájà àtsára kú foríjì wọ́n ní àfáà yìí ti kọjá ayé rẹ̀. Mọ́ mi fún mi lọ́lá wọ́n ní kò ní ragbá fún àfáà tó ní kí olóòlù kó má jáde sí ọdún yìí ni wọ́n bí ni àbí kò mọ iye ọdún tí olóòlù ti ń jáde. The more they are antagonizing our culture, the more they are awakening. Ẹ̀yin brọ́dà mi ọmọ ọkọ Ìbàdàn ẹ̀túyáyá síta sẹ́yìn olóòlù kí àwọn wèrè lọ bínú kú sí gbowó. Bóyá sì ti gbowó pólóòlù ò ní jáde ní Saudi wọ́n ti lọ ṣèlérí fún wọn bẹ́ẹ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni mọ́mí Yẹmí Ige wọ́n ní ó ga o, àwọn ọmọ kékeré yìí Abuja command ẹ̀kú iṣẹ́ ẹ bá wa mú wọn kẹ́ ẹ̀ sì máa yanjú wọn. Báàmí Olúwọlé Bákàrè wọ́n ní àṣejù ló kó bá àwọn mùsùlùmí o, àwọn alákatakítí mo bá yín fi sí. Èwo ni kí ẹ fẹ́ sọ gbogbo ìlú di mùsùlùmí? Àwọn ọmọlúàbí Yorùbá nínú wọn ti ń sọ fún wọn wípé àwọn ò lè kò ẹ̀yìn sí àwọn Kristẹni àtòníṣẹ̀ṣe nítorí pé Yorùbá ni àwọn láti inú oyún. Olúwọlé from Dallas, Texas. Báàmí mo mí sí. Mọ́mí Yẹmí Ige mo ka lẹ́tà yín ogun ṣùgbọ́n ó yé mi yéké gbogbo ntẹ́ ẹ bá rí nínú mail tán send sí láti First Bank tàbí any other bank kì í ṣe First Bank ní sẹ́ẹ̀dì ẹ̀ sí yín o. Bàbá ni ẹ mú credential wá kì í ṣe First Bank kí o. So ti ẹ mọ̀ mi o, ẹ mọ̀ tẹ̀ nǹkan kan nínú líǹkì o, kì í ṣe First Bank, kì í ṣe any bank, àwọn olè ní. Pàápàá jùlọ tó bá ti ní kíní pé ẹ wà ní diaspora, ẹ mọ̀ tẹ̀ nǹkan kan àti mail o àti nínú normal message, ẹ mọ̀ tẹ̀ líǹkì kankan o, ẹ mọ̀ dán lò. Evangelist Zoka Jádesọ́lá wọ́n ní kò sí ìlú tí wọn ò ti ní àṣà ẹni tí ìbágbé wọn ò bá tẹ́ lọ́rùn kó fi Ìbàdàn sílẹ̀ o. Èmi mọ̀ pé àfọmọ àlè Ìbàdàn ló máa sọ̀rọ̀ sí eégún olóòlù. Mo mọ̀ pé àáfà yẹn kò ń ṣe ọmọ Ìbàdàn láti Eastern Texas, wọ́n tẹ́ lọ́ọ̀ sí a. Ó padà sọ́dọ̀ Báàmí Olúwọlé Bákàrè wọ́n ní Ìbà Sanawole sí ẹ ti di alábòsí ni alábòsí àìní mímí sí alábòsí o, obìnrin lálábòsí ọkùnrin lálábòsí àìní. You say you don't know who Logun Ojo is or Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Onílara. I don't mean Anti-Ganiyat Adamu. I'm referring to OPC dealer, the white alágbádá ẹ̀rọ Olúwọlé from Dallas, Texas. Bá mi ti la ọ̀rọ̀ mọ́lẹ̀. Ẹ já wá yà lọ́dọ̀ olórí ọ̀dọ̀ white team wọ́n ní the Yorubas are uniquely great folks. Ọmọ wa ní Bọ́lá Tinubu ẹ jẹ́ kí gbogbo wa. Gbárùkù tí to win his second term. Atiku is just wasting his time and money to dig false narrative about Bọ́lá Tinubu. Mommy, unique baby girl. Mo rí ìfẹ́ tẹ́ fi ránṣẹ́ sí 100. We love you too. Báwo Abíọ́dún Adéyẹmí wọ́n ní mo fẹ́ dá ìbéèrè yín ẹ nípa iyán wo ló dáa jù sí ẹ̀rí iyán Èkìtì iyán mẹ́ẹ̀mú bá mi ní wọ́n mú bá mi ṣùgbọ́n ṣe rí iyán Ìjẹ̀ṣà bá mi wọ́n ní fi ọwọ́ fa etí kí o wò bí ó ṣe rí ṣé o mọ bí etí ṣe fẹ́lẹ́ tó bẹ́ẹ̀ gan ni iyán Ìjẹ̀ṣà ṣe rí kò jọra wọn rárá olóòótọ́ Ìjẹ̀ṣà àti Èkìtì mọ iyán ọmọ iyán ni wá Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby mi yóò dára fún yá mi àtẹ̀yìn náà Yorùbá nation no going back ẹ wò bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ṣe atótónu lórí iyán kí lórí kí iyán ẹ kì í fún alọ́jọ́ kan. Àkwákwá wọn ní Yorùbá ẹ jẹ́ ká máa fura o kí ọba Olúgbọ́n àti Ṣọ̀ún ti Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ jọ̀wọ́ fi sùúrù yanjú gbogbo ẹ̀. Rafiat Haman mọ́ mi ni no to any blaspheming law, and I agree with the salary increments of the army and all the security sector. Also, I commend all the people that told us more about 9 years old. 4-story things, bless them. Wọ́n tẹ̀síwájú ní àwọn àfáà wà láṣìírí ìrọ̀lẹ́ ayé ó yẹ kí wọ́n fagilé gbogbo wá sí ìsọnù wọn. No to Sharia law yóò dáa fún yín mọ́ mi alálàáfíà ni. Wọ́n ní ẹ̀sìn Islam ò lè parẹ́ láéláé àwọn mọ̀nàfíkì inú wa ni yóò parẹ́ máyé lára. Masha Allah ṣẹ́wà by his grace. Thanks for all you do, Mr. Bobby and the indivisible Aya. Lol, always on point. Mami, we love you. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni Àbùnmi, mọ́mí ni ó bí good day to you, sir. Mọ́mí mo kí n àyà wọn kí wọ́n náà. Ẹ kú iṣẹ́ takuntakun Ọlọ́run ní í ṣe Ọlọ́run amákùnrin lọ́wọ́ àmì o. Ẹ bá wa bẹ àrí olódò kí wọ́n fi owó kún owó àwọn sójà wa. Wọ́n ń gbìyànjú Oòduà nation ogunba. God bless us in ilé aláyọ̀ yìí. Àṣẹ wàá. Mo ti dọ́dọ̀ mọ́ mi mo dúpẹ́ tẹ́ wà ráàyè. Wọ́n ní Bobby mi ọ̀wọ́n. Happy Sunday o. Àsọ̀pọ̀ rẹ̀ láyé lórúkọ Jésù Ìgbòho. Àkàndá ọmọ Ọlọ́run Olúwa ò ní padà lẹ́yìn yín láṣẹ Ìdùmarè àmì wọ́n tẹ́lọ̀ sí àti nǹkan pàánù ire o. Mo ti wá dọ́dọ̀ ibà màmí báyìí. Màmí Ọmọwùmí ibà irú ẹkùn. Wọ́n ní mo fought the motion pé ààrẹ Olódòdẹ ni kó jẹ́ last president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yọ yẹyin. Àyà wọ́n ọ̀rẹ́ rẹ̀ Garuzga ló lò pé aṣọ ẹ̀wọ̀n rẹ̀ wà lórí ikọ́ o. Lárọ̀wọ́ tó àfàìmọ̀ kó má tún lọ gbé aṣọ ẹ̀wọ̀n rẹ̀ wọ̀ padà. Great Ambassador Kunduz. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni mọ́mí Agnes Osade wọ́n ní Bobby ìtìjú kò ní bá yín láìláà mí àtẹ̀yìn náà ìtìjú ló mú kí Ṣèyí Mákindé lọ fún ìsinmi àjòjì nítorí ìwà ìbàjẹ́ rẹ̀ tí wọn kò rí fi ṣe campaign ire o wọn ní rí fi ṣe campaign. Dorcas Olúwatúnmiṣe màmí dáadáa wọn ní òṣèlú ló ń dá ìjà sílẹ̀ láàrin àwọn ọba wa gẹ̀ẹ́sẹ̀ tí Ògbómọ̀ṣọ́ ní láti favour ọba tí ìjọba bá nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí lákòókò yẹn. Wọ́n tẹ̀síwájú wọn ní àti Tinubu Rẹ̀mí Sàtánì Sókótó mọ̀ dájú pé wọ́n ń tanra wọn ni torí Tinubu ní MC Olúọmọ ó ṣe kọjá ààyè rẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ Àjọbí away from Providence, Rhode Island. Ibà màmí mo padà dọ́dọ̀ wọn ní ibà ìsìn alálàáfíà Sàláléwà Sàlàwà Mufti was caused at birth. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n ti fi rí láti gbà ìbí. He was named ọmọ lásán during naming translating to a wordless child. Àyà orúkọ máa ń roni o. Wọ́n wéré báyìí ló máa bá kiri títí ìgbẹ̀yìn ayé rẹ̀. Àṣẹ́gun bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni at John Dada wọ́n ní that is how Igbo spoil South Africa the way they spoil Nigeria. At Fikayo Victor Báàmí ní Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby sí àwọn ènìyàn wa kò mọ ìyàtọ̀ láàrin ẹ̀sìn àtàṣà Yorùbá àti ìṣe wọn ni kí àáfàá yẹn kó rán ìyàwó rẹ̀ lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ olóòlù ó dákẹ́ ariwo lórí ayélujára pé kò sí practical. At Ọmọlẹ́wà Adésọlá mọ́ mi ẹkú jọ́ mẹ́jọ wọ́n ní greetings to all ní ìdílé aláyọ̀ yóò ayọ̀ wa kò ní dìbàjẹ́ lórúkọ Jésù àmì Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Bobby àtàyà Ọlọ́run àtúbọ̀ máa fún yín ṣe ń bá wa ṣe ni wọ́n mi. No Sharia law Yorùbá nation owó ń bá wọn tẹ lọ́ọ̀rù rẹpẹtẹ sí a. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni báàmí Olúwọlé Bákàrẹ̀ wọ́n ní ìbá ọ̀pá parada wa tí à ń fi ọmọlúwàbí ṣe Islam ò kì í ṣe mùsùlùmí gidi. Ebi ọmọlúwàbí lẹ fi ń ṣe àwọn alákatakídí gan ni mùsùlùmí ẹ sọ fún ẹni tó sọ wípé 25 years old ni Ànábì fẹ́ Àìṣà kó mú ẹ̀rí rẹ̀ wá ẹ̀tàn lásán ló fi fẹ́ Olúwọlé from Dallas ẹ sì sọ pé mùsùlùmí nìyí bá mi. Àtọmọtaya Akínúsì wọ́n ní Obi Garuzga lúlò ẹnu ẹ ló máa pẹ́ tó bá gbẹ́nu ẹ dákẹ́ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ Olódòdẹ ara ló máa sàn sí ẹ kọ̀ndẹ́mù Buhari nígbà tí ó ń ṣe ìjọba ẹ̀yìn wèrè játijàti. Wọ́n ní kí n lọ sọ fún ẹlẹ́sìn àjòjì tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ jágajàga lẹ́nu nípa olóòlù kó lọ gbé nínú igbó ní ọjọ́ tí eégún bá fẹ́ jáde òpònú láìnílàákàyè. Ẹlẹ́sìn ní ẹ̀yìn ìrọ̀ gbogbo wọn kọ́ àwọn alákatakítí lẹ́lẹ́sìn. Àtọlọ́ládémi Àṣàkẹ́ Adéyẹmọ ní Mufti wo níbẹ̀ lẹ́nu tó ń competition òfò kiri ṣùgbọ́n tó ń fẹ́ kí wọ́n kó bọ́ fún àwọn ọmọ ilé kéwù tiẹ̀ gbọ́ láti jagun Palestine òfò àti àdánù ní gbogbo yín máa ṣe pọ̀. Alhaja Rafiat Haman wọ́n ní I love Igboho's confidence. He's a hero and adorable. Bless his heart and more God's protection over him. Amina kun fire kun. Mami Grace olùṣòtọ́ wọ́n ní àsùnjì láyọ̀ la máa sun a sì jí sí ìmọ́lẹ̀ òwúrọ̀. Dídùn ó lè ara tẹ̀mí kò ní jà bá tọmọtọmọ tìdílé wa àmì Jésù. Ó dẹ̀wọ̀ ẹ káàbọ̀ padà ẹ wá nǹkan jókòó lé ẹ wá nǹkan fìdílé bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni ẹ wá nǹkan panu tẹ́mọ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ àjìjà lifti tí wà ń bẹ́ ẹ gé lẹ́mọ̀n díẹ̀ sí olówó ń fa dòrò náà ń pè ẹ lè pè ní olówó ń fa kànga náà bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni bí ẹran ìgbẹ́ bá wà ó sì ẹran ọ̀yà náà ni according to your weather wo bí tẹ́ bá wà wọn ẹ jẹ ẹran ìgbẹ́ ńlò èkó ẹ máa fi sọ̀rọ̀ àjìjà ẹ máa fi ṣe fàájì sí lọ́rùn gbogbo bí tá a ti mẹ́nu bà kí wọ́n gbé yín débẹ̀ báyẹ̀ báyọ̀ bọ́ bá dilẹ̀ bá dénú yín kọ̀ǹdíṣọ́ mẹ́ta tá a ní náà nu ẹ mọ̀ bá a fi ránṣẹ́ sáwọn olólùfẹ́ yín no boring moment lórí ìkànnì alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ mbẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ abẹ́rẹ́ látọ̀dọ̀ primate níbi tí wọ́n ti ganu sí máìkì wípé for the first time àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà yìn wọ́n mú ní àwa ti yìn wọ́n this is the second time tá a yìn wọ́n torí wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ kan lọ́jọ́ sí tí ó bá wa wá ń lé ó bá wa lára mu. Wọ́n ní there should not be court trial for terrorists and kidnappers. Kò gbọ́dọ̀ sí pé wọ́n ń gbé wọn lọ ilé ẹjọ́ mọ́, wọ́n ní ẹ skip ẹ̀ nígbà tí èèyàn bá ń gbọ́ music tó skip ẹ̀ sí number 2. Wọ́n ní they should be paid immediately. Kan pa wọ́n ní Primate Ayọ̀délé ló sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ o. Láwọn ìwà ń bi wọ́n pé sínú ẹ̀mí lẹ ti rí àbínú ara bàbá nínú méjèèjì ni ẹ kó méjèèjì pọ̀ join together. The leader of the Inri Evangelical Spiritual Church, Primate Elijah Ayọ̀délé, has urged the federal government to adopt tougher measures against terrorism and kidnapping, insisting that confirmed offenders should not be prosecuted in court. In a statement issued by his media aide, Osho Oluwatosin, the cleric, argued that immediate execution of confirmed terrorists and kidnappers will significantly reduce insecurity in the country. There should be no court for kidnappers and terrorists. Once they have been arrested and confirmed as terrorists, they should be paid immediately. There is no need charging them to court because they won't get the deserved punishment, he said. Pé wọ́n á fi waste time, wọ́n á tún fi waste owó. He also called for the arrest of anyone involved in negotiating with kidnappers or paying ransom, including governors. Pé governor náà tó náà bá tún ti san ransom. Ẹ mọ̀ náà ẹ fìyà jẹ ọmọ. Mo ní sẹ́kì ṣe wípé ó lè yàn kan tán darí ọ̀rọ̀ wọn sí. Wọ́n ní such crime should attract immediate penalty, and those talking to them and paying ransom should also be arrested. This is how terrorism can end. Mo lóòótọ́ ni mo ní Gumi yẹn kò tí ẹni lẹ́nu ọ̀rọ̀ mọ́ kan sófin kan ní ìsìn wípé gbogbo ẹni bá ti ń negotiate tàbí tó ń ṣe agbódegbà tàbí tó ń sunkún torí tàwọn ti terrorism kan yanjú ẹnìkan gbé. The Nigerian army can do better. There are people who want to destroy the government with insecurity. Ó ti yé bàbá ní ìsìn. Kudos to the Minister of Defence on the shoot aside for terrorists. IGP ló wọ́n sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà. Minister of Defence náà ti kọ́kọ́ sọ. If they had done it before, terrorism would come to an end. I urge President Tinubu to give national honours to our soldiers and top officials. They have done very well and should be appreciated for their good jobs. The cleric further warned that poorly funded private security outfits could become security threats if they left unchecked, and suggest empowering local hunters by establishing operational bases for them in forest. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni àwa náà ti sọ ẹ rí pé bàbá yìí sọ̀rọ̀ gidi yóò dáa kán mọ́ dúró nú ara bá wa sọ̀rọ̀ o torí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ilé ìtàn máa ń sọ nínú ẹ̀mí yẹn kì í bá wa lé inú ara náà ti sọ iye join together kìíní joint operation kan náà fi ṣe tí inú ara lélẹ̀ torí wọ́n ràn yàn gan ni agbẹnusọ wọn special assistance wọn náà ràn ìjọ àtẹ̀wájú àròjọ mùsùlùmí jẹ́ àwáyà lọ́dọ̀ iléeṣẹ́ ológun torí orí wọn náà la fi pèròyìn tá a sọ tán yìí níbi tó ti ń sọ wípé ẹ ń bá wọn rí anybody tó jọ arákùnrin tẹ́ ń wò yìí wọ́n ní ẹ̀ta wọn lólobó nítorí wípé ẹ̀sùn wà lórí rẹ̀ wọ́n ní ó ń sá kiri àwọn wá ní sára ń fọ́ ni kí ló ń sá kiri fún ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ní ó sá mọ́ wọn lọ́wọ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá bọ̀ wọn rí ẹsẹ̀ kí ló wá ṣẹ̀ wọ́n ní allegedly ó ń fún àwọn ó ń ta àwọn nǹkan ìjà ológun àtàsọ ogun ó ń tà fún àwọn wèrè. Mo ní abalájọ bí oṣù kan sẹ́yìn abẹ́ẹ̀rí kan tá a rí tán tẹ́ aṣọ ológun sílẹ̀ báyìí tí wọ́n sì ń tẹ̀ mọ́lẹ̀ lọ tán tẹ̀ bọ̀ àwọn tó wà nídìí procurement logistics iléeṣẹ́ ológun rẹ̀ bí mo sì rò ó ẹ bá ń tẹ̀sí ẹja gbọ́ kúlẹ̀kúlẹ̀ lẹ́nu àwọn oníròyìn tí wọ́n ní information jù wá lọ.
The deserter is alleged to be involved in the illegal sale and supply of military uniforms and accoutrements, that's what the French call it, that is pieces of equipment used for specific activity to terrorists and criminals. The runaway soldier belongs to the Nigerian Army Ordnance Unit. He's been a deserter since June the 3rd, 2026. So Private Mohammed Amutu may not have acted alone, don't you think so?
Yeah, well, it's Amutu has just added to, well, is it long or short list of soldiers who have deviated from their oaths. And the only way to ensure that this is not encouraged is by bringing him to justice.
Okay.
Most of the time when our troops are attacked, and it is successful, most, not all, you find the saboteur internally.
Yeah, the enemy within.
The enemy within. Whether it is in terms of supply of information or sale of equipment,
vital equipment
to them. Because like we've said, over and over, if a man is not loyal to his oaths that he took when taking a job, then he's not worth being kept in that system. And that's what this man has done again. We've read so many stories, especially in the Northeast. Is it the man who kept bullets in sack of cassava flour, which we call Gary, and was taking it on a journey, caught at the back? A soldier. or the one who was caught trading with the terrorists, selling them arms and ammunition, this man must be fished out. If he gets away with it, the likelihood that others will want to follow in his footsteps is also very, very high. We have a largely disciplined military, but there are some bad eggs within, like this Amotu, who keep making the job extremely difficult. There are so many instances in which those caught for criminal offenses have pointed at soldiers, policemen who sold them.
That's a picture of the
man,
runaway soldier.
In both military and civilian dresses. So I'm sure
if you find him, please report to the nearest police station or military post.
The information has been put out. We all need to look out for him because we can't be losing our soldiers in the battlefront due to sabotage. That's even the last thing anybody expects to happen. Not even in this war against the terrorists. A Nigerian soldier siding
with the enemy.
I think something must happen.
Well, we are living in interesting times, according to the Chinese.
Yeah, it's not the first time, just like you said. In 2025, 3 soldiers in Borno were court-martialed. They were convicted, actually, for selling arms to terrorists. 2 things actually happened. And I think there was a report about 178,000 weapons in the police that was not well accounted for. So the police argued that operational discrepancies and all that, some of them were ambushed or stolen, but 178,000 plus. Out of that, 88,000 AK-47. So when you have a corrupt system, it is vulnerable to all sort of criminal elements. In this case, what actually happens is that either they are informants working for the terrorists, or they were actually planted there by those terrorists. When they are doing recruitment, they will send their people there, and when they get there, they are loyal to the terrorist organizations, or they were recruited. While in the service, they look for them and they recruit them. This fellow was working at the ordnance kits factory, and then used that opportunity to take away a lot of.
But you think he could have acted alone?
No, absolutely, he didn't act alone. There are collaborators. How did he manage to pack those? And I also noticed that he was declared. He committed that crime in June, I think June 6 or so. Then was declared wanted about 30 days after. That gap is too wide for an effective way of checkmating. Well, it could be due to the fact that they are trying to see whether they could track whether it's missing. But once you discover that the soldier is missing, at least 72 hours, you have to raise the red flag. So I think the almost 30 days, must have given him enough room to maneuver, to escape. Maybe it's in Chad now, or it's in Lagos, or it's in Calabar. So I think that time,
the military high command must tell him, you can run, you can never.
You cannot hide. So I think that gap, that window, maybe they were doing a lot of internal started looking for him. But I think before the army made it public, it was almost about 30 days. And I don't think that is right. It should have happened about 72 hours after they noticed that it was no longer reporting for duty.
MJ, again, we are back with you. I know you are as scandalized. We are as scandalized as the military high command is.
Yeah, it's when things like this happen, it's not only the munitions that and the uniforms that is sold to terrorists, but it must have been diverging vital information, to the
enemy,
the enemy camp. And that's why issues like this leads to the protracted 17-year battle in the fight against terrorism, especially the Boko Haram characters. But with most of them will be caught. Then it calls for tighter scrutiny, especially now that we'll be having more intakes into the army. These people like Yusuf Amutu is an enemy of the state and should be seen as such. And I think his pictures should go viral, and if possible, a price tag should be put on his head so that if anybody has any useful information on him, should quickly turn him over, because he will be somewhere.
Aya kò sáfikún mọ́ tí mo fẹ́ fikún kínní mo lanú lẹ̀ bí ìgò tàdá ni o, ṣùgbọ́n ìròyìn ayọ̀ wọn lọ́wọ́ ti ba wèrè yìí o, ọwọ́ ti bà á ṣe rójú ẹ̀, ọmọ Fúlàní náà ni bàí orúkọ ẹ̀, wọ́n pọ̀ ń bẹ́ o, nítorí ẹ̀ la ṣe ń sọ fún wọn pé kán kọ́kọ́ tún lè ṣe ẹ wá dúró ìbọn nǹkan ìjà ogun tán ní ó miss, ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ní iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá sì ń ṣe àríyànjiyàn lọ́dọ̀ àwọn ọlọ́pàá 178,000 wọ́n ní nínú gbogbo ẹ̀ ìbọn tó jẹ́ AK-47 wọ́n ní gbogbo ẹ̀ jẹ́ 88,000 AK-47 allegedly and reportedly wọ́n ní, ṣùgbọ́n iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá ní kì í ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ náà ló sọnù. Ìmí ìwà tán lé ambush fún wọn àti ambush àti pé sọnù àti pé àwọn alábọ̀dé 178,000 88,000 AK-46 abájọ tá a ṣe máa ń rí AK-47 ènìyàn. Ṣùgbọ́n inú mi dùn fún àṣẹ tí ọ̀gá ọlọ́pàá pa àwọn náà fi ṣe sísẹ̀ntẹ̀lé pẹ̀lú eléyìí tí minister of defence sọ ni pé shoot aside ẹ̀ ń bá ti bá ìbọn lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ tí ì ṣe agbófinró tí ì sì ṣe security tán ń bá ṣiṣẹ́ pọ̀ kò jù bá náà lọ. nídìí èyí a tún fi eléyìí a fi ń jíjà iléeṣẹ́ ológun àti iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá àti gbogbo àwọn agbófinró irú ẹkùn ẹjọ́ o ẹ̀yin náà mójúlélẹ̀ o ẹ má jẹ́ kí àwọn àtọ̀rìn wá mo ti ẹ̀ jẹ́rìí bàbá Sunday Igboho àwọn alábọ̀dé wọ́n wà nínú ilé inú Yorùbá náà o ẹjọ́ o ẹ jẹ́ ká kọ́kọ́ tún lé ṣe torí wọ́n ní kòkòrò tí ń jẹ̀fọ́ ìdí ẹ̀fọ́ ló wà o aráalé ẹni ní í ṣe ni o òun ló dífá fún ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn ambush tẹ́ ẹ máa ń rí tí wọ́n máa ń pa àwọn ọmọ iléeṣẹ́ ológun nípakúpa irú àwọn báyìí ni o wọ́n tiẹ̀ lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn gan wọ́n náà rìkúrútù wọn ni àyà wa ń bi mí pé wọ́n rìkúrútù wọn wọ́n dẹ̀ sì wà ní iléeṣẹ́ ológun mu níbẹ̀ ni ó rí pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ aláǹgbá ló dakùndélẹ̀ ní owó Yorùbá ni àmì eléyìí tínú lọ̀rọ̀ wọn bóun náà ṣe fẹ́ dá wọn mọ̀ bóun náà ṣe fẹ́ mọ̀ wọ́n sì pọ̀ ń bẹ́ẹ̀ kò lè jóun nìkan tó fi ń ṣe successfully kò lè jóun nìkan wọ́n pọ̀ tán jọ ń pín owó yẹn wọ́n pọ̀ tán jọ ń ṣe ìbàjẹ́ yẹn. mo sì lérò pé kì í ṣe lára àwọn tí wọ́n rehabilitate tán dá padà sínú iléeṣẹ́ ológun mo lérò bẹ́ẹ̀ bó bá jára wọn ni eléyìí yóò kọ́ wọn lọ́gbọ́n yóò jẹ́ kán mọ̀ wípé à ń sọ fún wọn wọn fẹ́ gbọ́ ni iléeṣẹ́ ológun níṣẹ́ ṣe ilé léèyàn tí kọ́kọ́ máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ discipline ilé ni. ó rẹ káàbọ̀ padà á sì ń lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Peter Obi Osùmọ̀ ká tó lọ sọ́dọ̀ Peter Obi ẹjẹ́ àkọ́kọ́ yà lórí ọ̀rọ̀ òfin tán fẹ́ gbé kalẹ̀ fún àwọn iléeṣẹ́ ńláńlá àwọn giant technology companies bíi Google, Facebook, Instagram nǹkankan ó dà pé Meta náà ló ní gbogbo wọn pátápátá porogodo àti TikTok wọn náà gbọ́dọ̀ ní ọ́fíìsì tán ti ń operate nínú Nàìjíríà. èmi tí ẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ rò wípé gbogbo àwọn tí bá ń lò náà nìkan rè mọ́ sí ṣọ́ọ̀bù àyà ló wá ní ọ̀gá mi ẹ mọ́ sọ̀rọ̀ ńgbà mí báyìí ní ò sọ ara rẹ̀ kọ́ ọmọ sọ délẹ̀ pé iléeṣẹ́ yẹn ganan fẹ́ kó wá ní headquarter tàbí branch ó kéré jù nínú Nàìjíríà. mo ní online náà operate wọ́n ní rọ́ online kíni wọ́n ní headquarters káàkiri wọ́n headquarters ní Ireland Google ní headquarters Ireland wọ́n ní headquarters ní USA company ní ẹ lọ wo iye tán pa online ní strength wọ́n wà ibẹ̀ gangan náà wà lóòótọ́ ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ní physical office náà so tán bá pé àwọn sì ti ṣe iṣẹ́ ìwádìí àwọn rí wípé àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà wọ́n ṣe fọwọ́ rọ́ sẹ́yìn lórí agbágbé wọ́n lè kó yẹn wọn kéré ṣé Facebook ní ká sọ ṣé TikTok tí ẹ ní ìmí ń sun bẹ̀ ń ṣe fíjì ń bẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ dórí TikTok ẹ bá ń bẹ̀ yọ ọmọ ṣe live all round ní round the clock ẹ bá ń tẹ̀ sí bẹ́ẹ̀ bá fọwọ́ sí ẹjẹ́ àkọ́kọ́ jọ gbọ́ná lẹ́nu Rufai àtàwọn èèyàn rẹ̀ Rufai ò sí ní ìní òkè ṣe ẹ Rufai.
To the Nigeria Data Protection Bill of 2023, Act of 2023, especially where the provision is that social media offices or social media giants ought to have physical presence here in the country. There are mixed reactions to this. Some, of course, some of the advantages of this, they've cited things like creation of jobs. If you have physical presence here, you can expand the market and have more local jobs created. Number two is increase in tax revenues. You pay direct personal income tax and corporate tax to Nigeria. Other areas, technology, knowledge transfer as well are seen as the wins, the gains, and then of course oversight, regulation around data protection submitted to the local laws of Nigeria. But beyond that, let me just end on this, and that is that the argument against this is a concern around censorship, because when you have physical offices here, there is more regulatory oversight, and that could threaten freedom of expression that is currently enjoyed by social media users. And so I think it's important that in designing this law, because now it's past second reading and there was a town hall, public town hall, it's important to ensure that these safeguards are put in place. And then let's not also chase away these companies that have already contributed quite significantly to employment opportunities or revenue generation for young Nigerians who have become content creators and are able to earn money through these platforms. Because if you make it stringent, then it might be difficult for them to operate. And I'll take on the NBA's recommendation of perhaps local representatives as opposed to physical offices here in Nigeria. But let me give the floor for you to take on this.
You can't be more correct, like Professor Akitera will say. The reason why they are calling for these physical offices, yes, we know there are some benefits to it, like you talked about, ecosystem, appreciation and things like that. It's pretty much to guard the social media companies, so that anything happens, they can easily send security forces there, raid the office, cause a spectacle and all of that. We all know. I think it was Edward Murrow that said, if you have a country of sheep, the government will be the wolf. And that's just it, to stifle opposition voices. These were the same people that it was social media, Pahad major, that they used to fight the government that people like Dr. Abati was defending then. Social media. They know what they did with social media. Are they not purveyors of the fake news? Are they not purveyors of the scandal of social media? Are they not purveyors of the lies of social media? Did you see Premium Times investigative journalism job? that talked about the army, that the video that the army posted that they said they killed a bandit or something was a 7 years ago video. So are they not the purveyors of all of that? So it's just to be able to stifle free and dissenting voices. But you know what shocks me the most? This was the same social media they used. This was the same social media. All we are just calling for is free. I'm not saying people should use social media to malign people. If you do something that's untoward, the law should take its course. But this air of gagging people, this air of calling at the back, this air of just trying to manipulate the narrative and all of that, no. And when you look at those that pollute the social media space, are they not the ones? Okay, look at the presidential spokesperson. Sometimes I wonder what's the job of a presidential spokesperson. Is it presidential spokesperson? It used to also an attack dog job. Have you been seeing what Mr. Bayo Onanuga has been tweeting? Jesus Christ, about Atiku Abubakar. The circus is not here. They've been going back at it. Look at two of them. So it's now obvious two of them have cases to answer in America. Because, what's it called? Bayo Onanuga came out yesterday and said, Atiku Abubakar, William Jefferson, corruption scandal in America. Your name was mentioned. The Atiku team, Von Button, also came out and said, you people too, drug for official, heroin, everything, your name was mentioned. So both of them are going at each other in this. You can see it's two of them now, both parties, that are polluting the social media space for us.
New tax regime in Nigeria. These, foreign social media companies, whether it's Google or Meta or Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or X, and all the other ones, will now, when they have physical offices in Nigeria, they will also have to register formally in Nigeria. They will also have to join national associations in that regard in Nigeria. And then, of course, they will pay tax. And that can be tracked. So they bring some revenue. Considering the fact also that Nigeria has, probably the largest population of persons using the social media in the whole of Africa. Now, the second point is, of course, they will also, create employment for Nigerians. They will also help, deepen the technical space in Nigeria. So it's a forward-looking, proposal, effort by the Senate of the Federal Republic backing that particular bill. However, it should be noted that, this is not peculiar. This is not new. It's not original. The EU also had to set conditions in, the member countries, member nations, for, big tech operating in their environment. I think Australia has also done the same thing. I think China also has such a framework. India too. In fact, at a point, India running into a controversy, I think with Meta also.
Ó dẹ́ káàbọ̀ padà mú fọ́sí mú fẹsẹ̀ sí o torí yóò tún pèsè iṣẹ́ fún ọmọ Nàìjíríà kan tó bá sí ọ́fíìsì sí Nàìjíríà wọ́n tún bá àwọn èèyàn bí ọmọ Nàìjíríà náà sí gbọ́dọ̀ gbà bẹ́ẹ̀ ara ẹ̀ náà nù ṣòkòtò ọlọ́pàá wọ́n ní ṣòkòtò ẹni tó sòpá ni o ẹ jẹ́ wá yà lọ́dọ̀ ọ̀gá iléeṣẹ́ airline Enugu tí tírẹ́ẹ̀nì wọ́n fàyà wọlé àyà kí ni kì í ṣe mo ní tírẹ́ẹ̀nì wọ́n ti dẹ́dun arinlẹ̀ náà tírẹ́ẹ̀nì ni wọ́n rìn lórí ilẹ̀ ṣé kò ti wá di tírẹ́ẹ̀nì ó dá tí aeroplane wọ́n fàyà wọlé aeroplane tó mi lọ bá mi kíyà mi ẹlẹ́kọ ẹnu wọn láti wá ń gbọ́ àwáwí ẹ̀ tí ẹ̀ kọ́kọ́ fẹ́ bí mi nínú pé kí ni àwáwí kì í ṣe crash kì í ṣe mọ̀ tí mo crash ni ṣé ó dìgbà tí nǹkan bá jábọ́ tó fọ́ kó tó mọ̀ pé crash ni tí n tó yẹ kó fò tó bá jábọ́ ó crash náà nù ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n lẹ́ excuse wà pé kì í ṣe pójú ọ̀run ní ti ń fò bọ̀ pé ó ṣẹ̀fẹ̀ gbéra ó ṣàn wá tamọ́ àtamọ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀rọ̀ kan tó wá sọ tó jẹ́ kèmí tí wọ́n á fẹ́ lo ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ náà ni wípé ó ní ká mọ́ dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ Ọlọ́run ìbá ṣe orí ewéko koríko tí kìíní yẹn balẹ̀ sí wípé ó ṣeé ṣe kó gbaná bá mi ti mọ́tò ìkó gbùnà ó yá ẹ bá ń tẹ̀ sí kò gbọ́dọ̀ gbiná.
We would like to provide a bit of clarity on what occurred today. Following a scheduled flight from Lagos to Benin, the aircraft landed and due to hydroplanning on the runway experienced a runway excursion during the landing roll. We would like to reiterate that this was not a crash, nor was it an emergency landing, but it was a serious incident. As it is standard practice across global aviation industry, a full investigation is currently being conducted in close collaboration with various relevant aviation agencies.
From my perspective, especially because we're required as an airline to carry out an internal investigation, which we have done, and we have to submit our report also. What happened is, of course, it was a normal flight. The crew landed based on their several recounts because we've had to just ask them over and over again to be sure that their stories is coherent. Is that they landed, it was a normal profile, landed on the runway, and of course deployed brakes, deployed a reverse thrust. But the plane didn't stop. And then, of course, they ended up exiting the whole runway and ended up in the bush. And then, of course, after stopping, they carried out, they're well-trained, as you can
as you know, because one of the biggest assets of Enugu Air is really our staff. We have very, very well seasoned and trained staff. And of course, they carried out a normal emergency evacuation. You could see from the pictures at the back, they had to use the emergency slides to come out of the aircraft because, of course, there are no steps. But this is something they did impromptu because they are always prepared. And so that's, in a nutshell, what happened from the airline's perspective. That's the best we know. But as we're speaking, like I said, we've cooperated with all regulations. Our engineers are currently in Benin working with the NIB to try and get the popular black box, because the black box, of course, we record the whole profile of the aircraft and the flights and everything, the voice, the parameters that are present. And so, which is why, we keep emphasizing that until that is done by the NSIB, we can't make any official reports. But of course, we have to do our own preliminary internal report. The pilots were amazing, but I could say also the fact that it was raining probably helped. And then the grass prevented sparks, because what you need is just a spark. The fuel is there, so a spark. So, but the fact that the grass was, the surface was not hard, that smoothness on the grass kind of tempered it. That is my opinion, by the way.
ó lóun náà lẹ́tí gbọ́ yẹn ṣùgbọ́n àwọn kan ní wọ́n fẹ́ tún ìméjì wọn ṣe ni káwọn èèmọ̀ mọ̀ bẹ̀rù láti lè mọ̀ wọkọ̀ bàálù wọn tá lè rò ní bá kò sí irú ìméjì tán lè tún ṣe lọ́kàn tèmi báyìí. ẹ já wáyà lọ́dọ̀ Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ lásọ̀rọ̀ níbi tá a ti kófìrí àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tán wá láti diaspora tí Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ tí wọ́n ti ń ṣìpẹ̀ fún wọn wípé ẹ padà wálé ilé làbọ̀ sinmi oko. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni mo rí Erelu láàrin wọn tán náà ń ṣe introduction sí Olódòdẹ wípé àwọn wọ̀nyí iṣẹ́ oníṣègùn òyìnbó náà yàn láàyò ẹ̀sìn mọ̀ wípé ibi náà ti wá ajá ìkí wọn tí wọ́n fi kó wọn lọ ìlú èbò, ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ti ṣe rere, wọ́n ti gbóúnjẹ fẹ́gbẹ́, wọ́n gbà wó bọ̀ àwo tán ganan náà wá gbé wá fún yín Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ o pé fẹ́ wá ṣe sílé ibi ọ̀rọ̀ wọn láti wá mọ̀ tó ráyà ń bí mi pé sán kẹ́rùkẹ́rù dání. mo ní bóyá wọn tí ìṣetán tó fẹ́ lọ lé permanently, bóyá wọ́n fẹ́ mọ̀ lọ, wọ́n fẹ́ mọ̀ bọ̀, wọ́n fẹ́ ran ìlú wọn lọ́wọ́. mo ní kò sí tó burú bẹ́ẹ̀, báyà náà bá ti borí léde wa, gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tó bá wà ní diaspora pátápátá ń tó orí ọmọ ṣe ń bẹ̀ ọ́ padà wà lé wá ṣe nǹkan kan, wọ́n ní branch ńlé dandan gbì ní á fi sínú constitution. ẹ bá ń tẹ̀sí ẹjẹ́ agbó bó ṣe lọ àti tí Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ tán fi gbà wọ́n yànjú.
Continuously bring our professionals abroad back home, and I dare say eventually some of them will decide that why go and come, I'm going to stay back. Thank you, Your Excellency, for the opportunity.
Mr. President said they came on their own, bought their ticket to give back to Nigeria, encouraging them and then working with them to ensure that they play a part in your renewed agenda, Mr. President. And it's your leadership that made them agree to come home collectively and make this impact in the health sector. Mr. President said, yes, some of our people are leaving, but they're also coming back with knowledge, with expertise to make Nigeria a better place. At the end of the day, you're all coming back home. So what is your role in making Nigeria a better place? What is your role in the renewed agenda? We're glad you're here. Welcome home. And this is just the first time, but not the last. We call it the Diaspora Health Impact Initiative. We hope to build on it, of course, with the leadership of our minister, the Ministry of Health, and ensure that this becomes a sustainable project that will change things positively in the healthcare section under your leadership, sir. So you're all welcome. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for receiving us. Thank you, sir.
It is a very great joy to see that you are coming back to facilitate your single motivation to help your country, the need of our people, saying indivisible commitment to humanity is part of your singular oath and commitment in life. I thank all of you. I've been through that journey. I'm home. And I can tell you, there's nowhere like home.
ó rẹ káàbọ̀ padà pápápá láṣẹ ìròyìn tá ń lọ́nú rẹ̀ ní ìsìn ó interest mi gan nítorí lọ́jọ́ tí orílẹ̀-èdè South Africa tí wọ́n ti ń ṣe gàràgàrà wọn nígbà tí mo rí arábìnrin tó rè represent Nàìjíríà tó sì ń tẹ̀ sí mínísítà yẹn lójú wípé ó kó ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ jẹ ó sì tọrọ àforíjì torí iwájú gbogbo àgbáyé ló ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ tó ń kó gbogbo Nàìjíríà pọ̀ wípé wọ́n ń ṣògùn olóró. Ó ṣàlàyé ẹnu rẹ̀ fẹ́ẹ̀ bó lẹ́yìn ìgbà náà, he explained tire ìyẹn mínísítà yẹn, ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n fẹ́ fojú arábìnrin ìgbolẹ̀. Mo sì dúpẹ́ pé ó dúró tán gẹ́gẹ́ bí akọni, kò bínú torí nǹkan ṣe fún yẹ kó bínú fọ́nrán yẹn kánú àwọn ọ̀tẹlẹ̀múyẹ́ wọn ràn sí tí yẹn fẹ́ họ́dà ẹ̀ jáde ó yarí olóhùn jáde ó bí ìwà rẹ̀ padà tán fi parí ẹ̀ kó tó wá di wípé mínísítà yẹn wá ń ṣàlàyé lódìlódì ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀pọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ òkágbọ̀n atẹ́gùn afẹ́fẹ́ ìjì ní gbé lọ́hún ló wá dífáfá sí rí ti arábìnrin ìtúbà yìí wípé over 90,000 báàrí olódòdó ò bá gbọ́ tán bá bú wọn gbọ́ òun ó bú wọn gbọ́ over 90,000 pẹ̀lú iṣẹ́ ìwádìí tó ń ṣe ní àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tán wà nínú ìgbèkùn pé gbogbo àyáàjì tí South Africa ń ṣe wípé ẹ kúrò ńlùwà pé àwọn náà kó àwọn ọmọ ìsínú ìgbèkùn kí ló dé tí wọn kó wọn lẹ̀ ó dárúkọ ibi tán wà náà ẹ jẹ́ ń wò bóyá mo lè rí ó ní wọ́n ń pè bẹ̀ ní Lindela Repatriation Center pé ibẹ̀ ló yẹ kán ti repatriate àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tí wọ́n fẹ́ deport pé kẹ́tẹ́ ẹ bá mọ iye àwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà tí wọ́n ti fẹ́ deport pé kí ló dé mo ní bóyá wọ́n ń dúdú owó iye tán fi ń bọ́ wọn wọ́n ti ní àsanwó ni kíjọba Nàìjíríà rè gbà wọ́n káwọn òwe ààrẹ olódòdó dìde ẹjẹ́ gbọ́kúlẹ̀kúlẹ̀ àti gbogbo àlùdé àpàdé lẹ́nu mọ̀mọ́ yìí.
With the former minister, of foreign affairs for South Africa, you saw what happened. What did you witness, and how did we get to the point that we got to? What was safety like for you, and how will you assess, given the intro that I read out, all the Nigerians that are still left in South Africa, struggling for safety, struggling to get back home?
Thanks, Steve. I think you asked excellent questions. The curious thing about that Jacinta interview, though, is the irony of it. She didn't give it to South Africa. She didn't give that exclusive to the BBC. She didn't give it to Sky. She gave it to Nigeria. I think I'm still trying to figure out, that's just one of the most ironic things that's happened in this whole thing. Look, what did I find out? I mean, I interviewed many, many people, and I went there. For me, since about April, May, it was apparent, or at least for me anyway, that the character, even though the xenophobic attacks had started since 2008, the character of this one was just significantly different. First of all, it was being sustained for so long. Secondly, there was this, yes, there's always been violence. In 2008, over 60 people died, and incidentally, 20 South Africans were killed in 2008 because they were wrongly presumed to be foreigners. That's how stupid Afrophobia, xenophobia, and indeed tribophobia is. Any sort of phobia that, seeks to exclude others away from, because for whatever reason. So even though, but it was just really weird for me. And I was watching it. And then I thought, I've got to go there. I need to know what's going on. And what did I find? And this is what I went to look for. I went to see whether it's a minority or it's a majority. I wanted to hear what the intellectuals had to say. Those who influence, the bigger voices, those who influence policy, those who can shape social, economic things and all of that stuff. And those who can actually challenge government. Because Jacinta is not our problem. The South African government, like I have to say, like all African governments, continue to let their people down. And as I say to people, that when people watch that interview, and unfortunately, South Africans are far too sensitive to actually see the nonsense in what they're saying. Why do I say that? If you listen to my interview with Jacinta, if you listen to my interview with Dr. Dale McKinley, with Richard Peterhouse, and all of, even, what's her name? The former minister of, that took Israel to court. I've forgotten the name now. Panda. Thank you, Naledi Panda. You will hear a recurring pattern. And the recurrence is people, the South Africans, have a right to feel let down. They are angry about unemployment. They are angry about housing. They are angry about housing. All the usual infrastructures that all of us are arguing. That's what I'm saying. Yes, this is the point. They have every right to be angry. But certainly, it is not the 4.5% migrants who are stealing those away from them. Yes, we certainly do. So again, one of the reasons I went there, so I've been there, I went there in June. Most people didn't know. It's only in July when that whole video went viral that people realized, oh my God, it is that they're going to kill her. Certainly, they wish they could, but unfortunately, they can't. Here's the thing. One of the other reasons I went there, when I went there in June, I saw this Nigerian sleeping outside the pavement, on the pavement outside the Harbour Commission. You have to understand what's going on. First and foremost, it's voluntary repatriation, and it's a humongous, I had to witness it myself. I keep saying that every time this happens with Nigerians, they say, oh, drugs. Okay, right? Just like the Minister of Presidency did. Every time it's Nigerians, drugs. Let's be clear. How many Nigerians are actually in prison for drug-related offences in South Africa? Nobody has been able to answer that question. How many Nigerian drug dens have they found in South Africa? Or how many drug dens have they found that belongs to Nigerians? Nobody has been able to answer that question. Now, I'm not saying we don't have Nigerians who do might be drug, drug dealers. But what I am saying is nobody, absolutely nobody, should be killed with flies, right? Whether you sell drugs or you don't, everybody has the right to innocence until proven guilty. Our government remembers that, yes, they've done a lot with the 5 flights and everything, but there are still Nigerians who want to come back home. Remember, it's voluntary. It's voluntary repatriation. It's not deportation. That's number one. The other thing I've got to put out there before I answer your question is that if I were an illegal migrant in South Africa and I'm ready to go home and I buy my ticket and like, I've had enough of this country. Do you know if I go to the airport, I will be arrested. I will go to jail. Yes, I will be arrested. I will go to court and I will be put in jail, even if I serve my time, even if I'm paid my fine, at which point I'm then taken to a place called Lindela. Lindela is a deportation center. There are over 90 Nigerians in Lindela. Unfortunately, I was going to try and sneak into Lindela. Maybe that's when they would have arrested me because they didn't give me official permission. But there are over 90 Nigerians in Lindela and people stay there for months, for years. South Africa is supposed to deport them. They are not deporting them.
èmi sì ń rò pé 90,000 ti pọ̀ ju o kéèyàn tó lè mọ bọ́ 90,000 kó kó wọn síbi kan wọ́n náà ń fìyà jẹ wọ́n bẹ̀ ní káàrí olódó rẹ gbé investigation dìde o kàn sì gbé ìgbésẹ̀ gbogbo ìgbésẹ̀ tí Ghana ń gbé kàn náà gbérú ẹ̀ kàn lọ international law kàn fẹjọ́ rẹ̀ sùn Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Trump kàn náà bá lè fẹjọ́ rẹ̀ sùn Ọ̀gbẹ́ni Trump ń ta fẹ́nu gbogbo owó lọ́bì tẹ̀sán ẹ lò ó Àtíkù tí wọ́n náà bá lè ràn lọ́wọ́ ebo ló nífẹ̀ẹ́ Nàìjíríà lára àwọn tó gbéṣẹ́ lọ́bì fún jọ̀ọ́ bá wa rán wọn létí wípé kó sọ fún Trump pé wọ́n ń fojú ọmọ Nàìjíríà gbólẹ̀ o ní xenophobia ẹni kò ní í ṣe kò sì ní í ṣe náà àwọn tó láìkì yín tán fẹ́ ṣèjọba lẹ́yìn lórí nìyẹn o imagine kó san owó lọ́bì kó rè san torí wípé òun fẹ́ kí àgbáyé fìyà jẹ South Africa lórí bọ́n ṣe fojú ọmọ Nàìjíríà gbolẹ̀ ẹ rí wípé kò ní nídìí campaign tí ó fi wọlé ara nǹkan tá à ń sọ nìyẹn sáwọn eléyìí wọ́n lè jẹ́ kí Nàìjíríà sóríire ó dẹ ẹjẹ́ àyà lọ́dọ̀ agbẹnusọ ààrẹ tẹ́lẹ̀ ààrẹ Ọbásanjọ́ wọn náà fẹ́ ganu sí mike fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ wípé kì í ṣàbí Àtíkù Ọbásanjọ́ ló fọwọ́ ra lórí wọ́n treat ẹ̀ bí last born wípé ńgbà tán wà lórí oyè ó máa ń pera rẹ̀ ní the most powerful vice president pé bí ìbá ṣe wípé ọ̀gá rẹ̀ le jùlọ ó sì ti ṣe ológun rí wípé irú wọn ni wọ́n fẹ́ gbapò lọ́wọ́ ọ̀gá torí ipò yẹn ràn mọ́ from day one pé bàbá ẹbọra òun sì ti rí nínú ọ̀rọ̀ ìwà rẹ̀ nínú ìṣe rẹ̀ àwọn náà wọ́n gbé agbára fún wọ́n delegate power fún ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ló sì lò ó ti wá dùn mọ́ wípé wọ́n ti fi tọ́n lẹ́nu wò òun náà ó débẹ̀ o òun náà fẹ́ dé sí tìyí o ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n ní àṣẹ́lẹ̀ làbọ̀ àbá ó ti yàgbẹ́ sága ó wà lára àwọn tí wọ́n fẹ́ kí ẹbọra òwú kó ṣe second term àbí third term àbí tẹ̀ jẹ́ pé third term náà sí ju bàbá sí tẹ́ni ṣùgbọ́n ẹ̀san ló wá ń ké lórí rẹ̀ ẹ jẹ́ wá gbọ́rọ̀ lẹ́nu Professor Osuntókun wọn náà fẹ́ ṣe agbèfọ́ba fún bàbá ẹbọra òwú.
Statement in the letter that he wrote to the former governor of Ogun State, Chief Segun Oshoba, to clarify things that a lot of things happened at that period, 2002, 2003. So it was not it wasn't an allegation as such. It was one of the items mentioned, right, in that letter to Governor Oshoba. So it wasn't as if that he just all of a sudden, the way they are representing it, that he just decided to say something negative about Atiku. No, not at all. The context is entirely different. So, but you see, the issue that you are talking about, a lot has been written and said about it. It's that 2002, 2003, right? A lot of people made mistakes, and there were a number of things that happened. I was there, at the 2003 election campaign. Obasanjo had, credible evidence, that for one reason that the vice president was working against his re-election. The nature of politics, rumors, gossips here and there. And then in the media, right, there was this subterranean campaign that Obasanjo should do one term. They call it the Mandela option. And of course, the beneficiary of, not seeking re-election was going to be the vice president. And of course, he had a particularly negative publicity. That was the president. And there were rumors, as I said, again, that certainly people, maybe not the vice president directly himself, but people who were working with him, like his press secretary, was influencing, to the negative publicity. So it was only that time that this impeachment thing was going on in the House of Representatives. The vice president, by his own evidence at that time, he referred to himself as the biggest vice president in the world. It was implying, of course, that he was very powerful. Obasanjo deliberately gave him a lot of latitude in the exercise of presidential power. He delegated a lot to him. And he then told me, I think even before this controversy started, he did a lot of traveling, in his first term, trying to repair the damage that had been done to Nigerian reputation at the international level of the international community. So he was always traveling, and then he told me, he said, look, we were discussing, he said, look, that one of the things, he didn't use the word deliberate, well, maybe deliberate, that he traveled the door. He said that would give his vice president an opportunity, to be very familiar, to have a hands-on experience in local governance, the governance of Nigeria. Because when the president travels, there's the vice president that then takes the presidential powers. So he said his plan was to reverse that idea in the second term, that he will expose the vice president to the international community while he stayed back home. He said that was the preparation that he had, towards Atiku becoming his successor.
And my plan was that the first term he will be given a lot of work to do domestically. And Atiku even complained that I've given him too much to do, which was intentional. I want him to really get to know. My second time, my idea was that, okay, in preparing him, having prepared him for the domestic, I want 1 year for him to visit, to represent Nigeria, the ECOWAS, 1 year the AU, 1 year at the UN, so that he is really
the necessary relationships
fully prepared. The first thing I found was that his judgment was not right, and on the number of occasions I pointed this out to him. Look, as president of Nigeria, there are certain things that you should not do. I believe it was too much for him to be able to understand and to learn. I give up.
Ó rẹ káàbọ̀ padà o, àṣírí Àtíkù ń tú ni o. Àgbọn tí Peter Obi náà fẹ́ sọ ní ìsìn ẹjẹ́ àkọ́kọ́ yà lọ́dọ̀ ìyáàfin tí wọ́n gbégbá orókè nínú election tán ṣe ní NBA ní kòpẹ́kòpẹ́ yìí. Ìyáàfin Oyin Kánṣọ́lá ẹ̀sẹ̀ wa ń bú Oyin Kánṣọ́lá àbí jorúkọ báyìí. Ojú yín náà rèé, oyin ni mo rí lójú yín. Oyin Kánṣọ́lá lójú yín náà, is a married woman. Bádéjọ Òkúsànyà wọ́n ní ẹ wá gbọ́n tó ṣẹlẹ̀ sáwọn, àwọn wà liberal, àwọn wà free lẹ́yìn ìgbà táwọn ṣe gbogbo election tán tó gbé àwọn wọlé gẹ́gẹ́ bí the first woman ní Nàìjíríà láti jẹ́ president ní Nigerian Bar Association, pé sì kí àwọn tán jọ dupò sílé dé àdírẹ́sì ilé tán fáwọn, pé àwọn tí àkọ́kọ́ rò páwọn sí náà ni àgbà táwọn tún wẹ̀yìn tán rí pé ẹni ní kọ̀líìgì àwọn ni òun ló lulẹ̀ nínú election tán jọ ṣe, wọ́n ló wọ́ọ̀kì àwọn out ní díẹ̀ ló kù kó pe ajá rẹ̀ bíngobíngo kó pè sáwọn náà yá fẹsẹ̀fẹ́ àwọn wọ mọ́tò driver wọn bá zoom away, wọ́n ní náà bá ní ó dá o bẹ́lẹ̀ yóò bá ṣe tọ̀hún ó ṣe kàn pé ẹnìkejì náà wípé ẹ̀ fìyèdè nù bórí ṣe rí nù pé oríjàjò ogun pé fìyèdè nù oríjàjò ogun kì í ṣẹ̀bi àwọn náà àìbínú orí títí ká fi fìlà dédì wọ́n níyẹn náà gbàgbọ́ àwọn wípé báwo làwọn ọmọ Nàìjíríà ṣe ń sì báyìí náà mú ní ẹ máa joyè lọ́ntì wọ́n ní wọ́n ti ìgbà náà wọ́n láwọn ó bá fà ẹ jẹ́ wá gbọ́ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ díẹ̀díẹ̀ lẹ́nu wọn torí tóbìnrin bá tiẹ̀ ṣe káwo bí ó sì rí.
Able to vote. Even one of your opponents said he couldn't vote. Reports also indicate that you yourself also experienced voting difficulties. I don't know how true that is. Can you honestly say this election met the standard that the NBA should be setting for the rest of Nigeria?
No, but not for the reasons that they adduce. First of all, let me start with a general caveat, and I'm going to take some time to answer this question because it's important. Let me say a general caveat. I'm not sure there's any election that's without its difficulties, right? This one had its difficulties, but my opponents would be less than truthful if they didn't acknowledge that we all knew the reasons why those things happened. Thankfully, they are saying less of electoral fraud and more of disenfranchisement, which affected us all. So you see, in the past, there have been allegations of electoral fraud and rigging that nobody has ever been able to establish. I have asked counsel, see, please say that this thing, I want to know how, when, how did it happen? Nobody has ever really been able to pinpoint. They say, oh, people voted for other people. Nobody has ever come forth to say, I wasn't able to vote because they said I'd voted already. So this time around, there were so many attempts to stop the election from happening through means which were not usual for the election being stopped. And the president of the NBA stood his ground. The ECNBA confirmed that it was ready to conduct the election. But my core contestants insisted that the means by which they had intended to conduct the election was not robust enough to withstand any rigging. And so they insisted that we should include the use of telephone numbers to pass the OTPs to voters because the emails are subject to manipulation. And so by Wednesday last week, the ECNBA conceded to them and said, we'll use the telephones. They wanted the election to be postponed. And the ECNBA said they were happy to go on Saturday, they would be ready. If the ECNBA said they would be ready, then there was no reason for the elections to be postponed. And so the elections were not postponed. Now, unfortunately, the system came under tremendous attack, a cyber attack that was designed to ensure that it didn't work. Who did what? I have no idea, and I don't speculate. But the system was disabled. It took the mercy of God. It took a miracle for another server to be designed in order to, and that happened, I understand, within 3 hours. A completely different platform was built that had no time to be tested, that started running at 7:35 a.m.
You think there was a sabotage on the system?
Oh, yes, there was. That's the reason why the president of the NBA has come out publicly and said so. It was hacked, and there was nothing that the service providers didn't do to try and get it up and running. At the end of the day, they got the wisdom to build a fresh one. And what is unprecedented, they were able to build one within 3-4 hours. And that's what we started using at 7:35 a.m. Now, there were glitches here and there, but it largely withstood the pressure of so many lawyers trying to vote, and it lasted for the entire 24 hours.
Were you able to vote yourself?
Do you know, I actually voted. I actually pressed submit. It was when my co-opponent said that I wasn't able to vote that I realized, and I checked the voters list, I didn't find my name.
So out of the 12,000 votes that got you the election, yours was
apparently, because I actually voted, and luckily for me, I did it with people around me.
Right.
So I was surprised, and I'm hoping that perhaps the fact of getting an OPTP and all that would have left a footprint.
You know, I had the former governor of Lagos here yesterday, and I asked him about this election. So I'm hoping that we can play that excerpt to hear his thoughts on electronic voting and what transpired within the NBA.
I tried to vote, and I think in the first attempt at the electronic thing a couple of years back, and it took hours and hours. At the end of the day, the process just became too difficult for me to engage with. Of course, I'm probably from the analog age. So I crave, and I'm sure younger lawyers will not like me saying this, but this is what I'm comfortable with. I crave back those days when we used to vote during the annual general conference. So everybody who comes to the conference is registered and we vote. But of course, there's nothing perfect about that. I'm the first to admit that one of those votes went south in the Port Harcourt conference. So there's nothing perfect. It's actually us at the end of the day. So whether you choose the electronic, whether you choose the manual, whether you choose the digital, whether you do real-time transmission, how do people behave? Where is the sense of sportsmanship and the spirit of concession to say, look, I think Nifemi won this election. Let's move on.
Well, I didn't win the election, you did. But he's always been a proponent of there are no perfect elections anywhere.
Yes.
But perhaps NBA will now understand that electoral problem in Nigeria is not a politician thing. Maybe we can...
Okay, so the process that they say they cannot trust, my opponents are saying that it was rigged in my favor. And thankfully, right, this electoral process has come under the greatest scrutiny that any of our elections have come under since we started universal suffrage and electronic voting. So I think even the people that maintain that this election was rigged know very well that the level of scrutiny that this election came under would have been very difficult for anybody to rig, any one of the opponents to rig, if indeed that is the possibility. That's one. Secondly, right, what are the red flags that one notices when elections are purportedly being rigged? They didn't show up in this election. From the time that I led the election throughout consistently. There was never a time that I dropped down. There was never a time that any of my opponents passed me. I led consistently, and the gap kept widening. 3, the votes were trickling in organically. There was no evidence of dumping, which is what they say happens when there's rigging going on. You didn't suddenly see 20, 30, 50 votes coming. They were trickling in organically. 4, this election was the most watched. We have a system that refreshes every 10 seconds. People were watching and reposting. It was clear that there was no rigging.
Did them. Have you spoken personally with the opponent since this election? Since after the election?
Okay, so I reached out to one of them and visited him in his office, and he politely asked me to leave. My other opponent, I called. He didn't pick up, and he hasn't returned the call since. This was after he said that he had called me twice and I hadn't replied, but that wasn't true. He called me once when I was receiving my certificate of return. And I returned the call after. I didn't see it because as you can imagine, I've been getting a deluge of calls. So I returned the call after I watched him on TV saying that he had called me twice. And the first thing I was going to tell him was that you shouldn't have gone on TV to say you called me twice when you only called me once when I was receiving my certificate. But I called him, and he didn't pick up, and he hasn't returned the call ever since. But I plan to call him. Let me answer the question you're not asking. I have every intention of being gracious and magnanimous. I have no choice. God has been good to me. Many people didn't give me a chance. I worked very, very hard, and God crowned my efforts. I have no reason to gloat. I'm just happy that the outcome is the one that I had prayed for. And I'm mindful of the responsibility that I have, not just to the people who see me as an inspirational figure, but for the members that are expecting a lot from me. So I have no desire not to reach out to them or work with them or seek their support.
Ó dá ẹ káàbọ̀ padà o, Ọlọ́run okùn ọ̀yọ́ ìròyìn méjì náà ló kù o tí Peter Obi láàfi kó gba gbogbo rẹ̀ lẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ẹjẹ́ wá yà lọ́dọ̀ Lawal Babachir former SGF ní níbi tó ti gáhùn sókè ó ní ààrẹ olódódé olókàn ń fira ẹ̀ pa ni ó ní health ẹ̀ ò gbé ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ lásán ní jẹ pé lùjẹ̀sàdèrè ẹyẹlẹ́ jẹ́ ọ̀gẹ̀dẹ̀ àgbààgbà pé ó ń láre yín jẹ àtẹ̀pà mo ní ó fi gààrí sí aláòbí ìwọ tó yẹ kán ti gbé kò yẹ kó lẹ́nu ọ̀rọ̀ ṣé ká dọ̀ gbogbo òtòkú tó ti ń tò àmọ́ fàjásà sí láàrin àmọ́ dá lóhùn torí àwa yìí sọmọ lọlé lọ gbèsè wá ẹ bá ń tẹ̀ sí.
In one word, it's a failure. That's what it is in one word. The people are running the government don't seem to be people who love the country. There are people who love themselves. I don't think they even love their relations. So everybody is on his own for himself. That type of a mindset cannot give you good governance. The citizens are complaining, east, west, north, south. Everybody is bitter that life is tough No matter which position you find yourself in, life is tough for the ordinary man on the street. Life is tough for the minister whose capital projects are not funded. So, in a nutshell, it's a failed government.
The government spokesperson or supporters of the government will say that you are the SGF in the government of the immediate predecessor to the Tinubu government, that you do not have the bona fides to speak about them. That in fact, some say the Buhari government was a total failure, blah, blah, blah. That Tinubu is trying to rebuild what Buhari government destroyed. How do you respond to that?
Well, yes, they are free to. It's a free country. It's so far. It's freedom of speech so far, though it's being eroded gradually. But so they are free to say what they want. But yes, agreed. Bola Tinubu says he's rebuilding on the what Buhari left, but he's building backwards, not forward. The essence of government is when you come in, you see, you take over from another government, you make sure you progress in the positive direction. But the fact that they chose to go in the opposite direction, yes, it's a continuation of Buhari government, but opposite direction. Total calamity. Yeah, that's the way I see it.
But let me also ask you, sir. You know President Tinubu very well. You are his friend. According to you, your own records, you said on record. He's your very good friend.
He says it too.
Exactly. So how do you explain that your friend is performing below? Did you expect him to perform like this?
If somebody from far away, Adamawa State, is able to be a Kilba man from far away, Adamawa State, is able to be friend to somebody, a cosmopolitan boy from Lagos, it means there's something positive that they see in each other, isn't it? I've said it before that Bola Tinubu has two, as I can categorize to my knowledge, two phases of his life. Before he became president, he was an excellent human being. I mean, I used to give Bola Tinubu, who does not tolerate your suffering as a friend. If you are in problems, he will go to whatever length it's possible to solve your problem. He's listening, he takes advice, and he's kind. In that regard, I used to say that they have the same quality of character with Buhari. Buhari is also like that, very kind, very sympathetic to somebody in trouble, and positive the way to want to help. Bola was an excellent human being. He goes to become president, and something happened. And I know the time he changed, and I told him, I'm sure if he's listening, he will know.
You told him?
I predicted what will happen. After some time, around 2022, going forward, he almost relocated to Kaduna, to Abuja, close to the seat of power, I suspect to, pursue his political ambitions. Now, the poor man, good man from Lagos, comes to Abuja and runs into a country with different people, with different upbringing, with different cultural backgrounds, and they surrounded him. I can tell you, our people, particularly the Northerners, that were his friend, while he was in Lagos remotely, yes, they now caged the poor man. I think introduced some characters, induced him to do certain things that he would not do while in Lagos. At that point, he was consumed by this ambition to be president. They keep on telling him, we will make you president. We are Northerners, we are Fulani, we are Hausa people, we know Buhari, we know this, we know this. And they introduced him to these religious bigots and so on and so forth. So I classify it as if from that position, he started changing. I think I was closest to him anyway while he was in Abuja. I had access to him. I mean, truly, he was, we're quite close in the political scene. And my boss, late Buhari, used to tell me, this man says you are his best friend. That's when sometimes I suspect Buhari is trying to distance himself from the man. I would go and meet him and say, Oga, this man, you can't do what you are trying to do. These are your people. You know what happened when you and I agreed to, I told you that we cannot win general elections the way we are going about. Always win the North 19 states, but get 0 from the South. You can never be president. Why don't we go out and look for other regions that we can partner with? And you said Southwest, and your friend, because of your friend, I know we can convince him to do partner. And we did that. I was in Dubai when you called me that I should come and because we want to do a merger with the ACN. And I told you, sir, this role you want me to play, I cannot play it because I'm too close to the Western people. I have so many people there that like we have blood links. And I know you are people, the House of Fulani people, they don't like me. they think I have an inordinate access to you, and they don't like it. So if I do this thing and we do this merger, they will say, I sold it to Yoruba people. They will not see the thing we are going to. So Buhari says, Bidi, I say, sir, you are the only one that can help us do this merger because Bola is your friend. He has told me many times you are his friend. And Bola says, you are quite smart in the politics of Nigeria. You know the dynamics of Nigerian politics. So if you are not the bridge, how can we merge? So I asked him, sir, what do you want out of this merger? He said, well, what I want is a big party that can get rid of PDP. It doesn't matter if I get anything out of it or not. In any case, I have told Nigerians that I will not contest again. Yes. So I said, okay. So I went to Bola. Oga, this is what my Oga said. Oh, you agree with this? He said, yes, he's to say agree. I said, what do you want out of this system? He said, Bidi. I said, Oga. He said, you know my ambition to be president. But the way the country is going, the primary goal is to get rid of PDP. I'll define my ambition, put it aside until we achieve this goal, then we'll see how it happens.
This was Tinubu now saying
this. Was Tinubu now telling me this. I'll define my ambition. So Nigeria, without a country, I cannot be president. So let's have a country. That was Tinubu at that time. So I said, no, he was not. So they didn't listen much. So we went to Tinubu around midnight and met him. I said, sir, look at it. I have this data that I'd like to show around. I said, this man, whether he's on the ballot or not, he normally gets 12 million votes from the north. So, and it required 3 more votes, 3 million more votes. 15 is the winning margin normally. That's why we went into the merger. Sir, why not support a winning ticket? You are the only person that can give the 3 million votes that Buhari needs and becomes president. Once the Northwest understands that Yorubas will vote for Buhari, they have no choice. Because then when they block vote from the West, Buhari will win. While they share the rest, all of them small. He saw the logic. And I don't think he slept that night. He went around those governors, persuaded them with the argument.
Tinubu.
Yeah, persuaded them with the argument. And coming from Tinubu, of course, Kaisbo went, and coming from, Abdul Kader and I. So at the last minute, around 4 a.m., they agreed that they were going to support Buhari. So now we went to the convention. Southwest was going to do Buhari. Northwest was going to do Buhari. And others sputtering here and there. Kwankwaso, Atiku, Okorocha were going to share and my friend Nda Isaiah,
exactly.
For all record purposes, was also on the ballot. And they were one with the landslide at that convention. So anytime Buhari would complain about demand, bring up the history, and Buhari, being a man of conscience, will agree.
What were his complaints about Tinubu?
What complaints everybody has now. Buhari was a president now, before he became another president.
Exactly.
He has access to intelligence about Tinubu's upbringing, about his lack of clear genealogy, his education. He knows everything. He knows everything. And that's one of the things I used against Buhari. I said, sir, before we went into looking for his support, ab initio, before the match, we knew these things. Don't you? He said, he does. I said, okay, so, but yet, we asked for his support, and he gave it to us wholeheartedly, along with other things. So how come now suddenly he has become evil? I don't think so. I don't think it's Islamic, but certainly for me as a Christian, it's unchristian-like to bite the finger that fed you. At the point you were looking for his support, you knew this, you should have said, I don't want the support of a cook. But you didn't. So Buhari say, yes, thank you, and change.
You normally said this to President Buhari?
Yes, normally, because everybody will tell you he made Buhari president. But there are other things, nitty-gritty inside that they were not privy to. Suddenly it was just when you get to the top level, you say from there you take over. But underground things, I was one of the few people that firsthand knew what Bola Tinubu did to facilitate Buhari's presidency. And I never let Buhari forget this. Sometimes people will come, some of charlatans will meet. When you want something, you are desperate, everybody that thinks he can help you, listen. And they confuse him and he gets into a depression. And somebody will say, usually Baba Kande or my friend Payo say, oh guys, their friend is not happy today. Maybe sometimes 2-3 days he's just lying down in his bed. Then I'll come and I'll knock. Who is that? I say, BD. So he will stand up in his boxer and open the door and go. There's a small table in his office. I'll sit down and say, okay, come and sit down. I have something to tell you. It's short. I don't want to waste my time. And I'll tell him what I have there to do, and then he will go back to sleep and so on and so forth. So at that stage, it's somebody you can trust. It's somebody you can like. Bola has given some people stupendous amounts of money to help them out of a crisis that I know some firsthand, without expecting, ordinarily for you, without expecting anything. But you see, the thing with Bola Tinubu is that he has a gift. I think it has to be a gift from God. He can see in you a future returns for himself in advance, sort of like prophetically. Like if I help Wale out of this in 5 years' time, Wale will do things for me. And that type of help he will give you is what that can stupefy you. It can stupefy you. You know, so he does things like that. He does things like that. A good man at that time. You know, when in trouble he helps. But suddenly, I don't know what has happened. He has lost his soul.
He has lost his soul?
Yeah, because he has lost his soul. Having come to this government, he has lost his soul.
ó dá káàbọ̀ padà. eléyìí ń fìdí ẹ̀ múlẹ̀ wípé kò sólùgbàlà kan níbi kankan fún nàìjíríà. bẹ́ẹ̀ ni the devil you know is better than the agent you are yet to know. ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn nìyẹn, kò sí èyí kan ògbé kan ní gbogbo wọn bá ń parọ́ tàn yín time election ọmọ nàìjíríà náà sì tètè mọ́ gbàgbé nǹkan. wọ́n bá ń parọ́ tàn yín, ẹ mọ́ parọ́ tanra yín. Peter Obi ló fẹ́ wá ṣe, ọ̀dọ̀ rẹ̀ là ń lọ ní ìsìn gbọ́ gbogbo tó náà ń sọ. Gbogbo ìdán tí mo tó fẹ́ pa lórí ìwé, ìdán kìdán kí tiẹ̀ ní tó kù tó fẹ́ ṣe táàrí olódòdó ò tí ì ṣe. torí àrí olódòdó ẹgẹ́ kọ́kọ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ yìí ná, gbogbo ohun tí ó máa yé dẹrùn tí ó sì kan àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù lápò tí ó kàn wọ́n lára, torí wọ́n ní bí afẹ́fẹ́ bá fẹ́ àmọ́ kan gé oko lára. ẹ jọ̀ọ́ gbogbo àwọn tẹ́ bá delegate kan jẹ́ olóòótọ́ ènìyàn tó máa jẹ́ kí gbogbo kinní kan mẹ̀kúnnù lọ́wọ́. ẹ jọ̀ọ́ mẹ̀kúnnù ní ìdí àti tọ̀nkan lá. ẹ jọ̀ọ́ gbogbo àwọn owó kùdìẹ̀kùdìẹ̀ tó ń bù káàkiri tásìrí rẹ̀ ń tú nínú kinní yẹn, ẹ bá fi rántí àwọn mẹ̀kúnnù. mo rí fọ́nrán kan lánàá tí àwọn ọmọ skul tán gba net fund, wọ́n ní wọ́n gba aláwí, mínísítà tún fún wọn ní allowance ni láì ṣe àwọn ọmọ àgùnbánirọ̀. wọ́n láwọn haúsá náà ń jẹ net fund yẹn jù, wọ́n láwọn ọmọ yorùbá ò kọbi ara sí i. ọmọ Ìgbò náà kọ́ bí ara sí mo lélẹ̀ gan àwọn Haúsá náà ń gba nẹ́fọ̀n wọ́n ní bẹ́ẹ̀ ni o wọ́n ní kì í sì ṣẹ̀bi olódòdẹ wọ́n náà yòókù ni wọ́n ń fi olódòdẹ wọ́n fi wọ́n gúngi ó dẹ̀ jẹ́ agbọ́rọ̀ lẹ́nu Peter Obi káwò bóyá tí ó sọ ó máa yàtọ̀ sí ti ẹni tó fi ṣe igbákejì tó ní òun ò nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí state police ó kú ti buwọ́lù kò sí nǹkan kan tán lè ṣe sí mọ́ ẹ bá ń tẹ̀ sí ṣéun bá ń bí ń béèrè dáadáa o.
The electricity challenge is a big deal. And without it, the manufacturing sector, even our society will not run well. Every presidential candidate over the last years have promised stable electricity. Yet, decades later, Nigeria still struggles. I'd like you to give Nigerians now a realistic timeline, not a political promise. How would you ensure that Nigeria will experience reliable, stable 24-hour electricity under a Peter Obi presidency? And how long will it take you to achieve this?
We will not give them, I will not sell them. I'm going to give them reliable,
stable 24-hour
within 4 years. It's impossible. Because, Sharon, if you want to build a power plant, it will take you about 4 years to build a power plant. If you want to improve our transmission line and improve it, it will take you a number of years. Same thing goes with all your solutions. But remember, I said within 4 years, we will be able to generate not less than 10,000, which we are doing today. We're generating more than 10,000, but we are not able to transmit that. I said we'll be able to generate not less than 10,000, transmit and distribute that.
ó náà lẹ́tí gbọ́ lẹ́nu rẹ̀ yẹn ó là mọ́lẹ̀ ni kò tiẹ̀ fẹnubò rárá ó ti lóun ò lè pèsè iná fún yín láàrin ọdún 4 kò sí nǹkan kan tó ń lè ṣe pé ẹ mọ́ retí pé òun ó pèsè iná fún yín kí ló wá fẹ́ lọ ṣe nídìí ìjọba ìṣòro tó ga jù ti Nàìjíríà ní nísìn lẹ́yìn corruption àti insecurity òun náà ni ìṣòro ná kò síjọba tó rí ṣe so túmọ̀ ẹ̀ náà ni wípé gbogbo ọdún 4 tó fẹ́ lò iná kan yọná kó ń bẹ inú òkùnkùn ni wọn náà ti fẹ́ ṣèjọba gbogbo ohun tí ń gbìyànjú àti sọ nìyẹn gbàgbé gbogbo òyìnbó tí ń sọ ẹtẹtẹtẹ kò lè ṣeé ṣe kinní kan gbogbo ohun tí ń gbìyànjú àti sọ eléyìí ó sì lòjọ ọdún 4 lọ mo ṣe ń wò yìí so ti ní inú òkùnkùn lòun ó ti ṣèjọba fún yín o kò possible kó fún yín ní steady light fún 4 years bó bá wá ṣe dídájì tẹlómi ìbàgbà tó bá ba wo ẹ̀jẹ̀ ńkọ́ kí wàá níṣẹ́ ẹ̀ wà tún wá mọ́ lẹ́nu pé ó ṣe dídájì ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ìṣoníṣẹ́ ẹni tó ṣe dópin gangan làó gbàlà. ṣùgbọ́n kò tán síbẹ̀ ó sọ̀rọ̀ nípa iná ìjọba electricity ẹjẹ́ agbọ̀n tó sọ láàrin ọdún 4 tó fẹ́ lò one time ṣó lè pèsè iná fún ọmọ Nàìjíríà gbogbo ẹnu tí àwọn obedient ń lé lórí agbágbé ẹ wá gbọ́n tí òbí yín sọ nípa pípèsè iná o.
But many economists have argued that subsidy removal and exchange rate reforms were unavoidable. Mr. Obi, how differently would you have implemented it?
And I campaigned that I would remove it. And I've said it every day, that within the subsidy, there was a criminal or corruption side of it, which needed to eliminate in order to know the actual subsidy and go about in a gradual, organized removal and replacement with investment in other areas. By the way, we're still paying that subsidy. From what is happening now, they just called it different name because they're now talking about 7 trillion on the recovery or upload recovery or whatever name they call it. So they actually still doing something that nobody can imagine. Even when the fuel has gone up 7 times.
If you win,
these are the things I'm talking about.
If you win the presidency in 2027,
I will be able
you change it around?
No,
these policies, will you change them?
I will change them.
We'll keep it.
But let me tell you, I will be able to be honest to the people. If our fuel is going to increase from, say, 200 or 300 to 1,000, I, who is elected, not via spokesperson, not via any other channel, will come out and say, this is why it will happen. And even when that is happening, that we are still going to pay this amount to make it 1,000. And whatever we are saving, we are going to put it in this place. People will hear from me. I didn't say I'm going to engage anybody. No engagement of spokesperson, no minister, nobody. It's me that they gave their vote. It's me that will speak about it. No, not hear anybody.
nínú ọ̀rọ̀ wọn láti mọ̀ wọ́n o nínú ọ̀rọ̀ wọn láti dá wọn lẹ́jọ́ náà lẹ ti gbọ́ lẹ́nu Peter Obi o ẹni tó fẹ́ ṣe president fọdún 4 ó ti ní bí nǹkan bá ṣe ń jì fúnra òun lòun ó sọ kí wàá ní ìyàtọ̀ nínú kó ran agbẹnusọ sóòní ní agbẹnusọ nìtumọ̀ tó ń sọ yẹn wọ́n dìbò fún ọ lóòótọ́ ṣùgbọ́n ìwọ náà ní àwọn alábàáṣiṣẹ́pọ̀. Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ owó epo ti lé o, wọ́n sì rán Báyọ̀ Ọ̀nànúgà jáde láti wá ṣe àlàyé o, kí ló wá wà ńbẹ̀, kí ló le, kí ni nǹkan lé. Abájọ tárábìnrin kan fi sọ lọ́jọ́ sí wípé bí Peter Obi bá fi lè wọlé sí Aso Rock kúùkù lásán kò ní employ débi pé yóò employ àwọn gardener fúnra rẹ̀ ní ó mọ̀ gé koríko ní ó mọ̀ fọ mọ́tò ara rẹ̀ yóò kàn para rẹ̀ dànù ní amọ̀rú wọn bóun bá yọ subsidy bóun ó ṣe ṣeré bóun ó ṣe ṣeré. ṣùgbọ́n àyálò wa ta mí lọ́lọ́mọ́ wípé ọ̀gá mi ẹ̀ ṣàkíyèsí nǹkan kan, ó fi nǹkan kan ṣe àpẹẹrẹ ní ìsìn wípé tí wọ́n bá ń ta epo ní 200 tí ó bá wá léwó in case tó bá léwó tó wá di 1000 wípé ẹ̀rí pé ìka burúkú ni mo ní kí ló dé, ó ń ṣàpẹẹrẹ lásán ni, ó lápẹẹrẹ burúkú ló ṣe. bóun lówó epo ó ṣe fò láti 200 di 1000 pàpẹẹrẹ burúkú ló ṣe, pé ìtumọ̀ ẹ̀ náà ni wípé kò ní nǹkan kan ṣe láàyà. nígbà tí ó sì parí ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ ó ní káàrí Olódòdẹ rè resign, kò sí dáadáa ó rè resign jọ. so ó mọ̀ wípé tí ó mọ̀ pé nǹkan lè yàtọ̀, ó lè yàjọra lẹ́yìn ìgbà tó bá yọ subsidy. ó mọ̀ pé owó epo lè léwó, fún àpẹẹrẹ tó owó epo bá léwó fúnra àwọn lòun ó jáde wá sọ, so ó gbà pé ó lè léwó torí pé ó yọ subsidy. sísọ yàtọ̀ sí action. Action làwọn èèyàn fẹ́, ìdí tí ò ṣe ní léwó làwọn èèyàn ṣe fẹ́ yàn sípò.
Only 4 years because there are those policy and governance experts who have said your definition of 7-4 years or your stance of 7-4 years will not get the job done. That in the first, just a moment, your first budget is not your own. The second budget, you will struggle to make it happen. Third year, you're still trying to understand the room. Fourth year, you are done. It is about defeating Bola.
Kódà ẹ káàbọ̀ padà náà lẹ́ti gbọ́ yẹn gbogbo àtònú rẹ̀ tí mọ́tò náà ní gbogbo verification gbogbo òun rèé ṣe lé òun rèé ṣe gbá òun rèé sáwọn òun lọ Egypt òun lọ Cambodia òun lọ Venezuela òun lọ bí òun lọ gbá òun láwo òun náà sì ń sọ story náà ní oṣù gbọ́n ó ti hàn gbangba wípé wọ́n ṣe negotiation inú Gumi sì ti ń dùn lẹ́ báyìí wípé bó bá wọlé wọ́n tún padà sí business. Bẹ́ẹ̀ náà ni wọ́n láwọn ò fẹ́ state police, bóyá tó bá wá wọlé wọ́n tún wá padà sórí state police fún ọmọ Nàìjíríà, ṣùgbọ́n wọ́n lè wọlé ilé ìbò náà fẹ́ wọ̀ àbọ̀n ti wọlé ni. Olódòdẹ wa jẹ́ kìíní kò sí lórí oyè gan-an, ó lòun ló kàn, ó wà lórí oyè ní ìsìn yóò wà ní kò kàn mọ́, ó kàn gbọ̀ngbọ̀ngbọ̀n. Ẹni mọ̀lú ló kàn irọ́ ìṣe mọ̀lú ráàmù nìyẹn. yóò yẹ kó ní yẹ́ ẹ̀lẹ́ àbúrò pàdé ọ̀sẹ̀ yìí, ọ̀sẹ̀ ayọ̀ ni ó jẹ́ fún àwọn ẹ̀mí wa ò ní pín sínú rẹ̀. I love you, goodbye. Ìmọ̀ràn yín 5 lines ni ẹ̀rí pàtí ń yọ ọ́lẹ̀ báyìí 5 lines là ń kàdé tí ó fi méèkì mí ni ẹ̀ ń bá kọ 10 lines bá a bá kàdé half tó bá mìíní náà ni ó dá o àyà wa gbé wa débẹ̀ náà abala ẹ̀ ń bára yìí àròjọ mùsùlùmí. Goodbye, I see you tomorrow by God's grace. Ire o. ó dá ọ ẹ káàbọ̀ sínú abala ìmọ̀ràn ìpápápá láṣẹ jẹ́ padà sọ́dọ̀ bàbá Chalawa part B rẹ̀ rèé. ó sọ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ kan nípa El-Rufai àti gbogbo ìgbésẹ̀ tó gbé nípa bó ṣe lóun ran Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ lọ́wọ́ wípé kì í ṣe pò gangan ló ran Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ lọ́wọ́, àwọn ti fẹ́ẹ́ ṣe iṣẹ́ dédajì kó tó di wípé ó join àwọn. báyìí ni ìwà rẹ̀ ṣe rí tí mo kàn rí sọ̀rọ̀ àwọn ará ibi torí mo fẹ́ ṣe agbèfọ́ba fún Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ àti níwọ̀nba tí ọgbọ́n mi gbé pẹ̀lú bí ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí wípé ṣé ọ̀rẹ́ rèé táìmù tí ń sọ gbogbo eléyìí sí ó mọ èèyàn dénúdénú ọmọ oúnjẹ tí ń jẹ ó mú ọ wọnú yàrá rẹ̀ ó wá jáde síta nítorí pé kò ráyè tiẹ̀ mọ́. ẹ̀yin dẹ̀rẹ̀ ó mú yín bí political friends ni, ẹ̀yin lẹ fẹ́ mú bí intimate friends àbí ó láwọn ọ̀rẹ́ rẹ̀ tán jọ ń bọ̀, ẹ̀yin lẹ fẹ́ mú bí intimate friends, political friends ni yín, ẹ sì ń gba nǹkan lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀. ṣé àti ẹ̀rí ti ń dun arákùnrin tèmi rí ni wípé ó ní Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ ó lawọ́ ó ní ṣùgbọ́n ti change ara tó ń dùn nìyẹn. ibi tẹ́wàá ti mọ̀ rẹ́ gidi ni wípé bá Ààrẹ Olódòdẹ bá wá ní problem lóòótọ́ health wise ṣé ó yẹ kó wá máa gbé jáde, ṣé wọ́n ò ní bó tiẹ̀ ṣe rí wọ́n ò ní health problem ntọ́rẹ́ rẹ̀ wá ń jẹ kódà kó mọ́jọ́ gẹ̀dẹ̀ kó jẹ àgbàdo lásán kí n ti wá pẹ̀lú iye oúnjẹ tó ń jẹ kẹ̀lé tó wá ń sọ̀sọ̀kúsọ torí pé òròjú rere gbà lọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ mọ́. exchange rate dẹ̀ ní kinní nígbà táyì ní ìdí ìrànlọ́wọ́ rẹ̀ Buhari ní 12 million kìíní tá ló sọ fún mi pé Buhari ní 12 million vote níbo ebi rọlẹ̀ ń pa fúnra yín bó bá fẹ́ tú àṣírí ní ìsìn kó ṣe sẹ́ńsọ̀ kó ní kán ṣe sẹ́ńsọ̀ digital sẹ́ńsọ̀ tí ń bá yín nìyẹn tẹ́ ń fẹ́ èèyàn méjì ka 10. ọdọ́ àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ kọ̀ọ̀kan ó lè rí bẹ́ẹ̀ omi ò sọ pé ó fabuléètì gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ tó wá sọ ń ta ọ̀rọ̀ tó wà láàrin ọ̀rẹ́ ni tó bá mọ̀ wípé ọ̀rẹ́ rẹ̀ lẹ́ni lóòótọ́ tó wá gbé síta èèyàn burúkú ni ọ́ torí election torí campaign ó wá lóbi ló fẹ́ tẹ̀lé gbogbo tó bí fẹ́ dà náà ló ti fẹnu ara rẹ̀ sọ yẹn ẹni tó fẹ́ tẹ̀lé nìyẹn gbogbo ohun tó fẹ́ dà nìyẹn ó ti lóun ò lè fún ọmọ nàìjíríà ná òótọ́ ló sì sọ láàrin ọdún mẹ́rin kò lè fún yín ná kí ló wá fẹ́ lo ọdún mẹ́rin fún Tóbi eléèlé ó ní àjẹ́ndà kan tóbi ń gbé bọ̀ èmi mọ̀ àjẹ́ndà náà tó bá sì gbé wá bí mo ṣe ń rò yóò pè wá ṣé wàá rí Babachir ẹjẹ́ agbọ́n tó fẹ́ sọ nípa El-Rufai gbogbo bó ní Ààrẹ Olódòdó sí fún lówó El-Rufai náà wá ń jáde láìpẹ́ yìí ni ìyàwó rẹ̀ náà jáde àtàwọn ìyè kan rẹ̀ àtàwọn ẹbí rẹ̀ pé kí Ààrẹ Olódòdó rántí o àwọn dìbò fún ṣé kí justice mọ̀ wá play out ni kí ni ó kan Ààrẹ Olódòdó rẹ̀ pẹ̀lú pé ẹ dìbò fún kò gbowó ni ẹ má lọ gbowó ẹ gbọ́ gbogbo ẹ dọ́là ẹ gbọ́ ní ìsìn nígbà tẹ́ bá ti wá gbowó ṣẹ́tẹ́ ẹ ṣe kí lẹ tún wá ń jókòó ti wípé ẹ ṣe báyìí fún Ààrẹ Olódòdó ẹ ṣe báyìí ẹ wá ní 3 million lásán láàrin Olódòdó kó wá nígbà tí Buhari fẹ́ wọlé ó dẹ̀ yín náà kó 3 million fún 12 million yín ṣé ẹ ti ẹni 12 million mọ́ ẹni tó ní 12 million ti kú dànù ní ìsìn gbogbo wọn ti fọ́n dàgbé wọn ti fọ́n ká dànù so gbogbo wọn ẹ ń expect pé ẹ̀yin lẹ wà ń bẹ̀ kábà tẹ́ ṣe láyé Buhari ẹ tún fẹ́ continue mọ́ sí kábà ẹ jẹ́ agbọ́n tó fẹ́ sọ àáfún láàyè mo fún lára balẹ̀ kó sọ gbogbo tó sọ lẹ́ẹ̀kan wọn ò sọ pé n tó sọ ò dá o wọn ò sọ pé rọ́ ní ń pa o ṣùgbọ́n kì í sọ̀rọ̀ gidi tó bá jẹ́ wípé táìmù yìí ló wá rò pé òun lè wá ta wá mọ́ tú Olódòdó síta kì í sọ̀rọ̀ gidi ẹ bá ń tẹ̀ sí ẹ jẹ́ agbọ́n tó fẹ́ sọ nípa El-Rufai.
He's somebody we used to call him Nasser Giant. He's a small man that will want to be recognized as a giant. That characterization will make you reckless in some of the things you say or do, just so you can look big. I think that is one of his character flaws. He likes to claim credit for sometimes what is not his. And when credits are his, he tends to exaggerate the influence. That is, I see him like that. These are some of the things I tell you, everybody will tell you he brought Bola Tinubu to government or Buhari to government. When I was SGF, I used to run into people who will come to me and say, I was, for example, the director of planning and strategy in the presidential election, and you have not given me anything. Without me, Buhari would not have been president, all that type of thing. And what I will tell you is that, well, yes, you did that, but I know of somebody in Adamawa whose son died in a road accident on his way to coming for Buhari's rally. What do I tell that man in terms of what he has contributed to Buhari? I know somebody that has given us millions of naira, and then you contributed maybe 1 million naira, and you are coming here to say, so I know this. Now, whatever Nasru tells you, his role probably started in the middle of the process, if you are charitable to him, because everybody knew that he and Bola Tinubu were never friends
at all.
It got to a stage he even went to Lagos, tried to undermine Bola Tinubu in some conferences or so, where he was boasting about coming to teach Lagosians how to deal with the Godfather, if you remember. Now, but then Bola Tinubu's aspiration to be president had gone far. It was on a high-speed lane. Suddenly, about the time of the convention, now, Bola is a very good politician. So at that stage, I think he must have reached out to the governors for support. I don't know how it transpired between them, but there were some allegations that some millions of dollars exchanged hands.
From what hand to whose hands now?
From Bola's hands to
Nasir's hand.
Not Nasir, the northern governors, probably, I don't know, Shamna for sure, probably championed by Nasir. That's why when Bola says nobody owes nobody any obligation because he bought his money brought him there, he's probably referring to what transpired between him and the northern governors. At that stage, he now started making noises in Kaduna that Bola will be president whether people like it or not. But do you know that Bola Tinubu Atiku beat Bola Tinubu in Kaduna? A very big margin. So if he cannot deliver his own state, how can he boast of having delivered the northern states to him? But that's who he is. And I believe between him and Bola, some relationship had transpired, some transactions had taken place, and he probably can claim whatever he claims. Short of Bola Tinubu himself giving us a story of what transpired, I cannot hear. Because immediately after that process, we fell out with Bola anyway. So even not, he would have told me in a discussion about what transpired.
Exactly. Why did President Buhari not openly support President Tinubu, candidate Tinubu then? And if he did not support candidate Tinubu, he did not support VP Oshibajo, he did not support Rotimi Amechi. People thought Rotimi Amechi was like his adopted son. He did not support any of those.
No, Rotimi thought.
Okay, Rotimi thought.
That he was his adopted son.
Okay. And then rather, the next thing we saw was that President Buhari was supporting Ahmed Lawan, former Senate President.
At that time, a lot of things around Buhari had fallen into pieces.
Oh dear.
He had come back, recovered from his illness and his old age, and there is no more stamina to do things he wants to do, including brain.
Oh, wow.
You get to a stage where all this gra-gra again
Yes.
doesn't mean anything to you. So he was allowed to the issues of governance. And when that vacuum is created, small pockets of influence begin to, so people started peddling influence. You know, Buhari, there's this lady whom Buhari must just always listens to. If you find, if we know how to get to her, as an example, I'll give you now. If we get like 500 million, she will do something for you, and they start to part with the big money. And they will try that with Ashwaju, and Ashwaju probably will go into, what do you call now, into a depression. And somehow when I hear, I go back and say, that's a lie. These people are just lying to you. Why not let's go and see him? He doesn't like to go to see Buhari for whatever, I don't know, he's afraid of Buhari. So
Tinubu was afraid of Buhari?
Oh yes, Tinubu doesn't like to force Buhari on no such matters. Whatever he tells you. This Baba Kande, who Buhari respects a lot, and trusts. It's a Bisa Kande that we will convince, and he will go in and talk and come back and usually reinforce what I had just told him yesterday also. So these people became very, very dominant around that thing. But Buhari, from my own personal relationship, I can tell you my own. When this crisis got to that stage, I saw him. Okay, why are you behaving like this? Again, narrate what the man had done. What I didn't tell you is that at certain stage, when after Buhari won the ticket, there was no issue of campaign funding. And Buhari is not a money person. Anytime, even in meetings, you discuss money, Buhari will be looking at the ceiling. Anytime they say leaders should contribute something, Buhari develops a deaf ears. Money is not his comfort zone at all. So we got to a stage, we needed money. And Temi Presilva, my friend, and who I knew through Buhari, told me that we could raise the money because he's very well in good books, how many of the Nigeria's rich men. So we made an appointment to see one of the big-time rich people. And we went to him. He didn't want to be seen by us, but then we're popular Buhari people.
Exactly.
So we entered a boat, his yacht, and we took off to the ICs, and we did the discussion.
On the ICs?
And he agreed to support. So when we came out of the boat, there was this policeman that saluted Temi Presilva in Ijo language, and my friend became depressed. From that moment, he said, I'll go back to the hotel. And I couldn't even eat dinner. What happened to you? I think we had a good news, we should celebrate. He said, no, you see that sergeant? He's from Bayelsa. He's Goodluck's cousin. And anytime Goodluck wants to get something on you, that guy is the one they post you. So this our meeting would have reached the president here by now. And he did. Before we go to Lagos, they had called that man. He got in Abuja before us. And insulted him and threatened him. And these rich men, they have a club. A cult-like club.
Yes.
They want each other. So from that day, nobody who is rich would pick our phone. So I became confused and I went to...
Sorry, so the Goodluck government...
Back off, he jumped into the sea. And so we couldn't get any man again.
Wow.
So I went to Bola. I said, Oga, see what happened. But you now, you are their friend. You deal with them, you are in the same circle. Can you help us in this matter? And he did. And through him, we were able to raise sufficient funds to do the campaign. Not only did he do that, Oshibanjo's portion of the campaign, he funded it. He hired a jet for all the trip, funded the trip because Oshibanjo's campaign was a little bit broken away from the main campaign. Then he said, okay, as we're going to the convention, I said, Oga, let's make a deal. So what? I said, look, this man, we now know that on the basis of your religion and your ethics and your upbringing, you don't want to hand over to this man. But he has helped us get here. So there's no way. Let's make a deal. Stay neutral. And allow me to run the process. If you get to the convention and the party faithfuls defeat him, so be it. Yeah, it's not your hand. Your hand is not in it. But you say, that's not an excuse. Bidi, I know you. You give Bola Tinubu this ticket. I said, so are you God now, sir? I said, no, Bidi, you started with me 2002. So I know how you work. I know your methodologies, and I know. Shebina, the same thing, put me here now. That man, if I leave him to you, he'll get the ticket. I said, okay, granted, if he gets the ticket. Now, sir, you're a prophet. If he gets the ticket, but you're ascribing to me qualities I don't have. But let's assume it happens. Supposing the general election rejects him. Is that you? I said, no. So he asked me some other things, but I doubt him with this. And this is happening now. He mentioned some things. This man, is he going to be fair to our people? Is he going to be this? I said, sir, as long as I'm there, you know.
Sì tí ìdè tó ti ń sọ wípé ààrẹ olódòdẹ ẹ̀pà tí banana nìkan náà máa jẹ ó rò pé òun tó àṣírí olódòdẹ rèé gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ tí ń sọ tí ń ṣe kànkìnkì. So ìwọ àti Buhari lẹ́jọ́ dì síbì kan nígbà tí Buhari ti wá kú ní ìsìn nígbà tó ti kú lòun sọ gbé eléyìí lẹ́yìn ẹni tó ti kú ta ló fẹ́ jẹ́rìí rẹ̀ Yorùbá sì lọ wọ́n bọ̀ wọ́n ní òpùrọ́ yóò sọ pé lẹ́rìí òun wà lọ́rùn ṣé ẹ gba ọgbọ́n ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ gbọ́ torí àjókòó tí àjọ ń wò báyìí ni o ó ti ń gba táìmù wa bá a bá lè lo part 3 rẹ̀ lọ́la á lò. ẹ má bínú pé mo dá ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ mọ́ yín lẹ́nu goodbye and I love you ẹ má jẹ́ ó fi búrẹ́dì kó alómi ọbẹ̀ jẹ.